She is the strongest demon queen, a name spoken only in hushed, terrified whispers. On her throne, she is a portrait of lethal elegance, her crimson eyes holding a chilling emptiness as she stares down at the mortals foolish enough to challenge her. An old man, the head of the Yuan Ming clan, points a trembling finger at her, his voice cracking with a mix of bravado and fear. He declares that he will serve justice by slaying the wretched Demon Queen Asura. A faint, mocking smile plays on her lips as she watches the so-called heroes gather their courage. With a flick of her wrist, a storm of demonic lightning erupts, a maelstrom of purple energy that consumes everything in its path. These mortals who dared to stand against her couldn't withstand even a single one of her attacks. In a flash of blinding light, they are reduced to nothing but comical, charred skeletons, their moment of glory ending in an absurd puff of smoke. The Demon Queen leans back on her throne, a sigh of utter boredom escaping her lips. They were so weak, so pathetically boring. As the survivors are dragged away, their faces contorted in rage and humiliation, they scream empty threats at her back. Demon Asura, they howl, karma will descend upon you for your evil deeds. Just you wait, all the clans will unite to kill you, and then we'll see how arrogant you can be. The pathetic wretches are dragged away, still shouting their useless curses. A flash of irritation crosses her perfect features. These pests are so noisy. With a wave of her hand, she gives a cold command. Guards tie them up and throw them in prison. Her voice is quiet but carries the weight of absolute authority. Her loyal subjects bow immediately, their voices echoing in the grand hall. Understood, Queen. But the universe has a twist sense of humor. After one seemingly ordinary night, a shocking change occurs. The Demon Queen awakens to a horrifying new reality. Her hands, they're so small, so soft like a child's. A wave of panic crashes over her as she looks down at her tiny body. Why become so small? The all-powerful ruler, the feared Assura, has been reduced to an adorable, confused little girl with big, sparkling eyes full of questions. Meanwhile, a world away, a young disciple named streaks across the sky on his sword, rushing back to his clan. He arrives to chaos. Our seniors, they've all been captured by the demons. The news spreads like wildfire, sending waves of shock and despair through the clan. What? How could this happen? The disciples are stunned into silence, their faces pale with fear. Even our clan had lost to the demons. What can we possibly do? Despair hangs heavy in the air. Yeah, they whisper amongst themselves, fighting those monsters just be throwing our lives away. But amidst the hopelessness, one young man's eyes gleam with a strange light. This is it, he thinks, his heart pounding with diluted excitement. This is the time for me to shine. The clan head is his benefactor and has the chance to repay his debt. He must save him, the others, even if it mean his own life. Filled with a newfound, reckless confidence, he strides past bewildered clanmates, ignoring their pleas to inform the elders first. What do we do? One asks, but he doesn't even spare them a glance. A senior disciple scoffs from the sidelines, watching him go. Ignoring me again, he mutters with a sneer. Just you wait, once you fail, you'll come looking for me. After all, everyone knows he is not only stupid, but also weak, utterly lacking in talent and potential. And true to the predictions, his grand rescue mission is a spectacular failure. The moment he steps into demon territory, he's surrounded by hulking, grotesque monsters with glowing red eyes, drooling at the sight of fresh food. Food came by himself. They chuckle, let's eat him. Trembling head to toe, he falls for a sealing talisman, his voice a pathetic squeak. But his magic is pitifully weak. The talisman does nothing. A demon unleashes a torrent of fire, and all he can do is scream, his very soul flying out of his sheer terror. Just as he's about to be incinerated, the world around him dissolves into a soft, ethereal light. He finds himself in a beautiful clearing, flowers blooming all around. A tiny doll-like girl with innocent eyes looks up at him and asks in a sweet voice, "Who are you?" And so, our story begins. The cowardly disciple Yuan Ming, whose confidence far outstripped his ability, meets the legendary Demon Queen Asura, who has lost all her power and been turned into a 5-year-old child. What on earth is going to happen next in this bizarre tale, where the tiny villainess is already playfully pulling the hair of her would-be slayer? Now, for those of you who just tuned in, let's quickly recap this absolute roller coaster. Our story begins with the strongest demon queen in existence, a woman whose name alone is enough to make entire kingdoms shiver in fear. Clad in black and red, she sat on her throne, the very image of deadly power, as a foolish clan had dared to challenge her in the name of justice. But her enemies were like flies to be swatted. With a casual display of her overwhelming power, she unleashed a storm of demonic lightning that instantly turned the self-proclaimed heroes into nothing more than fried skeletons. Leaning back throne, she could only sigh at how utterly boring and weak her opponents were. As the defeated were dragged away, they screamed empty promises of revenge, vowing that all the clans would one day unite to destroy her. But their threats were meaningless noise to her. Annoyed by their racket, the queen simply ordered them thrown into prison, her authority unquestionable. A single glance was enough to send her guards scrambling to obey, their loyalty absolute. But then came the twist. Overnight, her immense demonic powers vanished without a trace, and the terrifying queen was transformed to a helpless child. She woke up to see her own tiny, powerless hands, her mind reeling in confusion and shock. The once feared tyrant was now an adorable little girl, completely bewildered by her new reality. At that very moment, a disciple from the clan she'd just crushed was rushing back home, only to learn that his leaders had been captured. While his clanmates despaired, certain that resistance was futile against such powerful demons. This disciple, a young man named He, saw it as his grand destiny. Brimming with unearned confidence, he ignored all advice and rushed off alone to face the demons, much to the scorn of his peers who knew him to be talentless and weak. His solo mission, of course, ended in immediate and comical disaster as he was cornered by monsters ready to devour him. His pathetic attempt at a sealing spell failed miserably, and he was about to become Demon Chow when he was miraculously saved. He then woke up in a beautiful garden where he met a mysterious doll-like child. This is the fated, and frankly hilarious, meeting between the cowardly hero and the now powerless Demon Queen, setting the stage for a truly chaotic adventure. In a world where demons and cultivators clash, two low-level demons were busy hatching a greedy little plan. One of them, a sleazy-looking creature with silver hair, conspiratorially told his friend that he had a drawing of the infamous demon Asura, made by a palace artist. They could use it to gather information, find the missing demon lord, and split the massive reward. He leaned in closer, a greedy glint in his eyes, holding up the precious scroll. But before they could celebrate their future riches, a shadow fell over them. The silver-haired demon looked up, his smug expression instantly freezing into one of pure shock. A massive golden weapon sliced through the air with a terrifying swish. They barely had time to scream a warning before it slammed into the ground. A huge explosion erupted, sending dust and debris flying everywhere, along with the two unfortunate demons. Standing over the crater was a devastatingly handsome man with long dark hair and piercing violet eyes. A sly smile played on his lips. His talisman had worked perfectly. He casually strolled over and picked up the scroll they had dropped. Wanting to see the picture for himself, he unrolled it, and his handsome face immediately scrunched up in disgust. The so-called portrait was a hideous caricature of a red-faced monster with a nose ring. So ugly, he thought with a grimace. Still, since the great demon Assura had gone missing, he had to be the first one to find him. A flicker of concern crossed his features as he looked down at his own elegant blue robes. His identity as a disciple was too easily exposed. What was he going to do? His gaze fell upon the two unconscious demons, and a wicked idea began to form. A mischievous grin spread across his face. After a bit of off-screen roughhousing, our hero emerged, completely transformed. He'd stolen their rugged clothes, now sporting a black and red warrior's outfit that made him look like a rogue adventurer. He gave a confident wink, pleased with his new disguise, leaving the two demons shivering in their undergarments, begging for him to give their clothes back. Meanwhile, deep in a mystical forest, a tiny figure was running for her life. Our protagonist, the once feared demon Assura, was now trapped in the body of a 5-year-old girl, and her little legs were about to give out. Where-am-I-ed, her chest heaving. She hadn't even managed to escape the demon world, and this pathetic little body was already failing her. But she couldn't give up. She was the strongest demon Assura, and she would survive this humiliation. She wiped a frustrated tear from her golden eyes, but it was no use. The world started spinning, a wave of dizziness washing over her. She didn't even have the energy to stand anymore. Her little body stumbled. This was so embarrassing. She couldn't let anyone see her in such a weak and pathetic state. She collapsed onto the soft, grassy ground, her consciousness fading. Not far away, our disguised hero Yin Huai was navigating the same eerie forest. Where is this place? He wondered, glancing around at the glowing flora. The place felt strange, and he was so lost in thought that he didn't see the small obstacle in his path. He tripped hard, a surprised yelp escaping his lips. He tumbled forward, landing ungracefully in a heap on the forest floor. Pushing himself up, he grumbled, wondering what tripped on. It felt soft. Did he just trip over a dead body? He looked back, and his breath caught in his throat. Lying there wasn't a body, but a small child. Sleeping peacefully, she looked like a fallen fairy. His first instinct was pure awe. Wow, so cute! But the shock quickly set in. He slapped his cheeks, panicking. This was not the time to be admiring her cuteness. He just stepped over a child. He scrambled to her side, desperately trying to pick her up. Are you all right? Wake up! He gently shook her small shoulders. Her eyes slowly fluttered open, the world a confusing blur. Who was this person looming over her? As her vision focused, she saw a pair of concerned, amethyst eyes staring down at her. She was awake, but completely shocked, staring at the handsome stranger. He let out a sigh of relief. Finally, you are awake, he said, his voice gentle. How do you feel? Are you hurt anywhere? He gave her a smile that could melt glaciers, his handsome face radiating kindness. She just stared, her mind racing. Who is he? He introduced himself as Yin Huai, a disciple of the Yuan Ming clan, and asked for her name. Her eyes narrowed. A disciple of those ants. This was bad, very bad. The enemy had found her. He extended a hand, offering to help her up. Don't be afraid, he said softly. Just tell me your name. Who bullied you? I'll help you take revenge. She wanted to laugh in his face. Tell him her name. She wasn't that stupid. She glared at him, internally fuming. With no demonic energy, she couldn't even take on this human ant. He, however, completely misinterpreted her fierce silence. His eyes welled up with tears of pity. You must have been captured by the demon Asura and tortured, he cried. Oh, you poor, pitiful thing. He reached out to pat her head in comfort. Hands off, she shrieked, recoiling from his touch. How you touch my head? He froze, taken aback by the tiny girl's ferocious outburst. He quickly recovered, putting on a reassuring smile. Don't worry, he promised. I will help you find your family and send you home. That made her pause. Her little fist clenched. Wait, he doesn't know who she is. This ant wants to help her, so why not use him to her advantage? A brilliant idea sparked in her mind. Her entire demeanor changed in an instant. She looked up at him, her golden eyes wide and sparkling with manufactured innocence. My home is in Chengzu, she said in a tiny, sweet voice. Can you please send me home? He was completely charmed, smiling as he gently patted her head. Of course I will, he said. So what's your name? My name is Xiao Xiao, Xiao Xiao chirped, looking like the picture of innocence. As through the Fog Huai forest, Yin Huai's curiosity got the better of him. Hey kid, he asked, since you were caught by the demon Assura, have you seen his face? She shot him a venomous side eye. Nope, never, she lied, internally seething. How dare he call her a kid? He continued rambling on about how he heard the demon went missing and he planned to kidnap him to trade for his clan leader. She finally snapped, Stop, I am tired. Covering her ears, she whined that he was so noisy and annoying. He immediately looked flustered. Tired? Oh, okay then. I shall let you ride my sword. He brushed his hair back, a little embarrassed by his own brilliant idea, and pointed dramatically into the air, calling for his sword to come out. He struck a cool pose, ready for a grand entrance. Xiao Xiao's eyes lit up. Oh, this ant seems useful. Finally, she wouldn't have to walk anymore. Rise, he commanded. But the sword just lay there on the ground, stubbornly refusing to move. Xiao Xiao blinked unimpressed. Ah? He laughed nervously, claiming he was just a little rusty. Rise. Rise! Hurry up and move. Trying to coax the weapon into action. At last, the sword began to tremble and lift off the ground, but instead of hovering gracefully, it shot straight up and bonked him squarely on the head. Xiao Xiao couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing. What's that? How'd he even train? He clutched his head, his face beat red. Sorry, he mumbled. He hadn't reached the gold core cultivation stage yet, so he couldn't actually ride swords. He looked so dejected that she felt a tiny bit of pity, patting his arm and saying it was fine, no one is perfect. Inwardly, however, she was mocking him relentlessly. He was so weak, yet he dared to challenge her. Was he brave or just stupid? Her thoughts were cut short by a loud growl from her stomach. His head snapped towards her. Are you hungry? He asked. No, she yelped, shaking her head vigorously. Damn this small body and its constant needs. He didn't push it, simply pulling a round, flat bread from his pouch. Here, you can eat this, he offered gently. She eyed the offering with suspicion. What is that? Is it even edible? Aren't you hungry? Go ahead and eat, he prompted. She turned her head away with a huff. The great demon Asura would never be tempted by food from a mere mortal. Seeing her stubbornness, he simply took matters into his own hands and gently stuffed the bread into her mouth. Her world exploded with flavor. Her eyes turned into literal stars. Tasty. She spun back around, her face covered in crumbs. Are there any more? He chuckled, amused by her sudden change. I have many, he said. Eat slower, I'll give you as many as you want. A short while later, Yin Huai stared in disbelief at his now completely empty food pouch. He ate all of his shabing. Just as he was processing this, her stomach let another demanding growl. She turned to him, holding out her hands with big, demanding eyes. I am hungry! Give me more! A cold sweat broke out on his brow. He looked at her insatiable expression and his empty bag. Why did he feel like he just picked up a monster who could never be satisfied? What was he supposed to do now? After a long and arduous journey through the wilderness, the handsome young man pointed towards the horizon where the silhouette of buildings broke the skyline. He told the little girl there was a city over there, a place where they'd surely find something to eat. At the mere mention of the word, her eyes, already as big as saucers, began to sparkle with an otherworldly light. Food. Her tiny hands clasped together, unadulterated anticipation. With renewed purpose, their small figures began the final leg of their trek, walking towards the promise of a full stomach. They soon arrived in a bustling town square, a chaotic but lively place filled with demons of all shapes and sizes going about their day. Trying to get his bearings, the boy approached a tall figure wearing a wide-brimmed hat that obscured their face. He politely asked if he could trouble them for some information, and a deep voice replied, yes, it. As the figure turned, the boy's polite smile froze on his face. He wasn't talking to a man, he was talking to a creature with the head of a cow, complete with a massive ring piercing its nostrils. The sheer shock and ugliness of it all sent a wave of nausea through him, and he physically recoiled, stammering that it was nothing. Nothing at all. His reaction was so visceral it was practically blinding him. But the cow demon was not amused. His face twisted in rage as he grabbed the boy by the collar, lifting him effortlessly. "Hey kid, are you insulting me? Do you want to die?" he bellowed. Just as the boy's life flashed before his eyes, a tiny hand tugged insistently at the demon's robes. It was Xiao Xiao, her expression fierce and her eyes blazing with protective fury as she ordered him to let the boy go. After all, if this weakling died, who would take her to her ancestors? Realizing her ferocious demeanor wasn't working, she switched tactics in an instant, shamelessly weaponizing her cuteness. Her angry glare melted away, replaced by the most heart-wrenching, tear-filled puppy dog eyes imaginable. "Big brother, please let him go," she pleaded, her voice a tiny, adorable tremble. Otherwise I will get angry." The hulking demon froze, completely stunned by the overwhelming cuteness. Oh, hammered, his anger vanishing as he immediately dropped the boy. The boy nearly died from the ugliness, but he was saved. Okay, I let him go, little fairy," the demon cooed, patting Xiao Xiao's head gently. "Don't get angry." While the boy was still recovering from the traumatic encounter, his mind a total blank, Xiao's focus snapped right back to her main priority. She turned to him, her expression demanding. "I'm hungry. Where's my food?" she asked. The boy looked away, a blush of shame creeping up his neck. Well, the currency he had wouldn't be accepted here in the demon world, so Xiao Xiao's face fell, her eyes narrowing into slits of pure judgment. "Oh, so you are poor," her expression screamed. Desperate to redeem himself, a brilliant idea sparked in the boy's mind. They could do a street performance. He whipped out his sword, striking a series of dramatic, if somewhat clumsy, poses. He proudly announced his ultimate technique, the food-sucking star sword technique. He begged the crowd of demons, "Please give me food." The demonic audience utterly unimpressed. Rotten vegetables began to fly through the air, pelting him from all sides. "Ugly, get lost." "Don't blind our eyes," they jeered. The boy collapsed to his knees, humiliated, begging them to spare him. Covered in filth, with a broken egg dripping down his hair, he heard a demon laugh. "Ha ha ha, kid, you are trash." That was the final straw. He screamed back, his pride in tatters. "I am not trash." Just then, a massive, one-eyed demon shoved his way to the front. His gaze was filled with contempt. "That part was outdated," he sneered. "People prefer to see blood, guts, and gore." He gestured towards a horrifying, censored pile of viscera on the ground. Watching from the sidelines, Xiao Xiao's disappointment was palpable. So useless. She couldn't rely on this weak ant for anything. A flicker of her true, demonic power ignited in her eyes as she clenched her tiny fist. "Mortals, face my anger and tremble in fear." She took a determined step forward, marching straight up to the terrifying, one-eyed brute. She pointed an accusatory finger, her tiny voice filled with all the rage she could muster. "Hand over your food." The demon blinked, looking down at the furious little creature in utter confusion. The rage vanished. Her eyes welled up, becoming giant, sparkling pools of innocence. "Big brother," she whimpered, her bottom lip trembling. "I am very hungry. Can you give me some food?" The cuteness overload was a critical hit. The entire crowd of hardened demons melted instantly, rushing forward to shower her with offerings. "Here, take it," they all shouted, pressing fruits and treats into her arms. Soon she was surrounded by a mountain of delicious food, her eyes sparkling with triumph. Her little arms were overflowing, a giant roasted drumstick in one hand. "This small body is quite useful," she thought smugly. The boy, seeing his chance, reached out to her. "Hand over your food," he demanded. Immediately, a nearby demon shot him a murderous glare. "What did you say?" he growled. The next thing he knew, the entire crowd descended upon him in a furious mob, beating him senseless, daring to threaten the adorable child. He was left in a bruised, sobbing heap on the ground, crying about how unfair it all was. He got beaten up, and she got all the food. Later, Xiao Xiao was about to sink her teeth into the raw meat leg, when the boy suddenly covered her mouth. "Wait, you can't eat raw meat like that," he chided gently, taking the drumstick from her. He gave her a soft, handsome smile that made her pause. A brilliant flame erupted from his palm, perfectly roasting the meat in a matter of seconds. "Here," he said, his voice warm as he offered it back to her. "You can eat it now." She snatched it and took a massive bite. Her eyes immediately turned to stars. "So tasty," she thought, letting out a tiny, satisfied burp. Patting her full belly, she gave a mischievous wink. Hey, he still has some uses after all. As night fell, he led her to a dilapidated shack, explaining that they needed to find a place to sleep. She pushed open the creaky door and stared inside, horrified. The heck, he reminded her they didn't have any money, so this would have to do for the night. "Don't worry," he promised, guiding her inside. He would find her a much better place to stay once they reached the human world. Suddenly, a brilliant golden light enveloped him. His shabby clothes and boyish features dissolved, replaced by the breathtaking form of a handsome young man with long, flowing hair and elegant robes. "Don't look down on this place just because it looks dirty," he said, his voice now smooth and deep. He gracefully removed his own luxurious outer robe and laid it on the dusty floor. There he smiled, "A bed I prepared just for you. Now you can sleep." Xiao Xiao stared at the robe on the floor with utter disdain. "Making me sleep in such a sloppy place." She fumed internally. Just you wait. Once I get my demonic energy back, I will beat you up. Despite her anger, she curled up on the soft fabric and quickly drifted off. From the doorway, he watched her sleep under the moonlight. A pain frown crossed her face, and she whimpered softly. It hurts. In her dream, her eyes snapped open, revealing glowing red, slitted pupils. A vision of a desolate, blood-red landscape filled her mind. Deep within a cavern, she saw it, a pulsating pink orb of immense power. Found it! Elsewhere, in a dark throne room, a regal demon lord with piercing purple eyes slammed his hand on the table. "Where is Demon General Lingjiu?" he demanded. A subordinate reported that she was last seen in Luosat Town. Another general, a fiery demon with white hair, questioned this. "Luosat Town. Isn't Kang Fan returning from there?" The Lord's command was sharp and cold. "Inform General Kang Fan to search for our queen." The subordinate bowed, but the Lord leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a sinister whisper. "Also, secretly send our people too. And once you find her, kill her immediately." Back in the shack, Xiao Xiao awoke in a shimmer of light. She looked down at her hands, her body. She had changed her true adult form. "I'm back." She celebrated silently. "My palace, my throne, my underlings, it's all back." Outside, the handsome young man was startled by the sound. His vision was still blurry with sleep as he stood up. "Huh, Xiao?" He stumbled towards the shack, letting out a massive yawn. "Xiao Xiao, it's dangerous to walk around late at night." He stopped dead in his tracks. Before him stood not a child, but a tall, elegant woman with a cascade of dark hair. His sleepy confusion morphed into pure shock, his eyes widening as the impossible truth dawned on him. "Wait, you are—" The story continues as our little demon queen's herself in yet another precarious situation. Alone in a moonlit forest, she drifts like a celestial fairy, her pink robes ethereal against the deep blue shadows. But she is not alone. From the darkness, a pair of captivated eyes watches her every move, mesmerized by her otherworldly beauty. He thinks she's the most beautiful creature he's ever seen. Her own eyes, sharp and knowing, narrow with suspicion. This wretched man had secretly followed her. Her delicate expression hardens into a mask of pure murderous intent, a scratch on her cheek a stark reminder of the danger she's in. She absolutely cannot let him discover her true identity. There's only one solution. She must kill him. Purple demonic energy, crackling with raw power, swirls around her slender hands as she levitates into the air, a goddess of death ready to deliver judgment. The man below can only look up, caught completely off guard. But just as she prepares to unleash the fatal blow, the violent energy in her palms sputters and dies. This is bad. Her demonic energy— it's disappearing. A cold shudder runs through her as her power ebbs away, leaving her vulnerable and weak. With no magic left, she lunges forward, aiming to strike him down with her bare hands, but he's faster. He catches her wrist midair, his grip like iron, and yanks her forward, pulling her into an unyielding embrace that steals her breath. They tumble through the mystical forest, a tangle of limbs and silk robes under the pale moonlight. As she falls, a strange light envelops her, her body shrinking, contorting, until the powerful demon queen is nothing more than a small child who hits the ground with a soft thud, unconscious. When morning comes, the man, Yin Huai, groans as he sits up, rubbing a sore neck. He looks around, utterly bewildered. Wait, why was he outside? Had he been sleepwalking again? But then a fragmented memory surfaces, a breathtaking beauty in the woods, a vision that makes a faint blush dust his handsome cheeks. His thoughts are cut short when he spots a small figure lying in the grass. "Xiao Xiao," he scrambles to her side, gently shaking her tiny shoulders, his voice laced with concern. "Xiao, wake up. Why are you sleeping here?" Her eyes snap open, but it's not confusion. It's sheer, unadulterated panic. "My demonic energy? It's gone." She stares down at her own tiny hands and frail, weak shoulders. No. They have become small again. Meanwhile, Yin Huai is lost in a daze, sighing dreamily as he tells her of the goddess he saw last night. A woman so beautiful it was unreal, and then his face scrunches in confusion. He thinks the goddess beat him up. Xiao Xiao deadpans, shamelessly weaponizing her cute, innocent face to spin a lie. What goddess? He must have been dreaming. She explains that he was sleepwalking, and she, being worried, followed him. But then he suddenly struck her and they both fainted. He's completely baffled. Is that so? Before he can question it further, the sound of heavy footsteps echoes through the woods. A troop of brutish, horned demons storms a nearby shack, kicking the door clean off its hinges as they bellow to search the entire place. Leading them is a man with a cold, intimidating aura and a sinister coiled around his shoulder. It's one of the demon generals, the formidable Kang Fan. He orders his men to check every corner. Xiao Xiao's blood runs cold. "Kang Fan, he's here." She watches in horror as his soldiers surround the area, a desperate scream building in her throat. But before a sound can escape, Yin Huai's hand clamps firmly over her mouth, silencing her cry. The demon general's head snaps in their direction, his sharp eyes narrowing. What was that? He scans the forest but sees nothing out of the ordinary. Just as they think they're safe, a hulking demon spots them from behind the trees. Humans from the cultivation clan. Kang Fan points a decisive finger in their direction, his voice booming with authority. Capture them. And just like that, their escape continues into the next chapter. They're completely surrounded, the ugly faces of the demons leering at them from all sides. Yin Huai's mind races. These monsters were hideous, but this isn't the time to care about that. He had to find a way to escape. He holds Xiao Xiao tight, his hand still covering her mouth as she struggles against him, her muffled voice demanding he let her go. The demon general, Kang Fan, approaches them with slow, menacing steps, presence suffocating. Yin Huai removes his hand, but just as Xiao Xiao opens her mouth to scream, he taps her lips with a single finger, a pulse of blue energy sealing them shut. Huh? Why can't I speak? Her eyes widen in disbelief. A voice-sealing spell. Kang Fan looks down at the tiny girl, a flicker of confusion crossing his stoic face. This kid, why did she look like a child version of their queen? He stares into her big, expressive eyes, a spit image of the monarch he served. He frowns, shaking his head to clear the absurd thought. What's he thinking? How could their queen possibly have a child? His purple snake familiar, Guai Guai, slithers from his shoulder and approaches the girl. Xiao Xiao desperately tries to reach it with her mind. Guai Guai, it's me, your queen. Quick, recognize me. The snake pauses, its glowing blue eyes staring intently at her. A faint golden light shimmers around the creature. It turns back to its master, communicating telepathically. Boss, it reports, I don't feel any of the queen's unique demonic power on her. Xiao Xiao's internal monologue is a torrent of fury. You heartless snake. After all the times I massaged your stomach, is this how you repay me? Her face contourant, adorable rage. And Kang Fan, what's wrong with him? He goes on one mission and completely forgets what his own queen looks like. While she's fuming, Yin Huai seizes the opportunity, blasting a wave of energy that creates a massive explosion. The demons shout in confusion, they ran away. Kang Fan remains unfazed. Let them be, he commands. Their main mission is to turn to the palace. Yin Huai is already teleporting them away, a swirl of magical sigils surrounding them as Xiao Xiao kicks and struggles in his arms. Let me go, you dumb mortal, she curses him silently, relieved she knew a few transportation spells herself. He simply endures her squirming and chants the final word, unseal. They come crashing down through the roof of an ancient pagoda. The moment her voice is free, she stomps her foot and points an accusing finger at him. Yin Huai, how did you kill my voice? I am going to kill you. However, is perfectly calm, taking a seat on the steps. He tells her to calm down, reminding her that she wants to go to Chengzhou. This pagoda is the exit from the demon world. He explains that the main gates are heavily guarded. The cultivation clans discovered the secret passage long ago. Xiao Xiao's eyes narrow. So this is how those wretched humans keep sneaking in. The moment she recovers her demonic energy, she's sealing this place for good. With a wicked glint in her eyes, she stomps to him. Get going, she demands and delivers a swift kick to his shin. He yelps in pain and tumbles down the stairs. That, she thinks with satisfaction, is his punishment for ruining her plans. Without a second thought, she leaps from the top of the pagoda, soaring through the air. Yin Huai shrieks in his chibi form, terrified she'll hurt herself. Shut up, you coward, pack, landing gracefully on the ground below. She finds herself in a lush, green meadow, filled with beautiful flowers. Her victory is short-lived, however, as Yin Huai comes crashing down from above, landing directly on top of her. Her eyes flutter, and she slowly sits up, taking in the idyllic scenery around her. This place is, she wonders, completely unaware of what awaits them next. The story of the demon Asura turned 5-year-old Lolly continues. Tiny red shoes pattered softly through the vibrant green grass as Xiao Xiao went into a sun-drenched garden, her enormous, sparkling eyes reflecting the impossible beauty of the human world. It was so pretty, a breathtaking canvas of light and color that filled her with a strange sense of peace. What had happened? Her thoughts cut short when she saw a figure lying amongst the flowers, groaning in pain before slowly sitting up, his handsome face etched with confusion as his gaze locked onto her. Kang Feng watched the little girl, a wry smile gracing his lips. Despite her terrifying temper, she was, after all, just a child. Xiao Xiao's mouth fell open in annoyance before snapping shut. Her cheeks puffed out with irritation. When did you wake up? She demanded, her voice sharp. He gave her an innocent, almost chibi-like expression, claiming he had just woken up and saw her playing so happily. The nerve! Don't look, you're ruining my mood, she snapped, turning away from him. He was utterly baffled, wondering what he could have possibly done wrong. But she wasn't having it. A mere human should just do as I say, she declared with all the authority her tiny body could muster. He raised an eyebrow, a teasing glint in his eyes as he questioned if she wasn't also a human. Seeing her pout, he quickly changed tactics, his voice softening as he promised to take her somewhere very interesting, something she would definitely love. Meanwhile, far away in the menacing purple peaks of the demon world, a coup was brewing. An intimidating man named Kang Fan, trailed by a squadron of hulking demons' massive cleavers, strode through the dark halls. Inside the throne room, a demon lord questioned him, asking if he'd found any trace of the Assura in Luosa town. The blue flame spirit beside him confirmed there was no monic aura to be found. Kang Fan stood with an unnerving calm, a small snake coiled around his neck. The Asura's presence had vanished in seconds, he reported, and even his tracker Guai Guai couldn't find a trail. Another general scoffed at the side, remarking that the woman was certainly lucky. The demon lord's voice was cold as steel. Must continue the search in secret, for she must not be allowed to return alive. One of his subordinates nervously asked what they should do now, mentioning one of the 4 generals, Luo Sang. But before anyone could answer, a single boot stepped onto the dais. All eyes turned as Kang Fan ascended the steps toward the empty throne, his intention terrifyingly clear. He moved with a chilling purpose, his dark robes flowing behind him. The other demons erupted in shock and rage. Kang Fan, what are you trying to do? His snake hissed, and with a sharp command to turn around, Kang Fan's eyes blazed with a fearsome power as he called out the name Phoenix. He raised a golden tablet, the undeniable symbol of the Asura's authority, silencing the entire hall. A wave of disbelief washed over them, but the tablet was irrefutable. "Greetings, Assura," they all chanted, dropping to their knees in submission. Kang Fan walked past his now prostrate rivals, the air thick with suffocating pressure, and took a seat upon the throne. His voice boomed with newfound power. Since their queen has gone missing and the demon world has fallen into chaos, he would temporarily take her place and restore order. He settled into the throne, a picture of arrogance and control. But one voice dared to defy him. "I don't agree." The Horned General Yin Huai lunged forward in a furious challenge. In a flash, Kang Fan's snake familiar leaped from his shoulder, transforming midair into a monstrous winged of pure purple energy that slammed into the dissenter with brutal force. Was thrown to the ground, utterly defeated and gasping for air. The massive serpent then shrank back into its tiny, almost cute form, nuzzling against its master as if seeking praise for a job well done. Kang Fan's cold, merciless gaze swept over the terrified demons. "Does anyone else have any objections?" he asked, the threat hanging heavy in the silence. He stroked his loyal pet, the blue flames flickering ominously beside him, a clear display of his absolute power. It was the General Luo Sang who finally broke the silence, kneeling and pleading for his comrade's life. Yan simply reckless, he begged, pledging his own allegiance to Kang Fan's decision. He pulled the defeated Yan Hua back, whispering for him to bear it for now, that the time wasn't right, a silent apology in his eyes. With the last of the resistance quashed, the entire court remained bowed before their new ruler. "You may rise," Kang Fan declared, a smug and victorious look on his handsome face. Luo Sang rose, his head bowed, but his expression was hidden in shadow, a mask of quiet fury. His eyes glinted with a dangerous promise. "Just you wait," he seethed internally, "that place will soon be mine." Back in the human world, blissfully unaware of the demonic power struggle, Xiao Xiao and Ling Jiu's adventure was just beginning. On a rooftop under a stormy purple sky, the 2 defeated generals, Luo Sang and Yan Hua, plotted from the shadows, looking out over the human city below. Luo Sang clenched his fist, his heart aching with worry. Where had the queen gone, and what was she doing right now? In the demon throne room, the usurper Kang Fan was also thinking of his queen, ordering his snake familiar to assemble its group and find her trail at any cost. His eyes burned with a fierce, almost obsessive loyalty. "My queen," he vowed, "Kang Fan will definitely find you." After a long journey, Ling Jiu and Xiao Xiao waved goodbye to the kind old man who had given them a ride. They had arrived in a bustling town, and Xiao Xiao's eyes went wide with excitement at the sea of people and endless stalls. Ling Jiu looked down at her dotingly, a gentle smile on his face. "Come, let's buy our Xiao some new clothes," he said, leading her towards a shop King Yuan clothes store. Soon she was trying on a beautiful, flowing light blue dress, though she couldn't help but think that these poor-quality human clothes were seriously damaging her evil image. But Ling Jiu was completely captivated. "Wow, it's wonderful. Xiao Xiao is so cute. We'll buy it," he exclaimed, already eager for her to try on more. He held out another package, his eyes sparkling with delight. She puffed out her cheeks, shaking her head. "No, I don't want to." But it was too late. Ling Jiu was already at the counter, happily paying for the dress without a second thought, the kind shopkeeper smiling at his enthusiasm. As they walked through the vibrant streets, Xiao Xiao's earlier grumpiness melted away. The human world, she decided, like a fun place to roam around. Her eyes suddenly landed on a stall selling an array of exquisite hairpins. Ling Jiu noticed her gaze and agreed that one was particularly nice. Without hesitation, Xiao Xiao pointed and declared she wanted this one, grabbing the delicate flower pin right off the display. Ling Jiu stopped her hand, chiding her softly. "You can't just take things without paying, that's stealing." He sighed, finding her demonic tendencies so troublesome. He turned to the vendor with an apologetic smile, asking how much the pin was. The vendor beamed, telling him it was 80 copper. Ling Jiu smiled, reaching for his pouch to pay. His hand froze, he felt inside, his heart sinking as he found it completely empty. A look of pure, unadulterated shock washed over his face. Oh no, he'd been so excited buying clothes for Xiao Xiao they'd spent every last coin. Xiao Xiao stared at him, her expression deadpan. "He doesn't have any more money." She sighed, looking at his panicked state with a mix of pity and exasperation. What a pitiful person. Her attention was then drawn to a crowd gathering around a man sobbing on the ground, and she turned to look. A devilish glint sparked in her eyes as a wicked idea began to form. She sidled up to the distraught Lingju with a mischievous smirk. "Hey, why don't you wear girl clothes and perform?" His face went pale with horror. "Wear girls' clothes? No, please." He recoiled as if she'd suggested he jump into a volcano. But she was relentless, walking closer to him. "You look so pure you won't lose to any normal girl," she reasoned. "What are you so scared of?" He was adamant, his face flushing a deep red. "No, I don't want to. I would rather die." And yet, the very next moment, he stood there in a stunning red dress, looking more beautiful than any woman in the crowd. He tugged at the fabric, his blush reaching the tips of his ears as he shyly asked if he looked weird. Xiao Xiao had to admit, he was so pretty. She tried to stifle her giggles, giving him a thumbs up from behind. "Nope. Sister is very pretty," she chirped. "Fight on," she encouraged, giving him a little push for his face contorted in utter mortification. He took a shaky step towards the crowd and began his heart-wrenching performance, dabbing at his teary eyes. "Me and my pitiful younger sister were separated from our parents," he sobbed, his voice trembling beautifully. "We were robbed by bandits and lost all our money." All the while, his mind was screaming in agony. What am I doing? This is so embarrassing, just kill me now." He looked up, his eyes glistening with unshed tears, and held out a delicate hand. "Big brothers and sisters, please give us some money to help us find our parents," he pleaded. "I will be forever grateful." The crowd was moved, but one lecherous man was completely captivated. "Miss, your tears have broken my heart," he gushed, grabbing Lingju's arm. "Come with me, I will help you." Xiao Xiao watched from the side, a triumphant smirk on her face. Perfect, he's attracted a big fish. Now he just needs to use this chance to earn more money. But as the creep tried to drag the mortified Lingju away, another hand shot out from the crowd. A strong, rough hand clamped down hard on Xiao Xiao's arm, yanking her off her feet. Her eyes widened in pure terror as she was lifted into the air, a desperate cry for help escaping her lips. A playful wink and a mischievous smile hint at the chaos to come as the handsome Xian playfully tugs on little Xiao Xiao's hair. Under the warm sun filtering through the lush green canopy, Xian tells the young girl that he needs to go find his master. But before he can take a single step, a grimy hand grabs his wrist, stopping him in his tracks. A buck-toothed man with a lecherous grin tosses a heavy pouch of money him, his voicing with creepy intent, telling the beautiful maiden to take the money and not be shy about playing with him. Xian's face flushes a deep crimson, a mix of pure humiliation and rage, as he tries to explain that the man has grievously misunderstood. But the creep isn't listening, his grip tightening on Xian's sleeve, pulling him closer. The man's eyes turn into literal hearts, his disgusting fantasy running wild. He thinks receiving money has only made this shy beauty more aggressive, just as he expected. Pushed beyond his limit, Xian lets out a desperate roar, proclaiming he is a man, and rips his robes open to reveal a sculpted, undeniably male chest. The revelation is so shocking the buck-toothed man's soul practically leaves his body as his attendant rushes to his side. Tucking the newly acquired cash into his robes, Xian turns triumphantly, ready to tell Xiao Xiao their money problems are solved. But his smile freezes. The space where she stood just moments ago is now empty. A chilling panic grips his heart as he calls out her name into the unnervingly quiet air. "Xiao Xiao." Far from the bustling path, a ruffian dashes through the trees. He runs with purpose, a small child slung over his shoulder. It's Xiao Xiao, kicking and struggling with all her might, but her tiny body is utterly powerless against the brute's strength. In a desperate act of defiance, she bites down hard on his arm, her eyes blazing with fury. The man yelps in pain, dropping her to the ground with a thud and raising his fist. Enraged, this little brat dared to fight back. A violent energy crackles around his knuckles, ready to strike her down. But before his fist can connect, a steady hand intercepts his arm, stopping him cold. An intimidating man with an eye patch, clearly the leader, icily reminds his subordinate to calm down. If he damages the product, the price will drop. The ruffian immediately shrinks back, sheepishly agreeing with his boss. Just then, as graceful as a falling leaf, Kang Fan lands silently on a tree branch above Xian's panicked attendant. Upon hearing that a man had snatched Xiao Xiao and vanished in the blink of an eye, Kang Fan's handsome face contorts with cold fury. In a flash, he launches himself through the trees, a determined glint in his eyes, promising to find her. Meanwhile, the kidnappers decide to stop for a meal, planning to hunt some animals. Their voices steer Xiao Xiao from her daze, her large eyes snapping open to the terrifying reality of her capture. As the kidnappers move through the woods, one of them stops dead in his tracks, pointing ahead. "Boss," he exclaims, "there's a girl lying down here." The girl in question sits up, her eyes slowly focusing. It's the Demon Queen, refer to her true form, but something is wrong. She thought turning back would restore her power, so why does she still feel so weak? The eye-patch-wearing boss approaches her with a slimy smile, holding a small rabbit as a peace offering, telling the pretty girl not to be afraid because he'll be very gentle. In response, a terrifying surge of demonic energy erupts from her hand, engulfing the man in crackling purple lightning. He screams in agony, completely overwhelmed by the raw power. She smirks, her voice dripping with contempt for these ignorant humans. Even weakened, she could still kill them all. Suddenly, the air grows heavy as shadowy figures materialize from thin air. They are her loyal followers, kneeling before her in reverence, hailing their queen. The kidnappers are left forgotten on the ground, completely incapacitated. Her subjects apologize for their tardiness, explaining they rushed over the moment they sensed her aura. She dismisses their apology, ordering them to help her up, but they hesitate, exchanging confused glances. Her aura is faint, her power diminished. Why is their queen so weak? She demands to know who they are, sensing their strange behavior. Has Kang Fan returned yet? Asks, her patience wearing thin. One of the cloaked figure's eyes narrows with murderous intent. In a horrifying act of betrayal, a blast of energy strikes her from behind. She gasps, stumbling forward as blood blossoms on her robes. How dare you attack me? She screams, filled with disbelief and rage. But her followers, now her assassin, raise their weapons. She is weak, they whisper. Now is their chance to kill her. A bunch of traitors. She snarls, gathering the last of her strength. Who ordered you to do this? She demands. The lead assassin simply scoffs, telling her she can find that out in hell before unleashing a cataclysmic attack. The blast throws her violently to the ground. She coughs, blood staining her lips and robes. With every ounce of her will, she pushes herself up, glaring defiantly at the circle of traitors closing in. Don't let her escape, their leader commands, pointing a single, decisive finger, sealing her fate. Sunlight streamed through the dense bamboo forest, illuminating a scene of chaos and bloodshed. How could this be? How could she, the mighty Queen Asura, be defeated by a bunch of wretched small fry? Her pride was in tatters, her heart burning with indignation. With her robes torn and her breath coming in ragged gasps, she forced her aging body to run, to escape the humiliation of this pursuit. Behind her, the sounds of her enemies grew closer, their voices echoing through the trees. One of their leaders pointed decisively, ordering his men to search in her direction. They had to find the queen. Panic seized her as she ducked behind a large rock. This was bad. She was completely surrounded, a queen cornered like a common animal. How could she possibly escape from here? Just as despair began to set in, a hand suddenly clamped down on her shoulder. Her eyes flew open in shock and terror, every nerve screaming in alarm. She whirled around, ready to fight, a furious question on her lips. Who was it? But she was pulled into a firm embrace, and a familiar, handsome face met her gaze. His long hair framed features filled with concern, and his gentle purple eyes were a startling contrast to the danger around them. "Miss, it's me," he whispered, a voice of calm in the storm. But they weren't safe yet. Not far off, another group of pursuers, cloaked in black and wielding sinister scythes, searched the undergrowth, their orders clear. They could not let her escape. Suddenly, the forest floor came alive with slithering serpents, their scales glinting in the light. The cloaked assassins froze, their eyes widening in shock and disgust. "There are snakes here," he cried out in alarm. Just then, the first group of pursuers arrived, confronting the cloaked figures with suspicion. "Hey," one of them demanded, pointing an accusing finger. "Which lord are you working for? Have you seen the queen?" The leader of the cloaked group, his own striking purple eyes narrowed, smoothly deflected the question. They were from Kenling's clan, he claimed, and they should find the queen first. After its moment, the two factions agreed to together, their combined "let's go find our queen" echoing through the woods. Elsewhere, a small snake, one of them he summoned, flicked its tongue as if calling out for its master. "Queen, where are you?" Safe for the moment, the queen shoved her rescuer away, her hand flying to his throat in a threatening gesture as she pushed him to the ground. But the handsome young man didn't even flinch. He simply looked up at her with a weary sigh, asking her to release him. Every time they met, she was always so aggressive. Last time she'd knocked him out cold, and now this. He just wanted her to stand up. Her glare faltered. A wave of dizziness washed over her, her strength finally giving out as her body swayed precariously. His eyes widened in alarm as he shot up, catching her just as she collapsed. "Miss! Are you all right?" he cried, his arms wrapping securely around her trembling form, his face a mask of pure worry. His gaze fell to her leg and his heart dropped. Blood was soaking through the fabric of her dress. "Oh, she's hurt." She was barely conscious now, her face pale and beaded with sweat. A look of grim determination crossed his face. "Forgive me for doing this," he murmured, his voice but firm. In one fluid motion, he lifted her into his arms, holding her princess style against his chest. The situation was crucial, hoping she wouldn't mind the intimacy. He then leaped into the air, carrying her away from the dangers of the forest. He landed silently in the quiet courtyard of a small home, where an elderly woman was hanging laundry. He approached her hesitantly. Excuse me, can you help?" he asked, his voice strained with urgency. The kind woman turned, her eyes immediately falling on the injured girl cradled arms. "Oh, you poor young man," she said with a worried frown. "Is your wife hurt?" His entire brain stuttered to a halt. Wife?" A furious blush crept up his neck, staining his cheeks a deep crimson. He was completely flustered, his mind racing in circles. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to play along. He was sorry, but for now he could only claim her as his wife. "Yes," he managed to say, his voice tight. "My wife is injured. Can you please help us?" Of course, the woman replied with a warm, reassuring smile. "Sure, quickly bring your wife in." She led them inside, where he gently laid the queen down on a simple bed. "Miss, are you all right?" he whispered, his concern evident in every line of his face. She remained unconscious, her breathing shallow. He took out a small vial of medicine, hoping it would help. "Please bear with it," he murmured. "This medicine will help you." The old woman returned with a basin of warm water. "You must be tired on your way here," she said kindly. She set the basin down, telling him he could use the water to clean the dirt off her. He thanked her, his heart filled with gratitude. He dipped a soft cloth into the basin and began to gently wipe away the grime and blood from her face and neck. As he tended to her, a strange feeling blossomed in his chest. His heart began to pound fast and loud in the quiet room. "What is happening to me?" he wondered, his own reaction startling him. "Why is my heart beating so fast?" He shook his head, trying to clear his thoughts. "I should be helping her." He focused on carefully cleaning a cut on her delicate neck, his touch incredibly gentle. The old woman reappeared, holding a set of clean clothes. "Young man, this is my daughter's. You should change your wife into this," she instructed, also placing some food on a nearby table. He thanked her profusely, but his relief was short-lived. "Why don't you do it?" the woman added with a smile, "and I will help you with other things." He froze in utter mortification. The woman just chuckled knowingly. "You guys are a couple. Don't be shy now." He stared down at the clothes in his hands, a wave of despair washing over him. "Clan leader, your teachings are sure bad," he thought miserably, feeling completely helpless. "I'm sorry about this." Trembling, he reached a hand towards her robes. But the sheer embarrassment was too much. He felt dizzy, his head spinning as if he were about to faint. Sudden panic gripped him. They still hadn't found Xiao Xiao. His mind erupted in a silent scream. Unable to take it anymore, he bolted from the room, fleeing the scene like a startled deer. Sometime later, the queen's eyes fluttered open. "Where?" she thought, taking in the unfamiliar room. She slowly sat up, a fragmented memory returning to her. "I remember seeing that kid just before I fainted." But her own condition was more pressing. "First, let me see if my energy recovered," she resolved, closing her eyes to concentrate. A faint swirl of purple energy materialized between her hands before sputtering out and disappearing completely. Her eyes snapped open, filled with frustration and dismay. Dealing with those traitors had completely exhausted the little energy she had managed to recover. She was completely and utterly worn out, vulnerable in a strange place with no power to protect herself. A suffocating sense of dread crept up our Demon Queen's spine. This human form was a liability. The traitors of the Devil Clan could find her far too easily with this face. It was just too dangerous. Meanwhile, back in the small cottage, Waxi was having a full-blown meltdown. He was doomed, absolutely doomed. In his adorable little girl form, he wobbled on the spot, a ghostly aura of despair surrounding him. He had successfully brought back the goddess, but in his haste, he'd forgotten about his other self, Xiao Xiao. When he went back, she was nowhere to be found. His mind snapped back to his adult form, his handsome face etched with worry as he looked at the goddess who had just woken up. He asked if she was awake, his voice laced with urgency. Had she, by any chance, seen a little girl when she was trapped? He gestured with his hands, describing a small child, maybe 5 or 6-year-old, with cute bangs. Little did he know, the little girl was standing right there in front of him, internally sighing at his cluelessness. This foolish man seemed to think his two forms were two completely different people. With a flicker of surprise in her golden eyes, she confirmed that yes, she had seen her. She gracefully slid out of bed, her movements fluid and regal. The child was incredibly smart, she explained, raising a delicate finger. She'd run off to get help, and then she never saw her again. A wave of immense relief washed over Huaxi's face, his tense shoulders relaxing as a gentle smile bloomed. He clutched his chest, his heart finally calming down. As long as she was safe, that was all that mattered. Just then, the door slid open with a soft push. An elderly woman entered carrying a tray of food, a warm smile on her face as she addressed Huaxi. "Young man, is your wife already awake?" Huaxi's brain short-circuited. "Wife?" The Demon Queen tilted her head, a silent question mark appearing above her. Huaxi, on the other hand, was a mess of flailing limbs and frantic denials, his face flushing a deep red. No, that wasn't the case at all," he stammered. The old woman simply placed the tray down with a knowing thud, completely unfazed. She chuckled, her eyes twinkling with amusement. She'd been through this before, she knew how it was. It was always interesting to see how young people get themselves into trouble these. As the woman left, the Demon Queen seized her chance. She leaned in so faces were mere inches apart, her voice a seductive, dangerous whisper. "Young boy, speak. Besides pretending to have her as his wife, what other wrongs had he committed in secret?" Her head on his chest, right over a glowing pentagonal seal on his robes, and Huaishi broke out in a cold sweat. He was utterly, completely doomed. His eyes widened in sheer terror as he grabbed her wrist. He shoved her hand away and scrambled back, blurting out the first panicked thought that came to his mind. He was sorry he changed her clothes. He then tailed and ran, leaving her utterly bewildered. Clothes? So that was why this fabric felt so uncomfortable. The poor boy was practically bowing to the floor, begging for forgiveness for his disrespect. He'd do anything she wanted, he insisted, even let her cut him to cool her down. She watched his pathetic display with a hidden smirk. She hadn't expected this kid to be pure. He was far more inexperienced than even most junior demons. This was his first time meeting a real goddess, and it was proving to be quite interesting. She sat down elegantly, a cloud of cute yellow chicks popping between them. A moment later, her stomach rumbled. "I'm hungry," she declared. "I want something to eat." The bowl of porridge sat innocently on the table. In a devilishly cute chibi form, complete with tiny red horns, she gestured to the bowl. "Here," she offered, before closing her eyes and opening her mouth expectantly. Fee. Huaishi's face was a mixture of shock and annoyance. This was incredibly impolite, he blustered, threatening to use a knife to cut the hatred in her heart, trying desperately to sound intimidating. But his resolve crumbled instantly as he picked up the bowl. "Faster," she commanded, her eyes flashing with authority. Her inner demoness grinned, pitchfork in hand. The goddess was going to make this very hard for him. He held the bowl, completely defeated. With a look of utter resignation, he accepted his fate. He lifted the spoon to her lips, obediently feeding her the porridge. Then she demanded a drink, and he dutifully offered her the cup. A sly smile played on her lips as she watched him. He was very obedient. She then reached out, her finger gently brushing against his lips, sending a jolt through his entire body. His eyes wide with shock, this was really out of line. He was acting like a flustered maiden, and she couldn't help but wonder if it was simply because he was in the presence of a goddess. But her true thoughts were far more calculating. Her magic power was dangerously low, and the traitors could be hunting her any moment. He was the only person available, and for now she would use him. Far away, in the desolate and eerie demon world, schemes were already in motion. A hooded figure knelt before a throne, reporting that they had found the Demon Queen. But there was a complication. General Kang Fang's loyalists had suddenly appeared. A brutish general with massive horns slammed his fist down, roaring that they were trash for being scared. But the cold, calculating man on the throne silenced him. This operation had to remain a secret. The hooded figure then added that there was a rumor spreading among the subordinates. Under the light of a blood-red moon, another powerful figure received his own report. A statuesque man with a menacing snake tattoo and piercing blue eyes listened intently. They had detected faint demonic energy in the bamboo forest. The queen's control over her magic was clearly unstable. They had also encountered another group of demons searching for her, their loyalties unknown. The man's hand slammed onto the table with a resounding thud. He knew exactly what was happening. Someone was planning to assassinate the queen under the guise of finding her. The purple-haired tyrant on the throne leaned forward, a cruel glint in his eyes. He made the subordinate repeat the most important detail. The queen's magic power was so low she couldn't even beat a few of them. A wicked, triumphant smile spread across his face as he stood. He cackled. "That's very good." He had been worried they wouldn't be a match for her. He gave his order with chilling finality, "Send more men." At the same time, the snake-tattooed general gave his own command, "Find her and ensure she is safe." Two opposing forces were now in motion. The tyrant wanted to send an army of cannon fodder to overwhelm her before she could recover her power. The loyal general's orders were far more brutal. Once they found the tyrant's men, they were to be shown no mercy. Kill them all. Back in the mortal realm, blissfully unaware of the demonic war brewing, our duo prepared to leave. The kind woman waved them off, wishing them a safe journey. But just as they were leaving, she called out, asking for the Mrs. name. The Demon Queen froze. She hadn't thought of an alias. After a brief, panicked moment, she beamed. "My name is Hai Tang," she announced cheerfully. Huaxi smiled warmly. "It has a nice ring," he said. He then turned to her, asking Miss Hai Tang which way the little girl had gone. She thoughtfully touched her chin, recalling the old woman's words about the southeast. She declared, "We should set off to find Xiao Xiao." They journeyed through a verdant forest, the path ahead unknown. As night fell, they arrived at a bung city, mysterious blue spirits fluttering through the air like butterflies. Huaxi's brow furrowed concern. "We're already in the city," he murmured. "Where could that child have possibly run off to?" In the moon-drenched courtyard, the air was thick with tension. The handsome cultivator, Huai Li, told his companion she could wait there. He would go look for the little girl. The Demon Queen, in her adult guise, could only stare at his back in disbelief. What an idiot, she thought. He didn't need to look for her when she was standing right behind him. But she played her part, watching as he walked away, his voice echoing through the desolate streets as he called out for Xiao Xiao. A sudden chill ran down her spine. The yin energy here was suffocatingly low, and a terrible feeling began to bloom in her chest. "Queen," with a flicker of alarm. Something was wrong. Just then, a group of imposing figures in black robes materialized from the shadows, their demonic aura unmistakable. They bowed respectfully, announcing they were here to bring her home. The queen's heart gave a heavy thump in her chest as she turned to face them. Huai Lai's eyes widened, sensing the sudden shift in the atmosphere. Before anyone could move, another squad of demons appeared, their voices sharp as they demanded to know who these intruders were. The queen's eyes narrowed, a cold glint within them. Two different batches of subordinates. Which one was the traitor, she wondered, or were they both here to betray her? A faint, dangerous smile touched her lips as she watched the two groups face off. This was a perfect opportunity. She calmly explained that just a few days ago, another group had come to greet her. But their true intention she revealed with a flash of fury. To assassinate her. Her voice dropped, laced with venom and regal authority, as she demanded to know who the traitors reported to. The horned demons immediately fell to one knee, swearing their loyalty. They were sent by the demon general Kang Fang. How could they possibly be traitors? The other group scoffed loudly at their claim. That was utter bullshit, their leader snarled, because they were the ones who worked under Demon General Kang Fang. As proof, the first presented a gleaming golden token. Now this, the queen thought with a hint of amusement, was getting difficult. A wicked smirk spread across her face. This was going to be interesting. Immediately, the two factions erupted into a fierce argument, accusing each other of being shameless impersonators. Accusations quickly devolved into a chaotic, comical brawl, with demons tumbling over each other in a cloud of dust. The queen couldn't help but let out a small laugh at the ridiculous sight. Later, under the pale moonlight, they made their escape through the quiet streets. Huai Li, still panting from the run, reassured her that they should be fine now. It was only then that she noticed his hand was firmly holding hers, his warmth seeping into her skin. A blush crept up her neck as she quickly pulled her hand away, stammering an apology that she was in a rush and didn't mean it. The stoic cultivator's face turned a brilliant shade of red, flustered as he insisted it was holding hands, nothing more. Just as the awkward silence settled, an old man shuffled past them. Huai Lai's expression immediately shifted from embarrassed to focused. He called out, stopping the old man in his tracks. He needed to ask, had he seen a really cute 5- or 6-year-old girl with bangs anywhere? The old man turned, his gaze shifty and unsettling. His eye twitched as he admitted that yes, to be honest, he did see her. She was taken away by monsters. Huai Li's blood ran cold. Monsters? Where were they? Where did they take her? He demanded, his voice tight with panic. The old man began to weave a sorrowful tale, claiming that 2 days ago, the little girl had asked him for directions, and fearing for her safety, he let her stay at his home. The queen watched him, her eyes sharp with suspicion. He seemed normal, but she couldn't sense a trace of genuine anger or grief from him. He continued his story, claiming that before they even arrived home, monsters attacked and captured the poor child. Impossible, she thought. This man was clearly making up stories to fool the gullible Huai Li. But her companion was already hooked. He had the town's dark and eerie ambiance, a perfect place for monsters to lurk. Ignoring all the warning signs, he grabbed the old man's arm, urging him to lead the way quickly. The queen put a hand to her forehead in exasperation. They were doomed. She had almost forgotten just how naive he was. The old man tried to dissuade him, warning that it was too late and the monsters were terrifying. He would only die in vain. But Huai Li stood tall, his resolve unshaken. He declared that he was a cultivator, an expert at warding off evil spirits, and the old man had nothing to fear. Seeing his determination, the old man finally relented, agreeing to take him there. He then suggested the miss should wait for them safely in the inn. Huai Li turned to her, his exterior, and told her to wait for him while he went to find Xiao Xiao. She looked at him, her voice with skepticism. Was it really worth risking his life for a child? Huai Li's gaze was unwavering. Miss Xiao Xiao was different, he explained. He had already promised to take her to Chengzhou, and her disappearance was responsibility. This was his only clue, and he had to see it through. The queen was momentarily speechless, taken aback by the depth of his conviction. It was strangely nice to hear him say the Demon Queen was different, but a relief that he still hadn't recognized her. He turned to follow the old man, back straight and determined. A wave of protectiveness washed over her. She couldn't let this fool go alone. Hold on, she called out, her hand outstretched. I will come with you. A warm, gentle smile spread across Huai Li's face. He knew she couldn't bear to be alone. He turned back to her, a playful glint in his eyes, asking if they were going or not. The queen blushed, looking away. Since her magic hadn't been restored yet, she was depending on his protection, so she really shouldn't have been worrying about him. Meanwhile, Huai Li's heart soared, joy she wanted to go with him. The old man led them down a dark, winding path shrouded in an unsettling mist. He stopped and pointed a trembling finger at the ground. These, he whispered, were the tracks left by the monster that day. Huai Li knelt to inspect them, his brow furrowed concentration. He could feel a wicked energy emanating from the tracks. It was probably a beast with a massive body. The old man pressed him, asking what kind of monster it could be. The queen stepped forward, her gaze piercing the old man's facade. She asked him a simple question. If he saw the monster capture the little girl with his own eyes, why didn't he know what it was? The old man stammered, unable to form a coherent response. Huai Li, ever the gentleman, gently chided her, saying he was just an old man and she shouldn't embarrass him. As a light breeze swayed his long, dark hair, his eyes suddenly shot wide open in utter disbelief. What? He breathed, his face a mask of pure shock as he stared at something just beyond their sight. The handsome cultivator gave our little demon queen a playful wink. tugging off of her hair while she looked up with wide, innocent eyes, a perfect picture of adorable trickery. An old man's voice cut through the night, filled with a stern warning. Tao Tao shouldn't run, it was dangerous outside. Didn't her daddy tell her to stay in her room? The young woman he called Tao Tao looked absolutely terrified, her shoulders hunched and her eyes wide, with what seemed far too deep for a simple scolding. The old man explained to Xiao Xiao and her handsome companion that this was his dearest daughter, a weak girl who was afraid of the world after being made fun of for so long. The cultivator's violet eyes narrowed slightly, a flicker of suspicion in their depths. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. They looked like father and daughter, but why did she seem so utterly terrified of him? The old man, oblivious, kindly offered them a place to stay for the night. Since it was already so late, Xiao Xiao graciously accepted his offer. But her companion puffed out his chest, his expression filled with heroic determination. If any monsters dared to attack again, he would fight them all to protect them. Later that night, under the soft glow of the crescent moon, a small figure crept out of her room. It was Xiao Xiao, her expression serious as she pushed open the door, clearly on a mission of her own. She raised a delicate hand, and a sinister purple energy began to swirl around her fingertips, a power taking shape in the courtyard. A voice from the shadows made her jump. Her companion was there, his arms crossed as he asked if she also thought something was wrong with Tao Tao. His sudden appearance startled her so badly she let out a shriek. The noise woke Tao Tao, who sat bolt upright in bed, her face a mask of pure, unadulterated terror. Her eyes widened in horror as a monstrous, shadowy presence began to form in the corner of her room, a suffocating aura filling the air. The cultivator's instincts screamed. "Move," he yelled, his eyes flashing with urgency. He lunged forward, grabbing Xiao Xiao by the arm and yanking her back with a powerful swoosh. Just as the shadow monster attacked, a whirlwind of violent blue energy erupted where she had just been standing. Tao Tao cried out, her voice breaking with desperation as she pleaded with the creature not to hurt them. Just as suddenly as it appeared, the entity was gone. A sly smirk Xiao Xiao's lips. Her plan had worked perfectly. She'd just given them all the proof they needed. The cultivator rushed to her side, his voice laced with concern as he asked if she was all right, his hand gently taking hers. The sudden movement made Xiao Xiao lose her balance, and she stumbled forward, falling directly into his strong chest. He caught her instinctively, his entire flushing a deep crimson as he stammered, completely flustered by their proximity. She looked up at him with a grumpy pout, asking if he was ever going to let go of her, to which he could only squeak out a meek "oh." He quickly checked on them both, asking if they were all right, but Tao Tao wasn't looking at him. Her eyes were wide with fear as she pointed behind Xiao Xiao, screaming a warning. Xiao Xiao's head whipped around, her eyes widening in surprise. With a sharp, precise movement, she delivered a swift chop to the back of the unsuspecting cultivator's neck. His eyes went wide with disbelief. What was she doing? Before he crumpled to the ground, unconscious, the old man held his daughter's hand, his grip tight as he explained the situation to his guests earlier that evening. The cultivator had smiled warmly, ever the gentleman, assuring him it was no problem and suggesting they let the poor girl get some rest. But now, in the present, Xiao Xiao was hugging the still unconscious Tao Tao, a triumphant glint in her eyes. "We've successfully lured the snake out of its hole," she declared, ordering her now conscious and utterly bewildered companion to help tie the girl up. He stared at her in horror, his chibi form sweating profusely as he protested that kidnapping someone was illegal. Xiao Xiao's eyes narrowed into dangerous slits, her voice dripping with blackmail. Was he going to help her? Or should she perhaps inform his mentors that their prized disciple tried to take advantage of a sleeping maiden, completely ruining his pristine reputation? Crying cartoon tears of defeat, he immediately surrendered, begging her not to be so impulsive as he reluctantly tied Tao Tao's wrists together. "Let's go," Xiao commanded, grabbing the captive girl. Meanwhile, the old man struggled to push open a jammed door, grunting with effort. With a final shove, he burst through, tumbling onto the floor with a heavy thump into a silent, empty room. "Where is everyone?" he panicked, his eyes darting around frantically. His kindly demeanor vanished, replaced by a grim darkness as he unsheathed a sword. Pinned to the wall was a note. "Your daughter is here. Tao Tao?" He snapped up, his gaze finding the trio, waiting for him in the courtyard. The poor, clueless cultivator was confused, asking Xiao Xiao if she really suspected that harmless-looking old man. Xiao's expression was deadly serious. "Believe me," she told him, "monsters are easy to deal with, but the evil spirits hiding in human skin are the true danger." The old man stepped out into the moonlight, his facade crumbling away. "Where did you hide my daughter, Tao Tao?" he demanded, his voice menacing growl. Xiao just laughed. "Stop the act," she taunted, ordering her companion to hit him with a binding spell now. "All right," he yelled, and with a surge of power, he unleashed of glowing golden and blue runes that flew through the air. The spell coiled around the old man like ethereal chains, revealing a burning red demonic aura seething beneath his skin. The cultivator's eyes widened, stunned that she had been right all along. A surge of righteous fury filled him as he drew his sword, crackling with divine lightning. "Monster," he roared, "where did you hide Xiao Xiao? Hand her over." With a powerful battle cry, he charged, the old man's human skin to peel away like burning paper, revealing the horrifying creature beneath. It was a ghost yaksha, a demon with sharp horns, pointed teeth, and eyes glowing with malevolence. The demon sneered at him, its voice a guttural rasp. "You ignorant kid," it hissed, "if you had offered me a body of spiritual power, I might have considered sparing your pathetic life." A guttural roar splits the night, demanding the return of Tao Tao. A grotesque ghost yaksha, crackling with violent purple energy, glares at the group with pure malice. Kun's face twists in disgust. What an ugly monster. He wouldn't let this get its way, pulling out a golden talisman, ready to seal it away for good. His companions cry out in alarm, trying to stop him. Ghost yaksha was a high-level monster, far too dangerous for him to fight alone. But their warnings came too late. In a flash, Kun is struck by a wave of demonic power, the force of it so immense it tears through his robes and sends blood splattering into the air. His eyes widen in shock as the sinister energy bypasses him, turning its attention to its true target. He crumples to the ground, his body giving out. A chilling realization dawns on him. This isn't good. The monster's target was Miss Hai Tang all along. A scream catches in Hai Tang's throat as she finds herself completely paralyzed, bound by crimson tendrils of suffocating energy. She can't move a single muscle as the yaksha descends upon her, its clawed hand closing around her delicate neck. The monster holds her hostage, its foul breath on her face, and issues a chilling ultimatum: "Return my daughter, or I will kill her." A primal rage erupts from Kun's very soul as he screams to let her go, forcing his feet and drawing his sword. This damn ghost, he thought, it doesn't even know how powerful it is, absorbing so much yin energy. The pressure around Hai Tang's throat is immense, her vision starting to blur from the lack of air. In her current weakened state, breaking free was impossible. Her feet dangle helplessly, a single, desperate plea sticking her lips. "Is it me?" Watching her struggle, Kun lets out a cry of pure anguish. The yaksha sneers at the overconfident little brat before unleashing a devastating blast of crimson energy. The attack slams into Kun, throwing him against the wall like a rag doll. He slumps to the ground, broken and bleeding. "It's over," the yaksha gloats. "You'll all go to hell and meet the king of Hades." He tightens his grip and Hai Tang chokes, her face a mask of agony. Kun can only watch in horror, screaming her name into the void. The light in her eyes begins to fade. Her elegant hand goes limp, dropping lifelessly to her side. Her head lolls forward, the last breath stolen from her lungs. How incompetent, the monster scoffs, before contemptuously throwing her body through the air. Kun scrambles forward, his heart shattering into a million pieces as he catches her limp form. He holds her close, tears of grief and fury streaming down his face as he desperately begs Miss Hai Tang to wake up. The world around him seems to burn away in a haze of pain and regret. His master's words echoed in his mind: experience is the only way to get stronger. Protect the people you care for. He had failed. He didn't even know where her home was, or why she had ventured out alone. He never even got the chance to tell her how he felt. Suddenly, the yaksha's eyes dart around in confusion as a golden light begins to radiate from the boy. What's going on? A brilliant divino explodes from Kun, his grief transforming into righteous fury. His eyes burning with unspeakable rage, lock onto demon. You're the one who killed her. He vows that the yaksha will pay with its life. But just as he lunges forward, a tiny figure rushes between them. "No!" Tao Tao screams, throwing herself in the path of Kun's vengeful strike. A blinding light engulfs the courtyard, followed by a child's piercing shriek. Tao Tao collapses, a bloody wound blooming on her chest. "Daughter, what are you doing?" The yaksha cries out, his monstrous trembling, as if he rushes to her side and cradles her small body. "Daddy!" Stop killing people," she whispers, her voice faint. He tries to defend his rampage, insisting he didn't care about anyone else, that life and death are fated. But Tao Tao doesn't want her daddy to be in such pain. Her small hand rests on his chest. "This is wrong," she pleads, reminding him of their dream to travel the world together. "Wake up, daddy, please wake up." The yaksha holds his dying child, his rage dissolving into profound sorrow. "My silly daughter," he whispers, "if you are not here, what is it the patty living in this world?" He makes his choice. "We'll come with you." A gentle light envelops them, and they dissolve into motes of light, vanishing into the night sky forever. Hai Tang gasps, her eyes snapping open as she sits up. She feels half dead, but the suffocating pressure is gone. She knows she has to leave before the boy finds out her secret, but as she starts to float away, a hand firmly grabs her ankle. It's Kun. His eyes flutter open, filled with exhausted relief. "Hai Tang, you are fine now," he whispers. "I'm glad." His grip tightens desperately. "Don't leave," he begs, his voice. "Please wait until I am fully awake. I have so much to tell you." Hai Tang looks down at his bruised and bloodied face, the image of him fighting so fiercely to save her flashing through her mind. Her resolve melts. Fine, she says softly, her voice filled with an emotion she can't quite name. I won't leave. A gentle healing flows from her fingertips, mending his wounds. As his breathing evens out, a small, satisfied smile touches his lips before he drifts back to sleep. The moment he's unconscious, Hai Tang's body begins to glow. She shrinks rapidly, transforming back into her child form before falling gently from the air. When Kun finally awakens again, the sun is high in the sky. Hai Tang, he calls out, sitting up with a start. He turns and sees little Xiao Xiao sleeping beside him, a wave of relief washing over him that she's safe. His voice wakes her, and she grumbles about him being so noisy. She sits up, her eyes widening as she realizes she's small again. Kun looks at her, his expression heartbreakingly earnest. Xiao Xiao, he asks, have you seen an older woman? She's about 16 or 17, very pretty. Her name is Hai Tang, and she promised she would wait for me. Xiao Xiao freezes, her heart hammering in her chest as little yellow chicks of panic flutter around her head. What am I supposed to do? The deity's handsome face was clouded with anguish as he stared into the empty room. Shorty's left, he asked, his voice tight. With a perfectly serious face, Xiao Xiao confirmed his fears, but he pressed on, a desperate hope in his violet eyes. Did she not leave any words? When the answer was a simple no, Xiao Xiao just nodded, her expression unreadable. He wasn't buying it. Liar, he hissed, the word laced with betrayal. She clearly said she wouldn't leave until he woke up. H'd at the broken promise. But Xiao Xiao, ever the strategist, grabbed onto his robes, looking up with fierce determination. Don't worry, she declared, her tiny voice filled with an unshakable certainty. Both of you will surely meet her again. The deity was completely stunned by her confidence. How would you know? He whispered, bewildered. She just knew that was all. A wave of guilt washed over her as she let out a frustrated shout, but her little act worked perfectly. His expression softened into a breathtakingly gentle smile as he reached out to pat her head. Xiao Xiao, thank you for staying, he murmured, his touch warm and sincere. A thoughtful look crossed his face, his amethyst eyes gazing into the distance. He'd always thought that all monsters were cold-blooded and ruthless, but now he understood that even the fearsome Yaksha had his reasons. The love between a father and daughter was precious, he decided, a new resolve hardening his features. They would bury them. After digging 2 simple graves, he turned to the small child beside him. Xiao Xiao, I will take you to Chengzu. With a flick of his wrist, a surge of power rose from the ground, he called out, and a magnificent sword flew through the air, summoned by his command. It hovered before them, a testament to his newfound strength. The sword stopped obediently in front of him. He turned to her, his face alight with pure, boyish excitement. Look, Xiao Xiao, I broke through. I can control the sword now. With a graceful leap, he landed on the flat of the blade and held out his hand. Come here, he urged. Xiao Xiao stared back, utterly unimpressed. Was he really this happy just because he could control a sword? That didn't mean he could beat her in a fight. Ignoring her silent judgment, he pointed dramatically towards the horizon. Sword, let's head towards Chengzhou. They shot into the sky like a silver arrow, a blur against the clouds. Xiao Xiao's tiny screams echoed behind them, begging him to slow down. They soared over the treetops and the roofs of a distant town. Finally, they landed gently in a grassy field, the sword dropping to the ground with a soft thud. Xiao Xiao, he asked, we've arrived at Chengzhou. Do you still remember where your house is? Her big, sparkling eyes blinked as she tried to recall the fake memories she'd concocted. It was in Chengzhou, near a mountain, she said vaguely. There was a small village nearby, too. The deity nodded, taking her hand. Follow me, he said, leading her towards what looked like the end of the world. The village was a collection of broken-down shacks and desolate trees, a crow cawing ominously from a bare branch. This was not what he was expecting. He turned to her, a hint of amused disbelief in his eyes. Xiao Xiao, are you sure it was here? But our little demon queen was already getting into character. She couldn't believe the village she'd made up actually existed. Now she had to make her tragic backstory even more miserable. She began to sniffle dramatically. Father, mother, where are you both? She wailed, tears streaming down her face. Do you not want me anymore? The deity immediately panicked, trying to soothe her. Don't cry, Xiao Xiao, he pleaded, his hands hovering uselessly. Even if your village is in a bad condition, your parents could still be nearby. Just then, a frail old woman hobbled into view, and he saw his chance. He approached her with a hopeful smile. Grandma, do you recognize this little girl? Tell us where her parents went. His hope shattered in an instant. What do you mean the village is empty? All the youngsters already ran away. The old woman's face was a mask of grief. The rest are all gone, she croaked, her voice trembling. They all passed away. The deity's world stopped. What? He breathed, his eyes wide with horror as he turned to the little girl, Xiao Xiao. But she was thinking how naive he was. His heart broke for her. He reached out, his hand trembling, and then he pulled her into a fierce, protective embrace. Don't worry, he choked out, his voice thick with unshed tears. I will be your relative from today onwards. Xiao froze, completely shocked. Relative? He swore an oath, his body shaking with the force of his emotions. I swear I will never leave you. Tears finally streamed down his face as he clutched her tighter. I will do as I promised. I will protect you. Xiao Xiao looked on, completely deadpan. An adult man crying like this, how pathetic. She tried to push him away, but he was like a human limpet. "It doesn't matter how many times you push me away," he sobbed. "I will never leave you." He hit her so hard she felt her soul leaving her body. She could only look on, exasperated and defeated. In the end, he cried worse than she did. Leaning against his shoulder, a tiny weary smile touched her lips. "Really, I'm pressed." He holds her close, his voice a low, sincere murmur against the chilly air. "It's been half an hour," he says, his grip tightening ever so slightly. She could feel the warmth from his body, a stark contrast to the cold ring within her. "Don't worry," she promised, his violet eyes filled with a conviction that was both beautiful and infuriating. Once the wretched devil is eradicated, he would take her back to Yuan Ming, he would take care of her. His expression was so serious, so earnest, a hero straight out of a storybook. He gently held her hand, a gesture meant to be comforting. Xiao Xiao had to stop herself from scoffing out loud. What a joke. These foolish idiots wouldn't be able to kill her. The great Demon Queen, even in her weakest state, a series of cute, poofing chicks appeared in her mind's eye, a ridiculous representation of her disdain. But just as her pride swelled, a loud, embarrassing rumble echoed from her tiny stomach. Tang Linyun's concerned gaze immediately fell upon her. Was she getting hungry? He leaned in, a gentle smile gracing his handsome features, his eyes crinkling at the corners. The night was growing late, leaves rustling in the breeze against a backdrop of 1,000 stars. They should find a place to stay for the night, he decided, his voice soft. Soon, they were settled in a quiet inn, and Tang Linyun was fast asleep, his breathing even and deep. Xiao Xiao's pupils watched him from the covers, her gaze sharp and calculating. Finally, he's asleep. This was her chance. With the stealth of a cat, she slipped out from under the blanket, her small feet barely making a sound on the wooden floor. A final glance back at the sleeping fool, she was gone, melting into the night. Her destination, the sprawling, dark expanse of Mount Dian Kui. The forest was vast and unforgiving. Damn it, this mountain is big. Her little legs ached, and she wiped a bead of sweat from her brow. She didn't have any magic left to help her. She had to find her ancestor's hiding spot, and she was running out of time. Her mind raced, desperation clawing at her. Then a spark of brilliance. That's right. If her normal magic was useless, she could always rely on her blood magic. With renewed hope, she pricked her finger, a tiny bead of crimson welling up. The drop of blood formed into a radiant red thread, a living compass that darted through the undergrowth, painting the night with its glow. It swirled and dancing into a shimmering portal of pure energy. She didn't hesitate. Stepping through the light, she vanished from the mortal world, leaving the Saris behind. She emerged into a breathtaking sanctuary, a place of glowing pillars that reached towards a celestial sky. It was beautiful, but she had no time to waste. She ventured deeper into the sacred ground. There, curled upon a stone altar, was a creature of myth, a magnificent nine-tailed fox, its white fur like fresh fallen snow. As it slept, a powerful, ancient voice echoed through the clearing, demanding to know who dared to disturb its slumber. A wide grin across Xiao Xiao's face. "Ancestor," the great fox stirred, one of its enormous, fluffy tails stretching languidly. "It's me, Xiao Xiao," she chirped, running forward and burying her face in the luxurious fur. The fox's piercing red eyes softened. "Ah, your little baby Xiao Xiao." And it twitched. Why did she smell the cloying aura of a Taoist priest all over her? The fox leaned in, sniffing her curiously. How could she possibly smell that? Xiao Xiao thought, her face flushing with embarrassment. A whirlwind of purple energy erupted. A fox began to transform before her very eyes. "Ancestor, please help me," she pleaded, her filled with urgency. "Wait, are you really 1,000 years old?" She blurted out, the realization dawned on her. The light faded, not a fox, but a stunningly beautiful woman with flowing white hair, delicate fox ears, and an otherworldly grace. Xiao Xiao quickly explained her predicament. She just woke up one day and was small. The ancestor's serene expression sharpened. She knew what this was. It was the demon's curse. "The demon curse?" Xiao Xiao demanded, tugging on her ancestor's sleeve. "You know what happened to me? Tell me!" The ancestor gave a sly smile, patting her own fluffy tails. "Fine, but don't touch these, they're expensive." Seeing Xiao Xiao's teary-eyed pout, she relented and began the tale. The tragedy of the demon race began tens of thousands of years ago, all because of their first ancestor, a woman of legendary beauty. Though she added with a smug little smirk, not quite as appealing as herself, of course. Xiao Xiao rolled her eyes. "You don't have to bring that up." The ancestor cleared her throat, annoyed at the interruption. Their first ancestor befriended the heir of the Xiao men during her childhood. They were inseparable, falling deeply in love under blossoming trees, completely oblivious to true identities. But then the war began, tearing them apart. Imagine their horror when they finally discovered the truth on the blood-soaked battlefield. The love in their eyes was replaced by the cold reality of their enmity. They became strangers in an instant. The Xiao army was relentless, leaving the demon army battered and broken. Desperate to end the bloodshed, their ancestor, Luo Fei, snuck into the enemy camp at night. She sought out the head of the Xiao men, her former lover, hoping to reason with him. He saw his chance, begging her run away with him, to forget their duties and their worlds. But her heart was torn. She couldn't abandon her people, her responsibilities. She could only ask for his forgiveness. Agitated and consumed by sorrow, their ancestor made a fateful choice. She stole the sacred Ling Xiao stone from him, the source of his army's power. Without it, the fairy army was swiftly defeated, and the head of the Xiao men died in the ensuing chaos. With his dying breath, he laid a terrible curse upon the entire demon race. So there it was. On the day any of them reached 20,000 years old, their magic would vanish, and their body would regress to that of a child, too weak to contain their immense demonic power. If the curse wasn't broken quickly, the ancestor warned, her golden eyes gravid, Xiao Xiao wouldn't just be unable to grow up, she would explode. Xiao Xiao's blood ran cold. How do I break it? She stammered, clutching her ancestor's arm. The answer was a trope as old as time, a true love's kiss. Only her soulmate could break the curse. And her soulmate. He was the very first person she saw when she came a child. An image flashed in her mind of Tang Linyun's handsome face, his violet eyes, and his warm smile. That Yuai? She shrieked internally. The ancestor chuckled, finding the situation amusing. It's not that scary, she purred. You just have to get one kiss. It's quite easy. Easy? Xiao Xiao was about to lose her mind. It's not easy at all. My soulmate is the man who's constantly trying to kill me. The ancestor simply smiled. It's not a big deal, don't worry. I'll give you some tips. Xiao's mind was reeling. This guy, the one who hunted her, was the only one who could save her? This was too frustrating. Her gaze fell upon the sleeping form of Tang Linyun, a storm of conflict raging in her heart. A vision of a starry night flickered in her mind, his gentle voice offering her biscuits. But the reality was this handsome, statuesque man sleeping soundly, a trail of drool escaping his lips. This man was far too naive and weak. How was she supposed to get through to him like this? A wave of frustration washed over her, her face scrunching up in annoyance. But, as she looked at his peaceful face, a strange warmth spread through her chest. She remembered the way he'd blush, the way his violet eyes would widen in surprise whenever she was near. A smug smirk crawled to her face. He definitely already liked her, the fool. There was no mistaking it. Forget about it, she decided with a huff. She would just have to try first. Taking a deep breath, she steeled her resolve. She leaned over his sleeping form, her long hair brushing against his cheek, and planted a delicate kiss on his forehead. A soft green glow emanated, a pulse of her demonic energy. She waited, her heart pounding in anticipation. But absolutely nothing happened. Her eyes snapped open in disbelief. She stood up, checking again, but he was still just a man, fast asleep. The transformation hadn't worked at all. She let out a frustrated growl, glaring down at him with pure annoyance. She had thought he liked her. What a joke. He just lay there, completely oblivious. That was it, she'd had enough. You can't sleep anymore, she seethed, grabbing his shoulders and shaking him violently. Wake up, she screamed, her voice filled with righteous fury. He groggily opened his eyes, rubbing the sleep away as he looked at her with a gentle, confused expression. Xiao Xiao, why are you up so early? He murmured, his voice still thick with sleep. Her mind flashed back to the lessons from her ancestor, a wise, nine-tailed fox spirit. The first step to make a guy for you, the ancestor had lectured, act cute. All male species in this world can't resist girls acting cute, the fox had insisted, tapping a pointer on the blackboard. Xiao Xiao had taken meticulous notes, determined to master this human art. She cleared her throat, pushing down her demonic pride. Am I cute? Striking a pose with her fingers pointed at her cheeks. Her face twisted into a devious, unsettling grin. Do you like this? His only response was a look of pure, unadulterated concern. Xiao Xiao, are you hurt anywhere? He asked, his burrowed with worry. She ignored his question completely, her patience wearing thin. Nonsense, she snapped, getting right in his face, their nose touching. Just tell me, do you like me? He stared back at her, his expression a mixture of shock and confusion. Was she sick, he wondered, or perhaps possessed? Hand instinctively went to her hair, as if checking for a fever. Her plan to act cute had failed miserably, a giant boulder of annoyance crashing down on her head. You're the one who's possessed, she muttered under her breath. Her mind raced back to the lesson. The second step, surprise. Unexpected surprises in their ordinary life can make them excited, maybe even move them to tears. The fox ancestor's words echoed in her mind. A new idea sparked. She cleared her throat again, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Hey, I learned a new dance, she announced. His face immediately lit up like a child on his birth. A dance, he gasped, clapping his hands together with pure delight. You're showing me a dance? I'm so excited. He watched her expectantly, but she just stood there, frozen. Xiao Xiao, it prompted gently, aren't you going to dance? If we wait any longer, the daily is going to dry eye up. He was practically vibrating with anticipation. She took a deep breath, psyching herself up. It's to dance, she thought. For the sake of transforming, I can do this. She produced a long, red ribbon on a stick. With a flourish, she began her performance. The scarlet ribbon swirling through the air around her small body. She twirled and leaped, her eyes closed in concentration. The ribbon creating elegant patterns. He watched with wide, sparkling eyes, completely mesmerized by her grace. But her focus wavered for just a second, and disaster struck. The ribbon, far too long for her tiny frame, wrapped around her again and again, tangling her up until she was completely immobilized and fell to the floor in a heap of red fabric. He rushed to her side, his face pale with panic, desperately trying to free her from her self-made prison. "I beg you, Xiao Xiao," he pleaded, fumbling with the knots. "You don't have to prepare any surprises." She could only scream internally. "Ancestor, you lied. If I listen to you again, I'll be reborn as a lonely ghost in an empty mountain in my next life." With a furious roar, she finally ripped herself free and threw the wretched ribbon across the room. Later, soaking in a warm bath, she stewed in her failure. What other way there to make him like her? It would be so much better if she could just transform again. She rested her arms on the edge of the wooden tub, sighing in frustration. Outside the door, he paced back and forth, wringing his hands. "Xiao Xiao," he called out, his voice laced with concern. "It's already been 2 hours. Have you finished bathing yet?" He was clearly worried something had happened. "Wait," she called back, but her voice was weak. Suddenly, an intense heat coursed through her body. Her vision blurred, the world swimming before her eyes. What is happening, she wondered, feeling dizzy and incredibly hot. She tried to stand, but her legs gave out from under her and she collapsed onto the floor with a heavy thud. Hearing the crash, he burst through the door without a second thought. "Xiao Xiao," he yelled, his heart hammering in his chest. "Are you all right?" He rushed to her side, ready to help the small child. But what he found made him freeze in his tracks. Lying on the floor was not the little girl he knew, but a pitiful little woman. "Hi. Miss Hai Tang," he stammered, his voice barely a whisper. "Why are you here?" Beside her, his eyes wide with disbelief as he took in her adult form. "Miss Hai Tang, are you hurt?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. "Is your injury healed?" He reached out, hand hovering over her arm. "Where did you go this time?" She looked at him, noticing that the aura he gave off was different now, more intense than before. She glanced down at her own body, the shock finally hitting her. She had transformed. In her shock, the simple cloth covering her slipped from her shoulder, revealing her smooth, pale skin. His breath hitched, his violet eyes widening as a deep blush spread across his handsome face. He immediately spun around, covering his eyes with his hands like a flustered boy. "Miss Hai Tang, you should put something on." And fast, he yelped, his back rammed right. A small, amused smile played on her lips. Puff, this kid, she thought, finding his panicked modesty charming. Once she was properly dressed as in a stunning red gown, he turned back, his blush still lingering. "Miss Hai Tang, why are you here?" he asked again, his confusion palpable. This was her chance. It was a coincidence to get her body back so early, but it was the perfect opportunity to implement her plan. She just needed to make up a reason. Putting on her most pitiful expression, she began her tale. "Actually, I may have been following you both," she confessed, her voice soft and sorrowful. "When you were wounded, I planned on getting medicine for you, but you had already left." She touched her eye as if wiping away a tear. "I looked for you both in desperation," she continued, "and after some inquiries, I found you here, so I'm temporarily helping at this inn." He looked stunned. "But Xiao Xiao said you already left," he mumbled, trying to process this new information. Then realization dawned on his face. "Oh right, Xiao Xiao," he exclaimed, his eyes darting towards the empty bathroom. "I wanted to help her bathe," he explained, "but she thinks I'm an idiot and doesn't let me. She should be bathing at the moment." She leaned in close, a seductive smile gracing her lips. "Sir, don't you want to ask why I followed you both?" She gently lifted his chin with her finger, forcing him to meet her gaze. "Of course I want to," he admitted, his voice shaky. "It's because you said something to me before," she whispered, her voice silk. "I've finally managed to chase you, just for an answer." His mind flashed back to that day, when he was bleeding and delirious. "You must wait until I am fully awake," he had pleaded with her apparition. "I have a lot of things to say to you. Promise me, don't leave." A wave of heat washed over him as he remembered his desperate confession. "Mei Tang," he breathed, his face completely red. So she had heard everything. He stumbled back a step. She followed, her smile radiant and confident. "What you wanted to confess to me," she said gently, "you can say it now." His heart hammered against his ribs. This was it, she thought, giddy with triumph. Just like this, a confession. "One kiss and I will succeed." She looked at him with eager anticipation. But suddenly his expression shifted from flustered to panicked. "Wait, this is not the time for this. He blurted out, his hands up defensively. "I'm a little worried about Xiao Xiao. I want to check on her to see if everything is fine." He turned to leave, but she was faster. Bam! Her hand slammed against the door, blocking his exit. "Don't go," she commanded, her voice dropping to a low, husky tone. He was trapped, her body pinning him against the doorframe. "The feelings you have for me," she asked, her eyes searching his, "are they the ones I'm expecting?" He swallowed hard, his gaze locked with hers. "I do have a good impression of you," he finally admitted, his voice barely audible. He took a shaky breath, his resolve crumbling under her intense stare. "When I first met you, I was attracted to you," he confessed. "But then you disappeared, and I was very disappointed." Her eyes widened, a flicker of shock giving way to a dangerous, triumphant gleam. A slow, predatory smile spread across her face. Then she purred, her voice laced with an undeniable power. "You will surely let me get what I want." His heart hammered against his ribs, a blush creeping up his neck as he stammered, his mind short-circuiting at her forwardness. She was so close, standing on her tiptoes, her lips just a breath away from his. But as she leaned in, a wave of confusion washed over her. Why doesn't this feel right? He was flustered, his purple eyes wide with panic as he whispered her name, Lady Haitang. This wasn't working. Frustration gnawed at her. Why wasn't her magic coming back? Did she really have to kiss him for real? A new determination hardened her gaze. There was no time for games. She looked up, her hand sliding up his chest before her fingers gently tilted his chin upwards, forcing him to meet her intense stare. He was visibly nervous, a handsome statue on the verge of crumbling. A sly smile played her lips as she closed the distance. What's the big deal, she purred. They were in love with each other. She just wanted to be more intimate. His face was beet red as he protested, sputtering that they weren't married yet. He couldn't possibly. The audacity. So frustrating, she thought. This man was so meticulous. With a huff of annoyance, she decided she was going to kiss him today, no matter what. She leaned in again, ready to claim her prize. But in a flash, he vanished, leaving her kissing empty air. He was practically a blur, calling over his shoulder that he was going to look for Xiao Xiao as he sprinted away like a frightened rabbit. Haitang stood there, utterly dumbfounded, a vein pulsing on her forehead. This guy, she fumed internally. Why was he so shy? Meanwhile, Yin Huai frantically searched the room, peering behind screens and checking the wash area. This was weird, he thought, a knot of worry tightening in his stomach. Where could Xiao Xiao be? He called her name over and over, his voice echoing in the empty room. And then he saw her, a small figure collapsed on the floor. Xiao Xiao. His heart dropped into his stomach. Haitang, however, was outside, arms crossed and tapping her foot impatiently. Was she some kind of monkey to him? He played with like this? Yin Huai burst out, his face pale with panic. Lady Haitang, where is Xiao Xiao? Didn't you she was bathing? Playing the innocent part, she shrugged, claiming she didn't know she was here just a moment ago. She coolly suggested that people often get lost in the inn, and she would go ask the staff. Downstairs, Yin Huai's patience had worn thin. He confronted the innkeeper, his voice sharp with accusation, declaring he'd searched the entire inn and couldn't find her. Maybe they had hidden her. The innkeeper scoffed, furious at the slander, telling him to take his baseless accusations to the government. Seeing the situation escalating, Haitang quickly grabbed Yin Huai's sleeve, trying to placate him. She suggested that Xiao Xiao was just a playful child who loved to eat. Maybe she wandered off to the market by herself. And then came the fatal slip. She was kidnapped last time, but didn't she come back safe and sound? He was being careless and chaotic. Yin Huai froze. The air grew thick with a sudden, suffocating tension. His eyes, once filled with worry, now sharpened with suspicion as he stared at her. How did she know Xiao Xiao was kidnapped? Haitang's own eyes widened in horror as she realized her massive blunder. His mind was racing. This wasn't right. Haitang and Xiao had only just met. How could she know about the kidnapping so clearly? A cold dread began to creep in as the pieces started clicking into place in his mind. Speaking of it, he thought Hei's turning icy, Haitang and Xiao Xiao. They have never once shown up together. While Yin Huai's world was being turned upside down, in a dark, ominous chamber far away, a sinister plot was brewing. A glowing pink orb pulsed with malevolent energy. A horned demon grinned, his eyes gleaming. It sensed her. He reported to his master that after days of searching, they had finally sensed the breath of the Demon Queen. That wretched Kang Feng was probably already closing in on her with the help of that stupid snake. He urged his master, when shall we act? Just then, guard burst in, kneeling before the throne, reporting they had traces of the Demon Queen near Dankui Mountain, and she was with a cultivator from the Yuan Ming sect. The Demon Lord's lips curled to a cruel smile. The cultivator couldn't see her true power and was looking for a child named Xiao Xiao. So the Demon Queen was posing as a little girl, and even better, her protector had no idea of her true identity. The horned demon's grin widened. Brother, he said he had a brilliant idea to get her and doom her, but he'd need his help. Back at the market, Haitang was trying to distract herself browsing a stall of storybooks. But inside, she was in turmoil. I'm so frustrated. What will I do if I become small later? I have to find a way and quickly. Her desperate eyes scanned the crowd and landed on Yin Huai. He turned to her, a strange look on his face, and asked what was wrong. Xiao Xiao. Her blood ran cold. Wait, why did he call me Xiao Xiao? Is he suspecting me? She forced a scoff, her heart pounding. Are you thinking of that kid so much you're going crazy? You even called my name wrong. She tried to appear nonchalant, closing her eyes as if deeply offended. He immediately backpedaled, looking flustered as he apologized profusely. Oh, it's just Lady Haitang. My mind is so full of Xiao Xiao, I called your name wrong. But his eyes were sharp, watching her every move. Did I guess wrong? He wondered. She let out a quiet breath of relief, but the handsome man beside her was no longer the simple cultivator she thought he was. Flustered, she grabbed a book and started flipping through the pages. He's getting harder to deal with. She panicked internally. I thought he was already careless. Her eyes fell upon an illustration inside the book. It depicted a woman falling down, crying heavily as a man, looking pathetic and deeply in love, moved forward to kiss her. Suddenly, her eyes lit up with a brilliant, shameless idea. It turns out there's another way. Human language is really amazing, she thought with glee. With perfect timing, she let out a cry of pain, covering her mouth as she stumbled dramatically to the ground. Ah! She cried, her body crumpling. Yin Huai immediately rushed to her side, his eyes wide with concern. Are you all right, Lady Haitang? She clutched her ankle, looking up at him with the most pitiful, tear-filled eyes she could muster. My feet, she whimpered, they suddenly hurt. A wave of panic washed over Yin Huai's handsome face, his brows furrowed in genuine concern. What happened? Was she bitten by something? His heart hammered in his chest as the woman who looked like Xiao Xiao leaned against him, a strange tension in the air. But just he was lost in confusion, she shoved him away with surprising force. Before he could even process it, a stunningly beautiful woman with golden eyes and a regal air descended upon him. A mix of amusement and predatory intent. With a graceful but firm hand, she held him down, preventing him from rising. Lady Haitang, what are you doing? He stammered, his mind reeling as he stared up at her, completely bewildered. She simply smirked, her fingers wrapping around his wrist with an iron grip. She was the first Assura demon queen of the 6 realms. How could she possibly fall behind in a simple matter of kissing? She had to be on top. He wasn't getting away from this. Her face drew closer, lips parted, the world narrowing to the space between them. But just as their lips were about to meet, a loud commotion erupted from the street. What was happening? What was all this noise interrupting the Demon Queen's grand plan? A vein throbbed on her temple, pure irritation flashing in her eyes. Yin Huai, still trapped beneath her, desperate to hold her back, his voice laced with confusion as he asked if she was Xiao Xiao. High above them, perched precariously on a tree branch, the real Xiao Xiao watched the chaotic scene unfold. Who was this woman? What was happening? The imposter's face twisted in shock as she spotted the real child. In her surprise, Xiao Xiao lost her footing, her small body sliding off the branch and plummeting towards the ground. She was falling. Yin Huai's blood ran cold, a desperate scream tearing from his throat. Xiao Xiao, be careful. The Demon Queen, Lady Haitang, froze. Wait, this was strange. Instead of crashing to the ground, the child landed with impossible grace, her feet barely making a sound as she touched the earth. She turned in a blur of motion and sprinted away. Haitang's eyes widened. That speed was not human. Where was this wretched kid trying to lead them? A bead of sweat trickled down her temple. Yin Huai caught up, panting, and offered his brilliant deduction. Lady Haitang, her behavior is so unusual. Perhaps she was exposed to something that induces sleepiness. The Demon Queen almost choked on her rage. Your whole family is sleepy, you fool. Still, she couldn't deny that the child was bizarre. She had to see who was behind this elaborate prank. They plunged into the moonlit forest, following the small figure deeper into the shadows. As they closed the distance, a sense of dread prickled at Yin Huai's skin. Something was wrong. He drew his sword, its cold steel a faint comfort in the eerie silence. Xiao Xiao, is that you? He called out, his voice cautious. The child turned, but as she did, cold voice echoed from the darkness. Release the arrows. The little girl simply gave a small, chilling nod. The realization struck Yin Huai like a physical blow. Damn it, it was a fake, a trap. A volley of arrows sliced through the air, aimed directly at them. Lady Haitang, be careful, he yelled, shoving her behind him. He thrust a paper talisman forward, and a brilliant golden light erupted around them, forming a protective barrier. Maelstrom of sharp projectiles slammed against the shield, the sound deafening. Tang's eyes narrowed. So, it was the traitors again. She was glad Yin Huai had a talisman, but it was already starting to flicker and dissipate. Was that all it could do? This flimsy paper could only hold for a moment. As the light-cloaked figures emerged from the gloom, their forms wreathed in dark energy. One of the demons sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. Useless guy, you waste such a perfect opportunity. A wave of violet demonic energy surged towards them. There were too many. Yin Huai's mind raced. He had to find a way out of this. He spun around to face Hang, his eyes blazing with a desperate resolve. Lady Haitang hugged me tightly. Before she could even question his insane command, he pulled her into a firm embrace. In a flash of light and a rush of wind, they vanished from the spot, leaving the demons staring at empty air. Haitang grit her teeth as they reappeared in another part of the forest. Could this guy be any less reliable? He stumbled and fell to the ground with a pathetic thud, a little ghost escaping his lips as he groaned in pain. Oh no! She looked down and saw the snapped teleportation branch he'd been holding. She knelt beside him, her annoyance momentarily replaced by concern. Lady Haitang, are you alright? Their moment of reprieve was short-lived. A new figure emerged from the shadows, his voice a low, menacing drawl. He never expected that Tang Xiao Xiao, the demon who detested humans, would get involved with a mere cultivator. It didn't matter. He would be sending this pair of lovebirds to their graves today. He hefted a terrifying spiked mace, its weight promising a brutal end. With a grunt, he hurled the weapon through the air, directly at her. Yin Huai's eyes shot open, reflecting the glint of the deadly projectile. Careful! With a desperate cry, he shoved her out of the path of destruction. The mace struck him with a sickening crunch of bone and flesh, embedding itself deep in his shoulder. A scream of pure agony was torn from his lips. Yin Huai! Haitang's shriek echoed through the forest, her face a mass of horror. The masked demon clicked in annoyance. Because that guy got in the way. He hefted another mace, ready to finish the job. He chuckled darkly, looking down at her prone form. Heh, Tang Xiao after so many days, he didn't expect to see her become so weak. The demon floated down, his presence suffocating. Who is it? She demanded, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and rage. The man stood over her, his masked face unreadable in the pale moonlight. As she looked up, her breath hitched, and a flicker of horrified recognition dawned in her eyes. Yin Huai? In a world of demons and deities, a handsome man with captivating purple eyes held a tiny precious girl, his expression a roguish wink that promised both danger and devotion. But the reality was far more grim. His beautiful eyes were squeezed shut in agony, a silent testament to a brutal fight. A question hung heavy in the air: who was this man, and why did he call the revered Lady He Tang by the intimate name of Xiao Xiao? From this, a menacing figure in a stark white mask emerged, his presence radiating a murderous aura as he confronted the young girl. His voice was a low hiss, a chilling question that dripped with malice. Did she truly understand the consequences of her action? Xiao Xiao turned her head, her delicate profile illuminated by the moonlight, her golden eyes filled not with fear, with a cold, unyielding resolve. The masked man's lips twisted into a cruel smile beneath his disguise. Oh, he knew the consequences, and he had been looking forward to this moment with sadistic glee. With a flick of his wrist, a terrifying spiked weapon materialized, engulfed in roaring flames, a testament to his deadly power. A cruel smirk played on his lips. Her end was near. It was over, he declared, wielding the fiery instrument of death. The weapon shot through the air like a meteor, hurtling directly towards the small, frozen girl. Xiao Xiao's eyes widened in sheer terror, her body paralyzed by the suffocating pressure of the attack. A desperate scream ripped through the night. Xiao Xiao, move, Yin Huai cried out, his face contorted in panic, a trickle of blood staining his lip as he threw himself into the fray despite his injuries. But she couldn't move. Xiao Xiao gritted her teeth, a wave of desperation washing over her. If she dodged this, the attack would strike Yin Huai directly, and in his weakened state, he would surely die. In that split second, Yin Huai made his choice. He didn't care anymore if she was Lady He Tang or the mysterious Xiao Xiao. He refused to let it get hurt. His fingers flew into a complex seal, summoning the last vestiges of his power. A brilliant blue light erupted from his hands, clashing with the fiery projectile and dissipating it with a deafening hiss. The masked man stared in disbelief. Just die already, he seethed internally. How could seriously injured man still handle an attack like that? His eyes, visible through the mask, burned with a furious, blood-red glint. Suddenly, a faint hissing sound his attention. He whipped his head around, a flicker of unease piercing through his rage. A stick-purple serpent, shimmering with ethereal light, coiled up from the forest floor. A cold sweat broke out on the masked man's brow. It was Kang Fang's snake, which meant the formidable monarch himself was nearby. He had to run now. As the attacker vanished into the night, Xiao Xiao rushed to Yin Huai's side as he collapsed from the exertion. His face was posed, his breathing shallow, he was seriously injured. A sense of urgency gripped her. She had to get back to her original body and fast to treat his wounds. Leaning over his still form, she knew there was only one way to save him now. She was finally getting the kiss. With a flicker of grim determination, he better not let her down. She gently cradled his face and her lips to his, initiating the possession ritual. The world seemed to hold its breath in that soft, fleeting moment, but when she pulled back, nothing had changed. She was still here in this body. A furious blush crept up her neck. That wretched man, he said he liked her. But it was all a lie. The possession only worked with mutual feelings. Her inner demon queen with indignation. She was going to kill him, really kill him, once he woke up. Just then, the sound of shouting shattered the silence. Search, a voice commanded from outside. The demon monarch's men were closing in. They were already here. A familiar purple creature slithered up to her boot, hissing softly. Her eyes lit up with relief. It was Kang Fan. The little snake spirit looked up at her with huge, teary eyes, overjoyed. It had finally found her, it cried. The master would be here soon. Kang Fan's gaze then fell upon the unconscious man on the ground, its head tilting in confusion. Who was this man, it wondered. Xiao broke out in a cold sweat. She couldn't return to the demon realm yet, not before possessing her original body. She had to take Yin Huai and get away from them first. She put on her most commanding voice, ordering Kang Fan that she needed to recuperate and heal the man's wounds. The snake was to stay at the door and pass on her order, capture the traitor Yin Huai and deal with him according to the clan rules. Kang Fan put its head, immediately obeying its queen's command. Outside the small, secluded hut, the moon flung shadows through the trees. A statuesque figure descended from the sky, his long silver hair flowing behind him like a river of moonlight. The traitorous masked man, hiding in the trees, froze in terror. Kang Fan was already here. The true demon monarch had arrived. The air crackled with power around him. A report had reached him. Tang Xiaoxiao's magic was unstable. She had to be brought back at once. His subordinate knelt before him. His head bowed low. "Sir, the escort is late," he stammered, delivering the grave news. "Master, your highness Yin Huai has rebelled against her." The demon monarch's piercing blue eyes narrowed dangerously. "Why are you here?" he demanded, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Where is Yin Huai?" The subordinate explained that Yin Huai was at the demon's palace. He had sensed the Demon Queen's weakened power and rushed here to find her. The demon monarch strode towards the hut, his gaze following his own men, lying motionless on the ground, clearly defeated. He called out to them, but there was no response. He pushed open the door to find the room completely empty, save for a chilling splash of blood on the floorboards. His heart clenched. It's gone. Meanwhile, deep in the moonlit forest, Xiao Xiao struggled onward, having fashioned a makeshift sled from a piece of wood to drag the unconscious Huai behind her. It was a stroke of luck she'd found it, otherwise she'd never have been able to move him. A pained groan escaped his lips, and she immediately stopped, her heart aching with worry. She gently touched his forehead, her voice a desperate whisper. Yin Huai, please hold on. He looked so uncomfortable, his brow furrowed in pain. That wretched Manhua had attacked him so viciously. She knew he needed Yuan Ming's vital force to recover, but that was on the distant Qingyan mountain. How could she possibly get time? A fierce determination hardened her gaze. It seemed there was only one way left. She would have to call the formation with demon blood. Without hesitation, she bit her own finger, drawing a drop of crimson blood. She began to trace a complex, glowing sigil on the ground, a powerful transportation spell. As she poured her energy into the formation, she muttered under her breath, a classic tsundere ultimatum. Yin Huai, I did all this for you. If you still don't fall in love with me after this, I'll kill you. The magic circle erupted in a brilliant pink and gold light, lifting the wooden sled into the air. As the energy swirled around him, Yin Huai's eyelids fluttered. Xiao, he murmured, his voice barely a whisper. His stunning purple eyes slowly opened, focusing on her face. Xiao Xiao's heart leaped with joy. You are awake, she exclaimed, leafing over her. He weakly lifted a hand to his head, his expression clouded with confusion. What are you doing? He asked, noticing she was hiding one hand behind her back. A gentle, genuine smile graced her lips for the first time. She leaned in and wrapped her arms around him in a warm hug, the transportation spell glowing brighter around them. Sending you home, she whispered softly. Under the cloak of a moonless night, two imposing figures stood in tense silence outside a dilapidated hut, the air thick with unspoken hostility. The snake demon Manhua let a slow, venomous smirk spread across his handsome face, his eyes glinting with malice. He questioned if Her Highness was truly inside the house or if the man before him was hiding her, a clear and deliberate provocation. The man in the dark cloak, Tang wouldn't flinch, but a dangerous energy began to radiate from him. What did he mean by that? He asked, his voice a low growl. Manhua merely chuckled, the snake around his shoulder hissing in tandem. He claimed he was only worried for Her Highness. Now that the true heir has appeared, the Phoenix token should naturally be returned to its original owner, shouldn't it? The words were a direct challenge to Tang Wu's authority. But Tang Wu simply turned his back, a silent dismissal more powerful than any retort. When Her Highness returns, he would return the token to her himself. There was no need for a wretch like Manhua to worry. As Manhua finally departed, Tang Wu's mind raced. That idiot Manhua was a problem, and he knew Tang Xiao was already suspicious of him. He had to find a way to seize power and quickly, before everything fell apart. The scene shifts to the sprawling, sunlit grounds of the fairy sect, a stark contrast to the knight's dark dealings. A disciple was making his rounds when he saw two figures approaching, one leaning heavily on the other. His eyes narrowed, and with a swift motion, he drew his sword, its sharp ring echoing in the quiet courtyard. Who goes there? He froze as they came closer. It was the breathtakingly beautiful Lady Haitang, supporting a pale and wounded Yin Huai. Huai was clutching his side, his face contorted in agony. The disciple's aggression melted into pure alarm. Brother, he cried out. But Xiao Xiao, disguised as the elegant Haitang, was in no mood for pleasantries. With a speed that belied her delicate appearance, she snatched the sword from his hand. Her eyes blazed with a fierce fire. Her comrade was in pain, and this was the welcome they received. She pushed past the stunned disciple, her voice dripping with ice. I'll go inform the masters now. The young man could only stare after her, a deep blush creeping up his neck, his heart pounding from the encounter. Inside, Xiao Xiao was putting on the performance of a lifetime for an elder master. Huai was hurt by the demon cult, the old man asked, his brow furrowed with concern. Xiao Xiao's shoulders trembled, her eyes welling with fake tears. She whispered, her voice choked with ill. It was all her fault. He was trying to protect her. The master patted her hand reassuringly, his heart going out to the poor girl. He told her not to worry. He had already transferred his vital force in Huai medicine. He would wake in half a day. His gaze then turned curious. The relationship between Huai and her, he began. Xiao Xiao seized the opportunity, her expression turning deadly serious. I am Huai's Taoist couple, she declared with unwavering conviction. Internally, she cackled. Payback for him calling her his wife. The master, the gracious host, offered to prepare a guest room for her next to Huai's. But Xiao Xiao waved a dismissive hand, a beatific smile gracing her lips. No need, she chirped. Huai and I can sleep in the same room. Her eyes sparkled with a plan so audacious it was brilliant. She needed to get the kiss of true love in the next few days. After all, the master's jaw hit the floor. What? She explained with perfect innocence that if they practiced together, he should recover her. The poor elder's mind went into a tailspin, his face turning a shade of red not found nature. PP practice together. Mission accomplished, Xiao Xiao gave a polite bow and excused herself, leaving the scandalized master to his thoughts. The old man clutched his head, trying to calm his racing heart. It's all right, Huaili is still injured, surely. But behind the closed doors of Huaili's room, a wicked, triumphant smile spread across Xiao Xiao's face. Yin Huai, you lied to me first, she thought, so don't blame me for being unscrupulous. A scream echoed faintly outside, but she paid it no mind. When Huai finally awoke, his head was pounding and his robe was hanging open, revealing a perfectly sculpted chest. What is all this? He groaned, only to see Xiao Xiao sitting by his bed in her night clothes. He hadn't even called for her. He frantically clutched his robe, his cheeks burning with embarrassment. No, why did you take my clothes off? Our relationship isn't that intimate. Xiao Xiao simply raised an eyebrow, a teasing playing on her lips. Oh, so no, you realize your relationship isn't intimate. And who was it that insisted on sleeping in the same room with me every time? Huai was utterly lost. This wasn't right. He had just woken up. But Xiao Xiao's playful demeanor vanished. She grabbed his wrist, her grip surprisingly strong, her golden eyes boring to his. You lied to me for so long, don't you think you should explain instead? Lady Haitang? The jig was up. She shoved him back onto the bed, pinning him with her intense gaze. Or should I say, Tang, Xiao. Xiao. His eyes widened in absolute shock. She leaned in close, her voice a low whisper. What's going to happen will happen. He asked her how she knew about the demon world so clearly. A shadow crossed her face, her gaze turning distant. Because she confessed she was taken captive by Manhwa into the demon world. What? The single word exploded from Huai, his expression a mask of horror and disbelief. Couldn't fathom it. Xiao Xiao took a shaky breath, ready to spin the tale of a lifetime. Thank goodness her reflexes were sharp. Tears welled in her eyes as she spoke of her ordinary, loving parents tragically lost in a fire that consumed her entire town. Huai's breath hitched at the word fire. She continued her heartbreaking story, describing how Manhwa captured and tortured young women, using them for his strange and cruel research. Huai's grew darker and darker, his heart aching for the suffering she must have endured. That despicable monster. She explained that she was injured during her escape, and when she woke up, she had run into him. The pieces finally clicked into place for Huai. So it was the demon's magic that caused her to switch between her small and adult forms. His voice was thick with worry. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Xiao Xiao sighed, looking down with vulnerability. She was afraid he'd treat her like a monster. How could she have told him the truth? Huai's sorrow morphed into righteous fury. He clenched his fist, his bare chest heaving. Demons are truly deceiving. Xiao Xiao, I must kill the demon lord and bring peace to the world. Xiao Xiao stared at him speechless. She was talking about Manhua. Why was he putting her on the spot? He declared that with the demon lord gone, now was the time to invade the demon world, and he must report this to the masters immediately. Xiao Xiao fanned herself coolly. Perhaps he should put his clothes on before making such grand pronouncements. Huai looked down, and his entire face erupted in a furious blush as he scrambled to cover his chest. I'm sorry, it wasn't my intention, he stammered. Later, fully clothed, they walked through the eerily deserted school grounds. Why is it so empty? Xiao Xiao asked. Huai's expression was grim. It was the demon's fault, he explained. They locked everyone up. Xiao Xiao sniffed dismissively. Obviously, it was because his school's pupils were too weak. Suddenly, voice called out, Master. An elder was rushing towards them, sword in hand, his face etched with urgency. In a world of shimmering celestial palaces, our handsome cultivator Yin Huai can't help but playfully tug on the tiny, adorable girl beside him, a mischievous glint in his eye as she looks up at him with innocent, wide eyes. The scene shifts to a serene courtyard where Huai's master, a kind-faced elder, looks upon him with immense relief. Huai, you are finally awake, he exclaims, his voice warm with affection. The old muses to himself that having a Taoist companion has certainly done wonders for the boy's complexion. But Huai, ever diligent, bows respectfully, announcing he has something important to report his master. The master waves a dismissive hand, his tone turning into a gentle scolding. You brat, what could possibly be more important than your healing? He insists that Huai must remain here with his Taoist companion until he is fully recovered. The master gives his shoulder a reassuring pat, but Huai is frozen in place, utterly bewildered. Taoist's companion? His mind spins with confusion, 1,000 question marks floating around his chibified face. Just then, our demon queen steps forward, a perfectly sweet and disarming smile on her face as she addresses the master. Don't you worry, master, I will take very good care of Huai, she promises, her voice like honey. Huai can only blankly, caught between his master's assumption and her confident declaration. Inside, the Demon Queen smirks. She lied about being his wife, he lied about her being his companion. They were even now, so she could let it slide. Besides, she had far more pressing matters to discuss. She moves closer to Huai, her proximity making a faint blush rise on his cheeks, and gets straight to the point. Master, I went to the demon realm, she begins, her expression turning deadly serious, and I heard the news that the demon lord has disappeared. The demon world is in chaos, she declares, a dangerous glint in her eyes. Now is the perfect time for us to invade. The master's face drains of color, pure worry etched into his features. You went to the demon realm? When he demands, his voice trembling slightly, she simply tells him not to talk nonsense, leaving Huili to stand there looking incredibly awkward. But their conversation is cut short by the arrival of other disciples, their faces masks of disapproval. One of them steps forward, his voice dripping with scorn. He asks Huili. Yin Huai, our sect has already lost so in the last bloodshed against the demon clan. Do you really want to send more of our brothers to their deaths? The master quickly tries to mediate, urging everyone to calm down, assuring them that Huili only meant well. That the bitter disciple isn't finished. Means well, you said the Demon Queen has disappeared, but do you have any proof? Huili admits he only has the news from overhearing some demons' conversations. But he adds the demon clan is searching for their lord, and he has a portrait from the demon realm as evidence. With a flourish, he pulls out a scroll. Everyone leans in only to see a ridiculously crude drawing of a big, ugly, purple-skinned monster with horns. The Demon Queen's face contorts in fury. This hideous figure. Am I that ugly? Those bastard magic painters are all fired. They'll be executed by the Demon Lord herself. The other disciples erupt in derisive laughter. A portrait as proof. What a joke. They sneer, questioning how such poor qualifications was ever accepted into the sect. One of them smirks, suggesting that since Senior Huili has no evidence, perhaps they should just send him back to the demon realm to investigate further alone. A chill fills the air as the Demon Queen's eyes narrow into golden slits. These fools are really tired of living, daring to bully her people right in front of her. With an almost imperceptible movement, she stomps her foot on the ground. A powerful tremor suddenly ripples through the courtyard. The mocking disciples cry out in shock, flailing their arms as they lose their balance and topple over like bowling pins. Senior, why can't you stand stably? One of them whimpers, utterly confused. The Demon Queen puts on a mask of pure innocence, her voice sweet as she tells everyone to calm down, that they should all love each other. But her eyes, burning with cold fire, are locked on the fallen disciple. Your rank is so low, yet you still dare to bully Yin Huai. You shouldn't act up, she thinks, a menacing smile playing on her lips. Huai watches the entire scene unfold, a flicker of disappointment crossing his handsome features. He turns away from the chaos, his posture rigid. Master, I will first take my leave, he says, his voice devoid of emotion. The Demon Queen watches back as he walks away, her smug expression faltering for just a moment. He stops, his shoulders tense, and begins to turn back toward her, his lips parting as if to say something that will change everything. Splash! The tranquil surface of the Lotus pond shatters. Her long, beautiful hair billows in the water like golden silk as her body sinks deeper into the cold embrace of the pond. She was losing consciousness, but a triumphant thought pierced through the haze. Success. Her plan had worked perfectly. All she needed now was for him to save her, to treat this as the life and situation it was. But terrifying, unnatural cold seeped into her bones, a chill that had nothing to do with the water. Her eyes fluttered closed as she hugged herself, shivering violently in the crushing darkness. What was happening? A voice, desperate and familiar, called her name, Xiao Xiao. A hand reached for her through the murky depths, a lifeline in the abyss. From his perspective, panic seemed, damn it, Xiao Xiao fainted. He couldn't let her die here. He lunged forward, his strong hand closing around her delicate wrist. With a powerful pull, he drew her limp body against his, a fierce protectiveness in his gaze as he held her close. There was no time to think, only to act. He tilted her head back, his lips pressing against hers, breathing life back into her. Their hands intertwined in the silent, swirling water. With a great splash, he broke the surface, carrying her fragile form in his arms like a precious treasure. He emerged from the lotus pond, his robes soaked and clinging to his statuesque frame, his expression a mask of grim determination. He strode onto the stone path, leaving the tranquil pond behind him. Every step was filled with urgency as he carried her away from the water's edge. The once peaceful lotus garden was now the scene of a desperate rescue. Soon she was lying in a warm bed, safe within the walls of a grand estate. The handsome man, Yin Huai, held her wrist, his brow furrowed with worry as he checked her pulse. Beside him, a venerable old master stroked, his expression grave. There seemed to be a demonic energy raging within Miss Tang's body, he observed grimly. Huili's eyes, filled with a suffocating anxiety, locked onto the master. Xiao Xiao had been injured by demons and still hadn't recovered. Was there any solution at all? The master sighed. The demonic energy was incredibly domineering and could cause negative side effects. He did have someone in mind who might be able to help, but his voice trailed off as he sank into deep, troubled thought. Elsewhere, under the pale moonlight, the world of demons stirred. A slithering purple serpent hissed before its master. Master, Her Highness's power has disappeared again. The man, a dangerously handsome demon with a striking facial tattoo, remained unperturbed. It didn't matter, he purred, stroking the serpent's head. Her Highness wouldn't be in any danger. But his calm was shattered when two figures materialized before him. The horned demon demanded to know why they were summoned here. Before Yanhua could answer, another man with piercing blue eyes spoke with cold authority. He was relaying Her Highness's direct order, arrest the traitor Yana. There would be no mistake. Yanhua's golden eyes widened, shocked her. Instantly, demonic soldiers appeared from the shadows, their weapons drawn. "Don't move," they commanded. Ling Jiu and his companion were completely surrounded, trapped. Ling Jiu's face paled with terror. "Are we exposed?" he stammered. A sharp slap echoed through the tense silence as his companion struck him across the face. "You," Ling Jiu sputtered, holding his stinging cheek. The man's violet eyes were cold and calculating. Chang Fan had been planning this for a long time. He would play along for now, pretend to be punished, and find a way to escape later. With a swift, decisive movement, he knocked Ling Jiu unconscious, the horned demon collapsing to the floor. He stood over the fallen body, a perfect picture of calm betrayal. Back in the Min realm, Xiao Xiao's eyes fluttered open. Where was this? Her mind was a fog. One memory was sharp and clear, fell into the water. She turned her head to find herself nestled against the warm, sleeping form of Yin Huai. Her first drowsy thought was that this man looked surprisingly good up close. She found herself reaching out, her fingers brushing against his silky hair. But then, a shocking realization hit her like a bolt of lightning. She looked down at her hands, and they were tiny, delicate, and utterly childlike. She was a kid! Just then, the old master entered, carrying a tray with a bowl of soup. He brought for them both, he announced cheerfully, asking how Miss Tang was doing. He stopped dead in his tracks, his jaw dropping and his eyes bulging. You. His gaze fell upon the tiny girl with big, innocent eyes sitting in his disciple's bed. He spun around, a trembling finger aimed straight at Huai. "Yin Huai, you unfilial disciple. Where in the world did you get this illegitimate daughter?" He roared. The interrogation was swift and severe. Huai stood before his seated master, trying to look as innocent as possible as he spun the most outrageous lie. "The child was born accidentally a few years ago," he began, "and had been raised by Miss Tang. After Miss Tang woke up yesterday, she went out to find the legendary fairy Zenshu to heal her." The master squinted, his expression full of doubt. "Her?" "Yes, master," Huai confirmed, bowing his head respectfully. Internally, he was a crying, sniveling mess. He was so sorry, master. He didn't mean to lie, and he would definitely apologize properly in the future. Xiao Xiao watched from the side, completely unimpressed. This guy was a surprisingly good actor, but she had one question. Who the heck was this fairy Zhenshu? The master exploded in a fit of righteous indignation. "Huai, I didn't expect you who looks so honest and proper to actually be a scumbag." He declared that having Miss Tang stay with him was a blessing Huai must have cultivated for a lifetime. "Master, I did this for a reason," Huai pleaded, but the old man just covered his ears, shouting that he wasn't listening. Another disciple, his eyes glinting with malice, watched the scene unfold. Xiao Xiao just puffed her cheeks, surrounded by imaginary angry chicks. The other disciple, Huaren, decided to pour salt on the wound. "Master is right," he chimed in with a smirk. He didn't think the child and Huai seemed close at all. She hadn't even called him father. Perhaps, he suggested venomously, Huai's so-called companion had the child with another man and just dumped the responsibility on him. Huai was horrified. "How can that be? This is really me and Xiao Xiao's child," he stammered, his face flushing. Huaren's smirk widened. "Oh. If you're so sure, why not ask her to call you daddy and see if she even recognizes you?" Xiao Xiao's sweet expression hardened into a glare. Oh, she had something to say about that. According to his logic, whoever she calls daddy is her father. So, if she called him an evil son, would that make him one? She retorted, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Huaren was rendered completely speechless, his face turning a delightful shade of red. "You." The master coughed loudly, trying to dispel the awkward tension. Don't make a fool of yourself. I still have matters to discuss with Huai, so you should leave first." "Yes, master," Huai replied, his head bowed. The master turned to Huai, his tone softening slightly. Huaren has always been open-mouthed. Don't take his words to heart. "I won't," Master Huai assured him, before changing the subject, his voice filled with renewed purpose. "But I must ask, what does the master think about my suggestion to break into the demon world?" He clasped his hands in a formal salute. The master's face soured. "This kid is so imperious," he thought with a sigh. He explained his position patiently. "Huai, I know what you think. It's not that I don't want to, it's that I can't. Since the head of the sect was captured, our power has declined. I don't risk accepting new disciples or starting a war. But things are going well now, and if we don't take this opportunity," Huai argued, his purple eyes blazing with conviction. "All right." The master cut him off, his voice firm and final. "There is no need to discuss this matter any further." He sat back in his chair, his authority absolute, leaving no room for debate. Huai fell silent, his shoulders slumping slightly in defeat. But his resolve hadn't been broken. "I understand," he said, his voice quiet but steady. "Since the evidence I've obtained is not convincing enough, I am willing to go out and explore the demon world again." His profile was etched with unwavering determination. The serene mountain range was a beautiful lie, masking the tense conversation unfolding within the grand estate. With her adorable bunny ears twitching in curiosity, little Xiao Xiao peeked from behind a pillar, trying to catch snippets of the adult's serious talk. A gentle hand suddenly patted her head, and a kind voice chided her that children shouldn't eavesdrop. She immediately put her cheeks, a cute pout forming on her face as she silently insisted she wasn't even interested in their boring conversation. The old master's voice was grave as he warned the handsome Yin Huai clearly that the demon world was a treacherous place, and he had to be careful. His gaze then softened, falling upon the little girl. He reminded his disciple that he must look after Miss Tang now, a child who so clearly lacked fatherly love and deserved a proper upbringing. How could his star pupil be so irresponsible? He chided with gentle concern. A warm, knowing smile touched Yin Huai's perfect lips as he bowed his head, assuring his master that he understood completely. But the old master wasn't finished, his expression turning stern once more. Before he did anything, Yin Huai had to remember his new station in life. He was a man with a family now, and recklessness was a luxury he could no longer afford. Yin Huai's statuesque form stood firm, his handsome face a mask of resolve. Xiao Xiao watched from her hiding spot as he placed a comforting hand on his master's arm, his voice a steady, reassuring balm. "Don't worry, master," he promised, his amethyst eyes shining with confidence. He wouldn't let anything happen. A soft breeze whispered through the trees, as if sighing in relief now that the difficult conversation was over, and sunlight dappled the path as they began their journey. Walking side by side, the tall, elegant Yin Huai and the tiny Xiao Xiao made for a strange pair. He let out a soft sigh, revealing that his master had told him the legendary Zenshu fairy haunted these mountains, but he had no idea how to summon them to treat her condition. Xiao Xiao took a defiant crunch of her apple, thinking to herself that if he had just cooperated earlier, her illness would already be cured. Her big, sparkling eyes looked up at him as she innocently asked if he was really going to the dangerous demon world just to save his headmaster. He glanced down, a playful smirk on his lips, teasingly asking if she was trying to advise him not to go. He then launched into a lecture about how her current skill was no match for even the weakest demon Assura, let alone the demon lords who held the Zenshu fairy in their grasp. Instead of getting treatment, they'd more likely have his own vital force stolen from him. Xiao Xiao let out a huge, bored yawn, completely unimpressed. He then gently scolded her, taking the apple without permission, reminding her that such actions were no different from stealing. That was it. She stomped her foot, telling him to stop talking. He was just too pedantic. She grabbed his hand, pulling him forward, declaring that they were supposed to be looking for someone, so they should get a move on. Yin Huai's composure shattered into a comical, tear-streaked expression as he wondered aloud who was truly Xiao Xiao or Lady Heitang. The sun beat down relentlessly, and soon both of them were panting for air, their tongues lolling out from the oppressive heat. An apple core lay forgotten in the grass behind them. A moment later, Xiao Xiao's eyes widened. Wait a minute. Wasn't that the apple she had thrown away earlier? A cold dread washed over Yin Huai as he realized the horrifying truth. They had walked in a complete circle, ending up right back where they started. A palpable sense of unease settled between them. A solitary blackbird on a branch let out a sharp cry, as if commanding silence in the now eerie forest. Xiao Xiao's senses went on high alert as Yin Huai called her over, his voice tight with tension. He pointed to a creek, its surface unnaturally still, warning her that this was no living spring but an illusion meant to blind the eye. As they stood at the water's edge, a suffocating pressure suddenly erupted from a nearby stone monument. Dark, sinister shadows began to bleed from the stone, slithering across the ground towards them like hungry snakes. What is happening? Xiao Xiao wondered, her heart hammering against her ribs. He immediately stepped in front of her, his handsome face grim as a swirling miasma of red and black energy consumed their surroundings. This is bad, he thought. What is this place? From the depths of the shadows, a monstrous clawed hand emerged, followed by a terrifying figure with glowing red eyes that promised a painful death. An instant later, a horde of grieving spirits burst forth, their faces twisted in eternal torment, their screams a symphony of rage. "It was you," they shrieked in unison. "You were the one who killed us." "Give it back," their voices echoed. "Give back my life." Yin Huai cried out, clutching his chest as a searing pain like a burning fire tore through his heart. His eyes in agony, trapped in a horrification of his past. Xiao Xiao knew at once this place was despair, teeming resentful spirits they had to escape from. A desperate fear gripped her. She just wanted to go home, to be free of this nightmare. The ghosts swarmed Yin Huai, their whispers poisoning his mind. "Why did you kill me? Why?" He was completely lost to their illusion. She reached for him, yelling his name, trying to pull him back from the brink. Suddenly, a new voice, ancient and sharp, echoed around them. "If you don't want things to happen to him, it's best if you don't touch him for now." "Who's there?" Xiao Xiao demanded, spinning around. There, amidst the swirling dark energy, stood an old woman with stark white hair, a cruel, knowing smirk on her face. "Did you really think," she sneered, "you could steal this old man's vital force and not be recognized?" Xiao Xiao's eyes widened in shock. "Your fairy Zenshu," she gasped. She immediately snapped back, retorting that the fairy was far too small-minded to be offended by the words of a mere child. Zenshu let out a dry, rasping chuckle. It wasn't that she couldn't figure it out, she mused, but it was curious how a little doll like Xiao Xiao could escape an illusion created by millions of wrongful souls. Her gaze sharpened with suspicion. Could it be that this child was not immortal? But she dismissed the thought with a sneer, deciding Xiao Xiao was just a magic user, the kind meant to be shouted and beaten. Xiao's mind raced. Calm down, she told herself. This might be a test. Putting on a brave face, she feigned innocence, asking if the great fairy had perhaps discerned the wrong person, because she certainly wasn't a magic user. Zhenshu scoffed at her overbearing words. A volatile red energy began to crackle around her hands. This is not good, Xiao Xiao thought, her eyes widening in alarm. In a blur of motion, the fairy snatched her by her long bunny ears. "Let me go, you old man," she shrieked, struggling fiercely. But the fairy suddenly froze, her eyes wide with disbelief. This illusory realm of 100 ghosts was supposed to be ineffective only against demons, yet this child, who possessed no demonic power or murder aura, was completely unaffected. How was this possible? Releasing her, the fairy watched her with a puzzled expression. Xiao Xiao landed on her feet, breathing a secret sigh of relief. It was a good thing she'd lost her powers when she was reborn, otherwise this old creep would have surely captured her. Changing tactics, she pointed desperately at the Torment Hueli. "He's a mighty and righteous man, and I'm just a mortal," she pleaded. "Can't you make this easier for him?" The old man, Zhenshu, simply shook his head. "I am not the one making it hard for him." Through the agony, Yin Huai's voice cut through the ghostly wails. "This is your territory," he accused. "These ghosts can't be acting without your orders." Zhenshu raised a hand, and a soft red glow began to emanate from it. No, it corrected, his voice resonating with ancient power. "This is a land where I purify wrongful souls. The ones who refuse to let him go are the wicked spirits, though consumed by hatred that they refuse reincarnation." A powerful, cleansing red light began to spread from him, revealing the grim truth of this cursed ground. The scene opens on a memory too perfect to be real. A sun-drenched courtyard filled with the scent of spring blossoms. A lavish meal is spread across the table, a feast for a returning hero. A gentle-faced woman smiles, her voice full of warmth, telling her good boy that his mother had prepared all this for him since morning, urging him to eat more. The young man, Yin Huai, stares at the two figures before him, his handsome face a mask of utter disbelief. "Father? Mother?" He could hardly read the words. His mother's smile was tinged with a familiar sadness as she encouraged him to eat, admitting that after so many years away, she wasn't even sure if his tastes had changed. He lifts the chopsticks, his hand trembling slightly, and takes a bite. A wave of nostalgia crashes o'er him, this familiar, comforting taste of home. His father places a reassuring hand on his shoulder, his voice thick with emotion, telling his son how much his mother had missed him all these years, begging him not to run around anymore. Tears well up in Yin Huai's eyes as he makes a solemn vow, his voice cracking. He wouldn't go out anymore, he promised. From now on, he would stay right here with him. His son wouldn't go anywhere. His mother laughed softly, chiding him for being a silly child. Why was he crying? His wife would be distressed if she saw him like this when she came back. Yin Huai freezes, his cheeks flushing a deep crimson. "Wife." His eyes dart around in a panic. "Who?" As if on cue, a bright, cheerful voice rings out from the doorway. "Father, mother, husband. I'm back." A stunningly beautiful woman with warm, gold eyes steps into the room, beaming. Yin Huai's brain short-circuits. Xiao husband. Before he can process it, she's behind him, wrapping her arms around his neck in a warm embrace. Had he missed her already after only being apart for half a day? He stammers her name, Xiao Xiao. Why was she here? His entire face feels like it's on fire. She giggles, her breath warm against his ear. She was his wife, of course, so where else would she be? "Now give me a kiss, husband," she demands, playfully winking. She leans in and plants a soft kiss on his burning cheek. His brilliant violet eyes go wide with shock. His hand slowly comes up to touch the spot where her lips had been, his heart pounding like a drum. Could this truly be happening? Really not in a dream? But this perfect world shatters in an instant. The warm light fades, replaced by a hazy, terrifying void where Yin Huai lies in agony, his body being torn apart by vicious slashes of crimson energy. Watching from the outside, our tiny demon queen Xiao Xiao is frantic. She screams at the old fairy beside her, telling he had to think of something. If this continued, Yin Huai's body wouldn't be able to handle it. The ancient fairy remains impassive, his voice devoid of urgency. "This old man has no way," he states calmly. "Unless he breaks the illusion himself, no one can help him." Xiao explodes in fury, calling him a useless purifying fairy who couldn't even save one person from an illusion. What a shameful existence. He should just go to the realm of beasts instead. But her taunts are useless. Lian simply says her aggressive methods won't work him. He then drops a bombshell. Everything has a cause and effect. She wanted to save this man, but she was the very one who had harmed him. The words hit her like a physical blow. Her eyes widen in horror. "Don't tell me the million ghosts illusion is related to me." She demands he stop being cryptic and just say it. The old man sighs. Since she was so impatient, perhaps it was better to let the millions of wrongful souls who died tragically in the graveyard explain it to her themselves. Suddenly, the crimson murderous aura that was tormenting Yin Huai swarms towards her. "What is this?" She gasps, bracing herself. The old man's eyes narrow. "You are a demon magic user," he says, "a descendant of a powerful demon race. Am I right?" Xiao Xiao glares, putting on a brave front. "What if I am, and what if I'm not?" The old man strokes his beard thoughtfully. It was strange, he mused, that she didn't fall for the illusion. It is because of her own sins, but it seemed he was wrong. "I didn't kill them." Of course it's related to me," she yells, her voice trembling with indignation. The old man explains the cruel truth. The wrongful souls react to her presence not because of what Asha did, but because her clan, the demons, have committed countless sins. and she is now bearing the weight of their grievances. Xiao Xiao's mind reels. The previous generations of demon kings. My wretched cousin, you're causing me trouble even now. The old man continues his grim explanation. When these souls see someone kill their killer, they lash out for justice. And because her powerful bloodline makes her impossible to harm directly, they are pouring all their hatred onto Yin Huai instead. All she could do was endure the discomfort. As Yin Huai is ravaged by the vengeful spirits, Xiao Xiao clenches her tiny fists in frustration. Damn it! If only she could recover her true powers. Inside the nightmare, Yin Huai screams in defiance, I don't want to. What did you do to him? Xiao Xiao demands, her eyes flashing with fury. That is his suffering, the old man says with chilling detachment. It's unavoidable, and it has nothing to do with me. Back in the dream, Yin Huai's perfect family dinner continues. Starting today, we'll stay together, he says with a blissful smile. But then the illusion twists into a grotesque horror. Blood pours from his parents' eyes and mouths as they smile at him. All right, son. The bowl slips from his grasp, crashing to the floor. His eyes widen in terror. Xiao Xiao, father, mother? What happened to you? He turns to see his beautiful wife, also covered in blood, slumping towards him with a lifeless smile. His mind breaking. In the real world, his physical form begins to flicker, becoming terrifyingly transparent. He's dying! Xiao Xiao shrieks in panic. The old fairy of the change. The wrongful souls have fought back, he notes, causing a major shift in the illusion. No! I have to wake him up, Xiao Xiao cries, her resolve hardening. She rushes to his side, grabbing his fading form and shaking him with all her might. Can you hear me? Yin Huai? The old man's voice cuts through her desperate pleas. Don't waste your energy. His body is in the illusion realm. He won't be aware of you. And deep within that illusion, the source of all this pain is finally revealed. A village engulfed in flames, villagers screaming in terror as horned demons descend upon them. It's on fire! Run, the magic users are coming. The world was a sea of crimson and sorrow, a nightmare from which Yin Huai could never wake. His hand trembled as he reached for his sword, a futile gesture against the ghosts of his past. It's the demons again, his mind screamed, the same ones that had haunted his every waking moment. A desperate voice, so much like his mother's, pleaded with him from behind a closing door, begging him not to go out, not to face the horror again. But he was already lost. Shadowy hands, cold as the grave, clawed at him, their touch seeping into his very soul, pulling him deeper into the abyss. Then he saw them, the specters of his parents, their faces etched with a tragic, beckoning sadness. His mother's voice was a siren's call asking her son to stay, to live with them in this scarlet hell. His father's phantom grabbed his arm, the grip surprisingly strong, reminding him that the fire had taken their lives and he shouldn't have to live alone. But then the illusion cracked. His mother's gentle face twisted into a demonic, possessive sneer, her eyes glowing with malice. The question dripped with poison, how could he have the heart to leave her alone? The weight of this twisted grief was too much. His sword slipped from his numb fingers, clattering onto the blood-red ground. He was paralyzed, his mind a whirlwind of confusion and despair, lost in the messy graves of his memory. Vicious, invisible claws tore at him, ripping through his spirit as the illusions fed on his pain. From the outside, our little demon Queen Xiao could only watch in sheer terror, her heart hammering against her ribs as the man she cared for was torn apart by his own mind. The wise old man beside her stated the grim truth: he couldn't save him. But a flicker of hope remained. If she truly wanted to save him, there was one other way. Xiao Xiao's head snapped towards him, her eyes, usually so bright and mischievous, now blazing with fierce desperation. What way? She demanded, her voice tight with urgency. The old master explained the perilous plan. He could send her into Yin Huai's dream, into the heart of the illusion itself. But the warning was dire. Inside that nightmare, she'd be no different from an ordinary person, and if she encountered danger, he'd be powerless to help. There was no hesitation, not even for a second. Her eyes were filled with unshakable resolve. She was willing, she declared, just tell her how, and do it quickly. Meanwhile, inside the illusion, Huai was succumbing. The ghostly hands tightened their grip, the whispers of his false parents promising an eternity together, a forever he never wanted. His gaze was hollow, his spirit broken. He wasn't even supposed to be in this world, he thought, a profound emptiness washing over him as he closed his, ready to be consumed by the darkness. But then a tiny hand, glowing with warmth and light, reached through the suffocating gloom. A voice, small but powerful, screamed his name, Yin Huai. In a flash, Xiao Xiao was there, her arms wrapped around him in a desperate, grounding hug. She pressed her face into his back, her voice shaking as she begged him not to believe the lies, to wake up, to come back to her. The demonic spirits shrieked in fury. How dare this little lily girl spoil their good deeds? Fine, they hissed, she could just stay here and rot with them. Xiao Xiao ignored them, her focus entirely on him. She reminded him of his quest, of Fairy Zenshu, of saving his sect leader, anything to pull him out of his trance. Her words were a lightning strike to his clouded mind. His eyes shot open, a spark of clarity returning. He saw it then, the flaw in the illusion, the detail that wasn't right. This wasn't real. But as his consciousness returned, the illusion turned its wrath on her. A wave of pure malice slammed into Xiao Xiao, throwing her back. Damn this illusion, she thought, her body racked with agony. She had no way to resist it. The pain was unbearable, a crushing weight that made her feel so tired. Her consciousness faded as her eyes fluttered shut. "Xiao Xiao," Wiley cried out, his voice raw with panic as he caught her limp form in his arms. Seeing her like this, so pale and still, shattered the last vestiges of his despair and forged it into pure, unadulterated rage. His parents were long dead, he knew that. Xiao Xiao couldn't possibly be here. It was all a lie. A vow echoed in the core of his being. "Father, mother, your son will avenge you." A brilliant golden aura exploded from him, the sheer force of his will shattering the crimson nightmare into a million pieces. Yin Huai's eyes snapped open, the familiar sight of the forest returning. They were back. He gently laid Xiao Xiao down, his voice soft with worry as he urged her to wake up. The old master, now revealed to be a beautiful woman, remarked that the child had a surprisingly strong life force. Huili looked up, realizing he was in the presence of the legendary fairy Senshu. He quickly introduced himself, but his formal greeting was cut short by her observation that the illusion realm was a fine place for cultivation, and he was on the verge of a breakthrough. He offered a rushed thank you, his gaze immediately returning to Xiao Xiao, who lay unconscious on the grass. He explained frantically that she was injured by a ghost, that the devilish energy inside her was raging out of control. This was why he had come, he confessed, to beg for her treatment. The fairy looked down, a hint of annoyance in her expression. This foolish boy still chattering about the magic user. It wasn't a recurrence, she stated coolly. The truth was a dagger to his heart. The fairy explained that Xiao Xiao had willingly faced thousands of ghosts and entered the illusion just to save him, and that's where she was wounded by a wrong soul. The realization crashed over him like a tidal wave. It was his fault. If it wasn't for him, she wouldn't be like this. "I beg you, save Xiao Xiao," he pleaded, his voice cracking. The fairy's expression was unreadable. He was asking her, a celestial being, to heal a demon. "What a strange request. You found the wrong person," she said, turning away. Desperation clawed at Hueli's throat. Without a second thought, he fell to his knees, his pride dissolving into nothing. "She is an important person to me," he declared, his voice thick with emotion. "I won't let anything happen to her." The fairy paused, a flicker of something in her eyes. "It's not that there's no way," she finally conceded. There was a place 10 kilometers away where a bitter cold lotus grew, lotus that could temporarily suppress the demonic energy consuming Xiao Xiao's body. A handsome man with long, dark hair lets out a playful wink, pulling on the hair of the tiny girl in his arms as lanterns glow softly in the background. Under the ominous gaze of a storm-racked sky, lightning flashes, illuminating the curved roof of a desolate palace. Inside a dark and foreboding prison, a phoenix emblem is tossed callously into a roaring brazier. The flames dance, casting flickering shadows across the cold stone walls of a dungeon cell where a formidable figure is bound. With powerful horns curving from his temples and his eyes covered by a blindfold, the man known as Manhwa is chained like a beast, his muscular frame tense with restrained fury. The heavy silence is broken by the soft footsteps of another man entering the cell, his elegant robes a stark contrast to the grim surroundings. This newcomer, radiating a cold and calculating aura, stands before the prisoner, firelight catching the sharp planes of his handsome face. Yanhua's head snaps up, his voice a low growl thick with betrayal. That bastard, he seethed. That wretched brothers had lied to him, and now he dared to come see him in this state. But the man simply looks down, his expression unreadable, calmly stating that his dear brother shouldn't be angry. He was merely expediting their plan. He then presents a gleaming sword, its hilt pushed towards the chained man's hands. He commanded him to hold it. Yanhua's eyes widen in sheer disbelief beneath his blindfold, a surge of confusion washing over his anger. What in the world was he doing? The visitor's gaze is intense as he explains that now is an excellent opportunity, one they cannot afford to miss. He reveals that the Demon Queen's magic power is fluctuating once more. If Yanhua escapes from prison at this very moment, Kang Fan will undoubtedly rush over himself. He continued, his voice a low, persuasive murmur, explaining that Kang Fan doesn't anyone else and would surely send that stupid snake to capture him. Yanhua processes the information, his brow furrowed. So the plan was for him to kill that snake. A ghost of a smirk plays on the visitor's lips. What, was he scared of a simple snake? He assured Yanhua he would prepare everything and stop Kang Fan's side from interfering. But suspicion still coiled in Yanhua's heart. How could he possibly believe a single word this man said? Leaning in closer, the air crackling with unspoken history and tension, the visitor's voice drops to a near whisper. He asked his brother Yanhua what other choice he had other than to trust him. His true motive was clear. He wanted the Phoenix token, and to get it he had no choice but to let Yanhua suffer a little to stop that snake for him. As his words hang in the air, a dark, shadowy energy begins to swirl. Far away, a pair of golden eyes flutter open. Xiao Fen gasps both up, with a single name tearing from her lips. Yin Huai. She finds herself not in a palace, but in a tranquil clearing surrounded by ancient graves under a moonlit sky. An old man with a long white beard sits peacefully nearby, asking if she is finally awake. Ignoring him completely, Xiao Fen's mind is consumed by one thought. What about Yin Huai? Where was he? The old man explains that she was injured by grieving souls and had been in a coma for 3 days, her condition so unstable that only the fabled 9-soul Lotus could help her now. He continues, revealing that the man she was looking for, Yin Huai, had seen her comatose state and asked him, this old man, to take care of her while he went to find the medicine himself. Her heart lurches in her chest, panic flaring in her eyes. Where did he go to find it? The old man's expression becomes mischievous, a knowing twinkle in his eyes as he strokes his beard. Why the sudden concern, he asks. Was she worried about him? Xiaofen immediately puffs out her cheeks, her face flushing a delicate pink. Worried? Of course not. She was just sick of seeing an old man's face every day. It was incredibly boring. The old man scoffs, retorting that it's not like he wanted her here either. This wasn't the demon realm, she needed to be more cautious. A sly smile spreads across Xiaofen's face. Why should she be cautious? After all, he was the one who released the wrong souls in the first place. Everything has a cause and effect, and while he might not want her here, she hadn't realized he was the one who started this whole mess. Her cheeky, accusing gaze is undeniable. The old man looks away, completely flustered. This little girl really knew how to hold a grudge. He tries to deflect, saying she shouldn't be so complacent. He'd heard that magic user of hers talking about the merry life all the time. If she had a lover, it seemed she was just as frightened as any ordinary person. And that was just plain boring. Her face turns beet red. What lover? She didn't have anything like that. The old man leans in, a smug look on his face. She was in a coma for 3 days, and he'd lost count of how many times she'd called out that man's name. His ears were practically numb from it. Xiaofen leaps to her feet, utterly scandalized. How could that be? He must be framing her. His eyes narrow slightly. Wrong souls, he explained, have a way of drawing out what is truly in a person's heart. A mouth can lie, but a heart cannot. He reminded her that she had rushed into an illusion realm just to save him, even in her dream, and she still dared to claim she didn't care about him. Her defiant expression falters, her cheeks burning with the undeniable truth. Meanwhile, traverse a desolate landscape where fire meets ice, a place of extreme and violent contrasts. He couldn't imagine where the 9 souls Lotus would grow in such a place, but he pressed on, his fluttering against the harsh wind. As lightning cracks across the sky, he senses something powerful up ahead and moves to investigate. Before him, a magnificent, ethereal ice materializes from the frigid air. At the same time, a group of disciples from the Purple Temple arrive, led by the elegant Su Qingning. One of her companions, Ying'er, points out urgently that the 9 souls red lotus is about to bloom. If they delay, they'll have to wait another year. And there it was, a radiant crimson flower pulsing with life on a desolate rock. Su Qingning gives the order, assemble. Her disciples would surround the dragon while she fetched the lotus herself. With a unified cry, they agreed. But as she took a single step forward, the ice dragon let out a world-shattering roar. It unleashed a torrent of absolute zero, instantly freezing her disciples into statues of ice. Su Qingning's eyes widen in horror. This ice dragon, it was far more powerful than she ever could have imagined. Before she can react, the beast lunges, its crystalline jaws closing around her. No! She screams as teeth sink into her flesh. From his vantage point, Yin Huai witnesses the brutal attack and shouts for his companion to be careful. He dives into the fray without a second thought, his sword flashing out, empowered by crackling lightning. He plunges the blade deep into the dragon's skull. As the beast recoils, the injured woman plummets downwards. He acts in a flash, catching her hand just in time. He yells for his companion to come up, but her grip fails. He manages to pull her up, securing her on the back of the now subdued ice dragon. She looks up at him, her face flushed with a shy gratitude. But their escape is cut short as a sword slices through the air, aimed directly for them. The real Su Qingning appears, her face a mask of cold fury. This is bad. The imposter thinks this bastard wants to kill us both. Yin Huai spots an active volcano in the distance, a desperate plan forming in his mind. He tells his companion he will lead the dragon to the crater and she must take the opportunity to jump down. The dragon roars in protest. She looks at him, her eyes wide with fear for safety. But what about him? He gives her a reassuring look, promising that as long as the timing is right, he will be fine. Gripping his sword hilt, he pours energy into the dragon, commanding it to rise. The great beast soars towards the volcano, their pursuer hot on their tail. The air crackled with immense power as Yin Huai's gaze locked onto the source of the overwhelming energy. It was unmistakable, a treasure of legends. The 9 souls Lotus. His handsome face was a mask of grim determination. There, perched on a crag surrounded by a sea of molten rock, was the crimson flower that held the key Xiao Xiao. His companion, the ethereal beauty Su Qingning, urged him to jump, her voice sharp with urgency. Without a second's hesitation, Yin Huai turned to her with a resolute look, and she launched herself into the abyss. She plunged towards the fiery death below, but just as the heat threatened to consume her, a colossal, glowing sword materialized beneath her feet, catching her effortlessly. It was Yin Huai's doing. He stood on the precipice, arms outstretched, his spiritual energy pouring into the magnificent blade. A bridge over the inferno. Su King landed gracefully on the scorched earth beside the flower. Her delicate hands carefully plucked the legendary red lotus from its perch. Yin Huai took the precious herb, tucking it away with the utmost care, a wave of relief washing over him. But the moment of peace was shattered in an instant. A murderous aura erupted from the lava, and Yin Huai spun around, his sword flashing in his hand to meet the threat. A monstrous beast of rock and spirit energy lunged, but he was faster. He let his sword drop, using it as a springboard to launch himself into the air with breathtaking agility. The stone dragon let out a deafening roar that shook the very cavern. But Yin Huai was a whirlwind of power, plunging his blade directly into the beast's head. A single, decisive strike. It was done. He stood with cold confidence as the massive creature dissolved into nothing, melting back into the lava from whence it came, leaving Su Qingning's junior disciple to stare in utter disbelief. His mission was complete. He glanced at the lotus he now possessed, his heart aching. He had been away for too long. He had to get this to Xiao Xiao immediately. He turned to Su Qingning, his expression softening as he thanked her for her invaluable help. A faint, grateful smile touched his lips. The beautiful woman introduced herself as Su Qingning, a disciple from the Purple Temple, and asked for his name. He told her there was no need for thanks, introducing himself as Yin Huai from the Yuan Ming faction. The Purple Temple, his mind raced. They were famous for their unparalleled medical skills. Could they cure Xiao Xiao's mysterious illness? It was best a good relationship with them just in case. Noticing her robes were torn from the ordeal, he gallantly offered his own outer robe. He gently draped the fine fabric over her shoulders, his touch light and respectful. A soft blush crept onto her cheeks as she thanked him, her luminous eyes wide. Internally, Yin Huai let out a sigh of relief. Social success. It was exhausting, but he'd managed it. She asked if he had also come seeking the red lotus. His expression grew somber. He explained, a dear friend's soul had been gravely injured, and this was the only medicine that could save her. The weight of his words hung in the air, his worry palpable. Su Qingning's expression was full of empathy. She knew the nine-soul lotus was incredibly rare, but she believed the most precious medicine in the world was meant to save lives. With a heart-stopping act of kindness, she offered him the lotus. He shouldn't be late, she urged. He should take it to his friend who needed it so urgently. Overwhelmed by her generosity, he thanked her profusely. Promise her and thank her properly once his friend had recovered. She beamed, a smile that could melt glaciers, and told him she would look forward to it. With a final nod, Yin Huai vanished in a swirl of brilliant light, racing back to Xiao Xiao's side. Just as he left, another disciple appeared, calling out to her senior sister in disbelief. She couldn't believe Su Qingning had just given away the medicine they had waited so long for. Su Qingning turned, feigning annoyance, telling her junior she had scared her to death. The junior pouted, muttering that she didn't want to interrupt her senior sister's budding romance. Besides, that handsome guy was so rude. He just took the flower and left without even trying to flirt with her beautiful senior sister. Su Qingning just serenely. He had to save a friend, she said. It was only natural he wouldn't linger. And now they too should return to the sect. With that, the two women departed, leaving the scorched cavern behind. Back in the tranquil moonlit forest, Yin Huai finally returned. He found the old man anxiously watching over Xiao Xiao's sleeping form. The old man's face lit up with relief. Xiao Xiao, you're awake, he cried, though his words were for Yin Huai, his eyes welling up with tears. But Xiao Xiao was awake too, her golden eyes fluttering open to gaze at him with a soft smile. He looked so silly crying. Did he find the lotus, she asked, her voice weak but clear. The old man grumbled that now her soul was stable, they should get out of his place. Xiao Xiao cheekily agreed, saying she was getting bored anyway. Yin Huai could only stare, completely bewildered. What in the world? And while he was gone for just a few days. Shaking his head, he took out the glowing red lotus. Ferryman, he said to the elder, let's begin. He knelt beside Xiao Xiao, ready to start the ritual. The sacred lotus floated through the air, settling above Xiao Xiao's chest. A torrent of pure red energy poured into her small body. The old man watched in utter shock. What kind of constitution did this child possess? The sheer power radiating from her was blocking even his own energy. He reached out, absorbing the overflow to keep it from overwhelming her. Far away, in a dark and foreboding throne room, a handsome man with a dangerous aura sat upon a throne of black stone. The Demon King. A glowing pink orb before him suddenly pulsed with light. His piercing violet eyes snapped open. It was Her Highness, he could feel her presence. But just as quickly as it appeared, it vanished. Could she be in danger? A murderous glint entered his eyes. The orb went dim. His voice was colder than ice as he gave the command. Assemble the troops, find Her Highness. His loyal subjects bowed as one, their voices echoing in the vast hall. Yes. Back in the forest, the last of the lotus's energy seeped into Xiao Xiao. But just as Yin Huai thought it was over, her body went limp and she collapsed. He caught her just in time, his heart sinking. Why did she faint again? The old man explained that the lotus had healed her soul, and she was merely in a deep sleep. But what about the demon energy corrupting body? The old man sighed, admitting that he could not cure her illness. Yin Huai would have to find another way, and with those final words, the mysterious old man faded away into the night, holding the sleeping child. Yin Huai's resolve hardened. Xiao Xiao's illness was unlike anything he had ever seen. There was only one place left to go, the Purple Temple. They arrived at the legendary sect, a sprawling city of beautiful temples amidst the clouds. The main gate was swarming with people, a testament to the temple's fame. Yin Huai navigated the crowd, carrying Xiao Xiao gently on his back. The noise woke her up. She rubbed her eyes sleepily, asking where they were. He told her with a smile as the Purple Temple. He explained that its reputation for healing drew commoners from all over the land. Xiao Xiao's eyes widened in recognition. Purple Temple. Why that name sounds so familiar? A jolt went through her as the memories clicked into place. Then she noticed the strange contraption she was in. What was this? He had fashioned a makeshift baby carrier out of fabric to carry her on his back. Hands-free. He explained sheepishly that it wasn't safe to carry her on his sword, so he'd asked a kind village auntie for the cloth. He turned his head, his handsome face filled with doting concern. Was she comfortable? Her face turned bright red with embarrassment. "Let me down!" she squeaked. Internally, she was dying. This wretched man actually carried her, the great Demon Queen, all the way here in a baby sling. He gently set her down. He patted her head affectionately, asking if she felt better. She quickly composed herself, giving him a bright smile and assuring him she was perfectly fine. Just then, a melodious voice called out his name. "Companion Yin, long time no see." It was Su Qingning, the beautiful and kind disciple from the volcano, her smile as radiant as ever. A tense silence hangs in the air as Xiao Xiao finds herself caught between Yin Huai and a stunningly beautiful woman. The woman's gaze on Huai is far too intimate, and a spark of irritation ignites in Xiao Xiao's golden eyes. Who was this person, and why was she looking at her Yin Huai with such familiarity? Not on her watch. With a tiny, determined tug on his sleeve, she puts on her most pitiful face. "Yin Huai, I'm tired," she whined, shamelessly weaponizing her cuteness to interrupt whatever was happening. The beautiful woman with gentle violet eyes looks down in surprise as Yin Huai's expression softens. He explains with a doting smile that this is little sister, patting Xiao Xiao's head affectionately, much to her chagrin. But beneath his calm exterior, a flicker of worry crossed his handsome features. He wasn't sure if this woman, a powerful cultivator, could see through his deception to Xiao Xiao's real symptoms. Xiao Xiao fumed internally, her cheeks puffed out in a silent protest. First a father, and now he was taking advantage of her by calling her his sister. The woman, however, simply smiled warmly, blaming herself for her negligence in letting them struggle to get here. She graciously invited the rest in the guest room. Later, a mischievous junior sister named Ying Er approaches the beautiful woman, presenting a neatly folded set of clothes with a wink. "Here are your darling's clothes," she chirped, explaining that these were the robes companion Yin had borrowed. She had already washed them and was returning them now. The senior sister's cheeks flushed a delicate pink. A moment later, Yin Huai pats the senior sister's head, a gesture of casual intimacy that makes Xiao Xiao's blood boil. He tells her not to be so polite, that he would have helped anyone in her situation. But she insists, her voice soft as she thanks companion Yin for his kindness, for saving her from that bitter and cold situation. Nearby, a gaggle of disciples whispers excitedly, their eyes sparkling. They sighed that companion Yin and their senior sister were a match made in heaven. Xiao Xiao, sitting alone at a stone table, was forced to overhear every infuriating word. The gossip continued, painting a picture of a classic hero saving the damsel scenario. Her tiny hands clenched as she listened to them praise his efforts, a hero saving the beauty. Her face contorted into an adorable, yet furious pout. The girls continued their matchmaking, gushing over how handsome and good-tempered companion was, insisting he and their senior sister should just get together and fight demons as a power couple. They teased that he was just being shy, trying to push the two closer. That was the last straw. With a defiant shout, Xiao Xiao's voice cut through the air, sharp and demanding. "Yin Huai, are we still not going to rest?" She was beyond tired of this little play. "I'm tired," she declared, hopping down from her seat with an air of finality. A sudden, terrifying aura exploded from her tiny frame, a suffocating pressure that silenced the gossiping girls in an instant. Their faces paled, wondering how on earth they had provoked this terrifying child. The senior sister, ever so gentle, knelt down, offering to take Xiao Xiao to rest while she and her brother chatted. But Xiao Xiao was having none of it. She crossed her arms stubbornly, her voice firm. I only want Yin Huai with me." Yin Huai watched the scene unfold, a barely concealed smile playing on his lips. So Xiao Xiao wanted him to be with her. The senior sister chuckled, finally understanding. She teased that Xiao Xiao was just jealous, wondering what would happen when her brother eventually found a wife. Who's jealous? Xiao Xiao shot back with defiant wink, turning on her heel. "If you want to chat, then just chat." But before she'd storm off, a firm hand grabbed her arm. "Xiao Xiao, wait." Yin Huai's playful demeanor vanished, replaced by a serious expression. He turned to the senior sister, his voice low. He had something to ask and needed her help getting an introduction to the elders of the Purple Temple sect. The woman readily agreed, telling him to follow her. Xiao Xiao felt a secret thrill of victory. He rejected her, choosing his mission and her instead. A small, happy smile graced her lips as she looked at his hand still holding hers. The other girls looked on, disappointed. Xiao Xiao's eyes gleamed with possessive triumph. Fine, call it jealousy. No one was taking her man. Meanwhile, in the demon realm, chaos erupted. A guard burst into the throne room, screaming that Yin Huai had escaped from prison. The demon lord Kang Fan shot to his feet, his handsome face contorted in shock. He commanded his men to take him to the dungeon at once. The shadows. The second prince watched with a cunning smirk. He took the bait, he thought gleefully, telling the Urseed with their plans to find the demon queen without waiting for the distracted lord. His loyal men bowed. Lightning cracked across the sky above the dreaded Demon Palace dungeon. Kang Fan arrived like a storm, his presence radiating a murderous aura. Which direction did he flee? He demanded. The trembling guard reported that the traitor had gone west. Kang Fan's narrowed in suspicion. That was strange. It wasn't the direction where Her Highness's magic had fluctuated. He couldn't let this escape ruin his plans. Using a secret transmission, he commanded his snake familiar, hunt down Yin Huai. If he resists, kill him. The snake hissed its affirmation before slithering away into the darkness. Just then, the second prince appeared, his expression a mask of concern. How is it going? Kan internally cursed his snake for its slowness. The second prince put a hand on his shoulder, feigning loyalty. He offered to stay and guard the palace against the escaped prisoner. But as he spoke, his other hand moved with lightning speed, plunging his dagger deep into Kang Fan's back. The traitor is you, he snarled. Kang Fan's eyes widened in pure, unadulterated shock and betrayal. The prince's face was a mask of triumph, blood staining his lips. It's time for your seat to belong to someone else. A burning pain spread through Kang Fan's veins. Poison on the dagger. The prince's laughter was chilling. There's no one in the palace who can save you now, he gloated. Back at the Purple Temple sect, the elders were in a solemn meeting. The disappearance of the demon was a grave matter. The sect head, Su Yi, a man with a long white beard and powerful aura, declared he would send disciples to investigate. Yin Huai respectfully thanked him for his help. Suddenly, a wave of unease washed over Xiao Xiao, her heart clenching in her chest. Why did she suddenly feel so flustered? Yin Huai noticed her distress instantly. How, are you feeling sick again? He turned to the sect head with a formal bow, making another urgent request. He explained that Xiao Xiao had been injured by demons, and he desperately needed a cure. The old master smiled kindly. No problem, let me see. A warm, golden light emanated from his hand as he reached for her. Xiao Xiao's heart hammered against her ribs. This old man was clearly powerful. He wouldn't be able to see that she was a demon, would he? After a moment, the sect head stroked his beard in confusion. He was ashamed to say the child seemed to be in perfect health. Yin Huai was stunned. How could it be? The curse was so potent that even this master couldn't detect it, especially given the sect's intense hatred for the demon race. Then it hit Xiao Xiao like a bolt of lightning. The demon curse and the Purple Temple sect. Of course, it sounded familiar. These were the wretched humans who had swindled the demon lord's lineage. Thinking fast, she clutched her stomach, her face scrunched up in pain. No, my stomach hurts. I have to go to the toilet. It was the perfect excuse to flee this dangerously perceptive old man. Xiao Xiao's tiny feet hit the ground with a soft thud as she hopped down, her mind already racing. The Purple Temple sect and the demon race were like oil and water, they absolutely did not mix, and she was caught right in the middle. This was a disaster waiting to happen. She had to get out of here, and fast. But just as she turned to make her escape, a gentle voice called her name, Xiao Xiao, stopping her in her tracks. She looked back to see the handsome Yin Huai, his presence a calming balm in the tense atmosphere. With a tiny, desperate tug, she pulled on the sleeve of his robes, her big eyes pleading for attention. He was standing with a beautiful senior sister, but his focus immediately shifted to the small child. He told his companion to go on ahead and chat with the master. He would take care of Xiao Xiao, his voice gentle and reassuring. Far from this peaceful sect, in the depths of a dark, menacing cave, a scene of brutal despair was unfolding. A man lay broken on the ground, his body a canvas of blood and grime, his life force slowly seeping away. Standing over him was a man known as Vulture, his gaze dripping with contempt for the defeated figure before him. How recalcitrant, Vulture sneered, his voice echoing in the desolate chamber. With a rough hand, he turned the injured man over, revealing a blood-soaked chest and intricate tattoos barely visible beneath the gore. Vulture's hands rummaged through the man's robes, searching for something precious. His eyes narrowed into furious slits when he found nothing. Where was it? He seethed internally before raising his voice for all to hear, announcing the demon lord Kang Fan had released the traitor Yin Huai to assassinate him, and had now been subdued for his crimes. With a sharp, cruel command, he ordered his men to take the demon lord to the dreaded water prison. His loyal minions immediately obeyed, dragging the once mighty demon away. The clang of heavy chains echoed as a brutal metal shackle was clamped onto a bloodied wrist, sealing his fate. The water prison was a place of nightmares, its walls lined with spiked maces and gleaming swords, promising endless agony. The demon lord was hoisted up, chained and suspended over a dark, churning pool of water, a grim spectacle of fallen power. Yet even in this state, his eyes burned with defiance as he stared down Vulture. So Vulture wanted to know where the Phoenix was. He could keep dreaming. Demon Lord would rather die than betray his queen. Vulture's patience wore thin. He advised the prisoner to be more sensible or the pain would be unbearable. After all, the devouring flood dragons in the water below could tear him apart in an instant. As if on cue, a monstrous, scaly beast erupted from the water, its hiss a terrifying promise of death. But the demon lord only laughed, a ragged, defiant sound. A traitor like Vulture dared to bark at him. Those who betrayed the Demon Queen would meet a terrible end, and when she returned, Vulture's doom was sealed. Vulture's face twisted into a mask of pure rage at the mention of her name. A cruel, twisted smile spread across his lips. In that case, he purred with malicious delight. He should just enjoy himself. He turned his back, leaving the Demon Lord to his grim fate. With a deafening roar, the Fluthagen lunged, its massive snapping shut as Vulture walked away from the prison without a second glance. Meanwhile, in a desolate, snowy landscape, different kind of trap was being set. A cluster of purple snakes hissed anxiously, calling out to their master. The demon Yin Huai, a striking figure with white hair and sharp horns, looked back with a lazy smirk. Ah, his stupid little snake, it was you. He chuckled, continuing to pour a strangwood from a gourd onto the frozen ground. The snake's eyes widened in horror. That scent, it was Realgar wine, a poison to their kind. A terrible realization dawned upon it. Yin Huai never escaped from prison. This was all a setup. It turned to flee, a desperate scramble for its life. But Yin Huai was impossibly fast. Where do you think you're going? He taunted, hand-snatching the snake's tail mid-flight. He held the writhing creature up, his grin positively wicked. Enjoy, he said softly. I have a special surprise just for you. Back at the Purple Temple sect, a strange anxiety settled over Xiao Xiao. What was this feeling? She sat at a stone table, a plate of delicate cakes before her, but her heart felt heavy and restless. Her large, expressive eyes gazed at the treats with a troubled expression. A senior sister, Su, approached with a gentle smile, offering her a cake. This was made by her sister, she explained sweetly before asking if Xiao Xiao's brother might like them. Sister Su then leaned conspiratorially, asking if Xiao Xiao had a crush on Yin Huai. Xiao Xiao blinked her innocent, doe-like eyes, looking utterly harmless. The sister even offered to help her win her brother's heart. But Xiao Xiao, while munching on a cake, dropped a bomb with zero subtlety. He already likes someone else, she stated matter-of-factly. She then launched into a graphic tale of this supposed rival, a woman of legendary prowess and unearthly beauty. This big sister wasn't just a martial arts prodigy. She was gentle, considerate, and so beautiful that men would grovel at her feet just to kiss her shoestrings. After swallowing, Xiao Xiao looked at the stunned sister with a look of profound pity. You don't stand a chance, she declared, decisively pushing the plate of cakes back toward the heartbroken girl. Sister Sue's face flushed with anger. What absolute nonsense was this child spewing? Another girl rushed to her defense, exclaiming that senior sister was a renowned goddess. How could Yin Huai possibly dislike her? She demanded Xiao Xiao reveal what he truly liked. Xiao Xiao's lips curved into a smug, knowing smile. Still not giving up after all that? Fine then, don't blame me for what happens next. Yin Huai was practicing his sword forms, his movements fluid and powerful under the sun. Sister Su, determined, approached him with her plate of cakes, her friend trailing behind. She offered him the treats, saying he must be tired. From her hiding spot, Xiao Xiao grinned with mischievous delight. Oh, this was going to be good. Yin Huai politely turned to thank her for her kindness. But as his eyes fell upon the cake she offered, his face went pale, and a wave of pure dread washed over him. Perched atop each delicate pastry was a single, fat, wriggling red worm. He slapped on a panicked smile, his voice strained. Oh, companion Su! I just remembered the master is looking for me. I have to go. And with that, he fled as if his life depended on it, leaving a completely baffled sister Su holding the worm-infested cakes. She stood there, frozen in utter confusion. Left, a peal of laughter broke the silence. Xiao Xiao couldn't contain her mirth any longer. Sister Su whipped around, her face a storm of fury as she realized she'd been played. She shrieked. An elect tension sparked between the tiny mastermind and her fuming victim. Xiao Xiao just shrugged, her expression shamelessly cheerful. So what if I lied? Yin Huai and his beloved are deeply in love. Trying to interfere would only make you look bad, so you should just give up. What does this little brat know? Sister Su fumed internally, her pride completely shattered. Before she could retaliate, another disciple arrived with a message. The master wanted her to bring Xiao Xiao to the ancestral hall. Masking her anger with a serene smile, she agreed to take her there immediately. Inside the hallowed hall, the master and Yin Huai were waiting amidst rows of ancestral tablets. Xiao Xiao's eyes fell upon the name of the sect's first-generation head, Luo Feizhu. Could this be the ancestor's partner? She wondered silently. As she stepped closer for a better look, one of the tablets suddenly began to shake violently. It was the one placed right next to the founders. The old master stroked his beard, a flicker of understanding in his ancient eyes. Sure enough, he murmured. Xiao Xiao froze, her heart hammering against her ribs. Oh no. Have I been discovered? The master's mind flashed back to his first meeting with her, the strange sense of déjà vu he'd felt from her energy. Now he was certain. Sister Su asked what was happening. The master explained that the sect's long-dormant magic weapon, the Purple Temple Ring, had lost its power ages ago, yet the moment Xiao Xiao approached, it had flared back life. A slow smile spread across his face as the implications sank in. This could only mean one thing. A cold dread washed over Xiao Xiao as she stood amidst the powerful cultivators, her small frame belying the ancient soul within. She knew it, she just knew this was a terrible idea. The old sect leader hadn't gathered everyone for a friendly chat. He'd known her identity all along, and this tactical was an elaborate trap just for her. The white-haired sect leader of the Purple Temple sect addressed the assembly, voice booming with a revelation. He declared that little Xiao Xiao possessed the legendary purple key, a power unseen since the very first head of their sect. His eyes with ridiculous, starry-eyed fervor, as he proclaimed her appearance to be a destiny written by the heavens themselves. Xiao Xiao felt a cold sweat bead on her forehead, dabbing it away with a tiny hand. This old man's bizarre mix of laughing and sighing was seriously creeping her out, scaring her to death. The sect leader then turned his attention to a statuesque beauty named Su Qingning, his chief disciple. He announced his grand plan. He would take Xiao Xiao as his own close disciple, and Qingning would be her teacher, treating the child as her very own sister from this day forward. Su Qingning sank to her knees in a graceful display of obedience, her voice smooth as she vowed Xiao Xiao as her own flesh and blood. An incredulous laugh bubbled up inside Xiao Xiao's chest. This foolish old man wanted to accept her as disciple. Her whose power dwarfed his own. She could hardly wait to see the look on his face when he finally discovered her true identity. It would be utterly priceless. Just as the matter seemed settled, a smooth, possessive voice cut through the air. Yin Huai stepped forward, his handsome face a mask of polite refusal. While he thanked sect leader Su for the kind offer, he already had an agreement with Xiao Xiao. Holding the small girl protectively, the demon lord made his own declaration, his violet eyes glinting with authority. He would be taking Xiao Xiao back to the Yuan Ming sect where she belonged. The old man's face soured, arguing that the Purple Temple sect's medical expertise made it the perfect place for the child. A faint, mocking smile played on Yin Huai's lips. He countered by saying Xiao Xiao had a wretched temper, was terribly squeamish and picky, and would surely cause them nothing but trouble. He insisted he would be far more at ease if he cared for her himself. Xiao Xiao shot him an unimpressed glare. Was he trying to praise her or insult her? The sect leader scoffed, questioning how a grown man could possibly know how to raise a little girl, insisting that with Qingning around, there was nothing to worry about. Yin Huai's expression hardened, a dangerous glint in his eyes as his voice dropped, low and final. Anyhow, she couldn't stay. The old man was seething internally, wondering why this damn boy was being so stubborn. It wasn't as if he were stealing his wife, so why the intense agitation? Looking up at Yin Huai's resolute profile, Xiao Xiao felt a strange flutter in her chest. He was behaving so differently. Could it be that he was truly reluctant to let her go? Deciding to end the pointless bickering, the sect leader declared that they should simply ask the child herself. He bent down, his expression softening as he posed the question directly to Xiao Xiao. Would she like to stay and become his student? He was brimming with confidence, certain that no one could refuse the prestige of the Purple Temple sect. But Xiao Xiao's tiny voice rang out, shattering his expectations with two simple words. She didn't want to stay here. The sect leader's jaw dropped in disbelief, while a triumphant smirk bloomed on Yin Huai's face. The old man sputtered, reminding her of the legendary tree she possessed, but Xiao had already turned her back on him, clutching tightly to Yin Huai's robes. She couldn't care less about some Purple Temple sect's kui. Looking up at the demon lord with wide, trusting eyes, she stated her one desire. She wanted to be with Yin Huai. His breath caught, his gaze softening as he looked down at the precious girl in his arms. Later that night, the moon cast a silvery glow over the room as Yin Huai replayed her words in his mind, a giddy, foolish grin on his face. Xiao Xiao wanted to be with him. It was the greatest thing he had ever heard. Breaking him from his reverie, Xiao Xiao asked him what he thought of Su Qingning. He considered for a moment before replying that she was gentle and carried herself with the proper demeanor of a chief disciple. Suddenly, a suffocating pressure filled the air, a dark aura making Xiao Xiao shiver. Why was it suddenly so cold? She looked up at him with a pout, asking what he thought about her then. A tender smile touched Yin Huai's lips as he looked at her, about to answer. But just then, the door creaked open, and Su Qingning entered carrying a pile of blankets. She explained that the master was worried they'd be cold. Yin Huai offered a polite, but distant thank you. Qingning ignored him, her focus entirely on Xiao Xiao, her smile feeling sickly sweet. She cooed that a big girl like Xiao Xiao shouldn't pester her brother at night and offered to let the child with her instead, reaching for her hand. Xiao Xiao snatched her hand back as if burned, her face a mask of cold rejection. No need. A flicker of annoyance crossed Qingning's face. This rude little girl desperately needed to be taught a lesson. The next day, Qingning stood before Xiao Xiao, sword in hand, her expression severe. The master had decreed that if Xiao Xiao could with 7 of her tricks, she would be welcomed. She asked if the child was ready. Xiao Xiao seethed internally. Everyone in this wretched place was a bandit. One wanted to trap her here, the other wanted to steal her Yin Huai. They were practically begging for a fight. Qingning unleashed her first trick, her blade a blur of motion as Xiao Xiao barely managed to block. The sheer force of the impact sent Xiao Xiao's sword flying from her grasp, clattering uselessly on the stone tiles. She stared in shock. King Ning had used at least 70% of her force. That was no friendly test. King Ning looked down at her, her voice dripping with condescension as she ordered her to continue. "Oh, you want to hurt me?" Xiao Xiao thought, a cunning glint in her eye. "I won't give you the chance." In a brilliant display of battlefield theatrics, Xiao Xiao's eyes rolled back. She collapsed to the ground, faking a dramatic faint. King Ning and another disciple were left utterly baffled. How did she faint? King Ning hadn't even used her full strength. King Ning gritted her teeth in frustration. She knew the girl didn't want to stay, but to pretend to faint was just insulting. She looked down to reprimand the child, but the ground was empty. She was gone. King Ning was livid. Countless people would kill for her tutelage. Yet this insolent brat dared to faint and run away. Her junior disciple furiously declared she would go teach that runaway a lesson. Meanwhile, Xiao Xiao had already made her escape, strolling casually with a blade of grass in her mouth. That Su King Ning had deceived everyone, and once her powers returned, she would pay her back with a whip. Her triumphant escape came to a sudden halt as she saw a bizarre sight hanging from a nearby branch. A frog, a snake, a scorpion, all strung up in a row. A strange feeling of déjà vu washed over her. This thing, it looked terribly familiar. Our story continues with Xiao Xiao's world screaming to a halt, her heart plummeting into a pit of ice. There, before her horrified eyes, was her precious companion Guai Guai, hanging limply from a rope, his little snake body looking dizzy and defeated. She cried out his name, her voice trembling with panic. What on earth had happened to him? Suddenly, a gaggle of girls from the Purple Temple sect swarmed around her, their voices like buzzing insects. One girl sneered, wondering if the creature was even still alive, while another, with a face twisted in disdain, barked at Xiao Xiao to put back their medicinal snake. A particularly aggressive disciple named Yin'er stepped forward, hands on hips, her expression venomous. That, she declared, was the Purple Temple sect's medicinal snake. Xiao Xiao's pupils dilated, her mind reeling at the words. Medicinal snake? The sheer audacity! Her tiny bristled with righteous fury. This was clearly her pet, her beloved Guai Guai. How dare is their own? She clutched the little snake protectively to her chest, a mother lion defending her cub. Yin'er scoffed, her voice dripping with contempt. That snake was found in the forest. There was no way it could be some wild girl's pet. Before Xiao Xiao could react, Yin'er's hand shot out, her fingers digging into Xiao Xiao's small arm like talons. A sharp cry of pain escaped Xiao Xiao's lips as she struggled, screaming for the wretched girl to let go. A storm of fury gathered in Yin'er's eyes, lactically crackling around her as she shoved the small child with all her might. Just as Xiao Xiao was about to tumble backward, a panicked voice cut through the air. A handsome, statuesque young man with flowing dark hair lunged forward, his hand outstretched in desperation, shouting for them not to harm Xiao Xiao. He caught her just in time, his arms a secure fortress around her flailing form. Yin'er was practically vibrating with rage, calling Xiao Xiao an uneducated, wild girl as she clutched her arm, which now bore a scratch mark from their struggle. The young man, Yin Huai, gently held Xiao Xiao, his brow furrowed with concern as he asked if she was all right. His eyes then fell upon the angry bruise already forming on Xiao Xiao's delicate arm, a clear mark of Yin'er's cruelty. His gaze hardened as he turned to Yin'er, his voice laced with disappointment. He knew Xiao Xiao had a temper, but she would never hurt someone without reason. Wasn't she going too far, hitting a child like that? Yin'er exploded in a fury of self-righteousness. She hit her because that little brat stole the sect's medicinal snake and even had the audacity to bite her, her fist clenched ready for another round. But before she could make a move, a calmer, more elegant girl named Xingning placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. She urged Yin'er to stop, her voice soft but firm, admitting that they were the ones in the wrong here. Xingning turned to Xiao Xiao with a placating smile, apologizing for her companion's rash behavior. She explained that the medicinal snake was a small matter, and since the master doted on Xiao Xiao so much, she could certainly keep it. But Xiao Xiao saw right through the fake pleasantries. She told them to stop pretending. This snake was hers from the beginning, and it was returning to its original owner, that's all. With a final, defiant glare, she turned to leave with Yin Huai. Xingning's serene mask faltered, a flicker of worry in her eyes. She explained to Yin Huai that the snake was indeed caught in the forest, and now that Xiao Xiao had taken it, she had no idea how she was supposed to explain this to everyone else. Yin Huai offered a comforting smile. That was easy, he said. He would simply go with her to catch another one. A faint blush graced Xingning's cheeks at his kind offer. Back in the safety of her chambers, Xiao Xiao was a whirlwind of anxiety, pacing back and forth. What could have possibly happened in the demon world to leave her Guai Guai in such a terrible state? She carefully placed him in a wooden basin filled with water, hoping it would revive him. The little snake began to splash weakly in the water. He wiggled and writhed, slowly coming back to his senses. Xiao Xiao leaned over to the basin, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and hope. Her eyes lit up with brilliant relief as he finally opened his eyes. "Guai Guai, you're awake," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. The thing's first words sent a chill down her spine. It hissed, its voice unfamiliar, asking who this little human cub was. For a moment she froze, but then she reached out and gently patted his head, a wave of memories flooding her. With a newfound confidence, she puffed out her chest. She was the Demon Queen, and he was Guai Guai, but his true owner was Kang Fan. She reminded him of everything they'd been through, how she'd scratched his cheeks, Kotkins for him, taken him to hot springs in the winter, and even helped him find a mate 2 years ago. The fog in the snake's mind began to clear, and a flicker of recognition sparked in its eyes. "Your Highness," it rasped, finally remembering. Now that his memory was back, Xiao Xiao's expression turned serious. She demanded to know everything. What happened in the demon world? Why was he like this? He had to tell her everything right now. The snake's story spilled out, a tale of shocking betrayal. It was unacceptable that wretched Ling Qiu had joined forces with Yanhua while he was away, staging a coup. Guai Guai, or rather, the true demon King Kang Fan trapped in snake form, explained his harrowing escape. With the help of his loyal followers, he'd barely managed to flee, but he'd fallen from a cliff and been found by human villagers. The flat horrifying. The villagers had found him dangling from a branch, gleefully declaring him a fine ingredient for wine. They'd tied him to a spit, brushed him with sauce, and were about to roast him over an open flame, pouring liquor over his helpless body. Tears streamed down Xiao Xiao's face as she listened. "Oh, Guai Guai, you've suffered so much," she sobbed, clutching him tightly. She asked if he had recovered and if he could sense his original body. But as she held him, the snake noticed something alarming. "Your Highness, your power is weak," he hissed. "What happened?" A shadow crossed Xiao Xiao's face, her eyes hardening with grim determination. This place was far too dangerous. She couldn't stay here a moment longer. Her mind was made up. She was going to try the true love's kiss one last time. She didn't care if it worked or not anymore. She had to get back to the demon world and fix this mess. Meanwhile, in the darkest depths of a watery prison, the true Kang Fan was chained and broken. His handsome face was marred by blood and exhaustion, his body hanging limp, while monstrous, scaly beasts circled in the murky water below. A desperate idea sparked in his mind. These soul-eaters were of the same species as dragons and snakes. Perhaps their unenlightened minds could be commanded. He focused his remaining power, his voice echoing in the abyss as he ordered the creatures to obey him. Their eyes glowed with an eerie light, and with a thunderous roar, they lunged, their powerful jaws snapping the enchant chains. Success. He was free. Kang Fan's eyes, once clouded with pain, now blazed with cold fear. He clutched his bleeding side, every movement in agony, but his will was iron. He stepped away from the remnantzen, a solitary figure of vengeance against the darkness. Back in the demon throne room, chaos reigned. A terrified guard groveled on the floor, reporting that His Majesty Kang Fan had escaped. The usurper Yanhua brutally kicked the messenger, snarling that he was a useless piece of rubbish. His horned general asked nervously if they should pursue him, but Yanhua simply smirked, a cruel and calculating light in his eyes. There was no need, it was good that he ran. With no news of that little girl, Tang Xiao, he doubted Kang Fan could regain his power anyway. He issued a sinister command, spread rumors that Kang Fan, because he was gravely injured, then send spies to follow him in secret. The subordinate bowed low, promising to carry out the order. As a new day dawned, Xiao Xiao already awake, searching the serene courtyard with a determined look on her face. Suddenly, a sickly sweet voice interrupted her thoughts. It was in her previous hostility replaced with a fake smile. Was she looking for companion Yin? Xiao Xiao's face scrunched up in pure annoyance. Where in the world did he go? A gentle breeze rustled through the temple grounds, but the atmosphere was anything but peaceful. A senior sister, her arms in a display of smug superiority, looked down her nose at our tiny protagonist Xiao Xiao. Since companion Yin was busy catching a snake, she would let Xiao Xiao off the hook for now, her voice dripping with condescension. But she delivered a chilling warning. If the little girl ever dared to disrespect her elders again, she would personally throw her into the barren hills to be fed to the wolves. As Xiao Xiao turned to leave, the senior sister's sharp voice cut through the air, demanding to know where she was going. Xiao Xiao simply stated she was finding Yin Huai. A false, sickly sweet smile spread across the senior sister's face as she feigned concern, insisting it was too dangerous for a little kid to go up the hill alone and that she would accompany her. But Xiao Xiao felt a shiver of unease. This woman's sudden kindness felt more like a predator cornering its prey. Elsewhere, 2 other disciples were whispering anxiously. One fretted over Xiao Xiao being alone with that woman, worried she would be bullied. The other tried to brush it off, wondering what a little kid could possibly do. But the first girl revealed a shocking secret. Xiao's body contained the Purple Temple's energy, marking her as the potential future head of the entire sect. The only problem was her notoriously bad temper, but if that could be improved, she was their best hope. The senior sister, however, had her own plans. A malicious glint appeared in her eyes. So what if the brat had the Purple Temple's energy? She was about to teach this little upstart a lesson she would never forget. Under the cold light of the moon, she led Xiao Xiao deep into the back hills of the sect. Xiao Xiao's suspicion grew with every step. She questioned why they were here, asking if all the treasures had already been caught. The senior sister snapped back, telling her to stop her nonsense and just do whatever she said. A terrible feeling washed over Xiao Xiao. This was bad. In the next instant, a brilliant purple summoning circle erupted from the ground beneath their feet, trapping them in its light. Xiao Xiao's heart plummeted. She knew it. This woman never had any good intentions. With a vicious shove, the senior sister threw Xiao Xiao directly into the center of the formation, screaming for her to get in. Inside the glowing prison, the senior sister's true nature was on full display. She taunted Xiao Xiao, sneering that if any of her friends came, they should quickly get their own sister to save them. Her face was a mask of pure contempt. This, she declared, was the Purple Temple Sect's summoning circle, a magical not easily broken. Only those who'd shatter the illusion could ever hope to escape. She challenged Xiao Xiao to try and break it, otherwise she could just wait here with her. But her triumphant monologue was cut short by her own blood-curdling scream, causing Xiao Xiao to jump in shock. A monstrous creature emerged from the shadows, its massive, hairy body blotting out the moonlight. It was a three-eyed poisonous spider from the demon world, a beast the sect used to train disciples, a brutal method that showed how little they cared if their students died. Meanwhile, not far away, the handsome Yin Huai and a graceful woman named Companion Su walked through the forest. Suddenly, Companion Su paused, her eyes wide, asking if he heard that sound. She urged that they should investigate, just in case someone was in danger. Without a word, the statuesque man drew his sword, his expression grim and ready for battle. Back in the clearing, the situation had grown even more dire. The once arrogant senior sister was now hanging upside down, helplessly cocooned in thick spider silk, crying for Xiao Xiao to find a way to get her down. Xiao Xiao demanded to know if she had a weapon. The girl whimpered that she'd brought a flute. With no other choice, the girl began to play. Miraculously, the sound waves from the flute caused the sticky threads to vibrate and loosen, freeing her from the cocoon. It worked! But Xiao Xiao cut her celebration short. She warned her not to get cocky. The spider's weak point was the top of its head, and she needed the other girl to draw its attention so she could attack. The girl's face went pale with terror. Her skills weren't good enough. This was a setup. Xiao scoffed at her cowardice, suggesting she could attract it instead. The girl frantically refused. With a sigh of frustration, Xiao Xiao took the lead, yelling at the demonic beast. She called it an idiot and darted away, successfully luring the monster after her. From a safe distance, the senior sister watched. Then, a cruel smile touched her lips as she raised the flute and played a different tune, not a song of rescue, but of attack. Purple lightning crackled around the spider, which then unleashed a devastating blast of energy. The shockwave sent both girls flying. Xiao Xiao clutched her chest, a searing pain coursing through her as her demonic energy threatened to spiral out of control. Hidden in the trees, Companion Su watched the scene unfold with a chillingly serene expression. Yin Huai had defined the formation's core, leaving her to find the girls. She wondered aloud where they could have gone, feigning concern. But her inner thoughts were pure poison. She smirked, deciding to wait for the spider to drain Xiao Xiao's true ki before swooping in to play the hero. After there could only be one true heir to the Xiao sect, and that was her. But her twisted plan hit a snag. The giant spider, instead of finishing off the wounded Xiao Xiao, began to back away, its multiple eyes wide with what looked like fear. Companion's jaw dropped in disbelief. Impossible. The poisonous spider was actually afraid of her? As the beast fled, it shot out a web, snatching the treacherous flutist from the ground. The girl was once again cocooned and dragged away into the darkness. She screamed hysterically, crying that she told them her skills weren't good enough and begging for someone to save her. Her last desperate cry echoed through the forest as she was pulled away. The ethereal notes of a flute drift through the mystical forest, a melody meant to soothe and control. Su Qingning warns her junior sister not to move. She's using a mind-calming incantation to hypnotize the beast lurking in the shadows. But Yin'er is having none of it. She shoves her senior sister with surprising force, her face a mask of fury and panic. Why did she bring Xiao Xiao here? This is completely absurd. Yin'er's voice trembles as she tries to defend herself, insisting she was scaring the girl a little, just like her senior sister told her to. She swears she has no idea who put a monstrous, poisonous spider in the illusion formation, threatening to tell their mathing once they get back. But Su Qingning's eyes are cold, her suspicion a tangible thing in the moonlit clearing. She casually mentions seeing a peculiar scar on the spider, a scar that looked exactly like the wound Yin'er received on their last mission. Her words hang in the air, a silent accusation. It couldn't have been Yin'er who put it there, could it? Yin'er's eyes widen in pure terror, caught in the web of lies. Su Qingning immediately changes her tune, her lips curving into a sweet, dismissive smile. Yin'er must be right, she must have seen it wrong, she coos, feigning reassurance. Yin'er visibly relaxes, but Su Qingning isn't finished. She offers to go take another look, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Yin'er watches her, a seed of doubt planted in her heart. But Su Qingning simply turns away, declaring there's no need. The music from her flute resumes, but this time the melody is sharp, aggressive, filled with a murderous intent that enrages the beast. The spider's ash with sinister purple glow, its mind now a storm of fury. A massive, hairy leg strikes out, slamming into Yin'er and sending her flying. She cries out in agony and betrayal, her voice choked with disbelief. Senior sister, why? The monstrous spider looms over her, its fangs dripping with venom, while Su Qingning plays on, her expression as cold and unforgiving as a winter storm. Back in the real world, the illusion shatters. Su Qingning stands over a crystal formation, telling her companion there's no time to waste, they must report back to the sect immediately. Internally, she sees with contempt. She'd wanted to ask for guidance, but that wretched girl dared to feign fainting just to run away. A memory flashes through her mind, the day their master entrusted Yinner to her. Little Yinner had looked up at her with such innocent, sparkling eyes, declaring that her senior sister was so pretty. The child had even reached out to touch her face, full of adoration. Su Qingning snaps back to the present, her thoughts turning to the other girl. Another memory surfaces, finding Xiao Xiao collapsed and unconscious on the forest floor. Su Qingning had played her flute then too, her face a mask of grim determination. She'd called out, "Yinner, senior sister is here to save you." All while the handsome Ji Xinglan watched her performance from the shadows. The illusion had shown Yinner pinned beneath the massive spider, utterly helpless. But then Ji Xinglan's attention was caught by another figure on the ground. His heart stopped. He couldn't believe his eyes. Su Qingning's melody faltered, her own shock evident, as she realized this powerful man knew the strange girl's name. The chaotic scene dissolves into the quiet of the sect's guest room, where the elders are in a heated discussion. They detected 2 streams of demonic energy. A demonic cultivator must have invaded their sacred grounds. As they fret over Miss Tang's condition, our heroine's consciousness begins to stir. The first thing she sees is the face of an angel, or rather, the devastatingly handsome Ji Xinglan, smiling down at her with relief in his gorgeous eyes. "Xiao Xiao, you're awake," he murmurs, his voice a soothing balm. The sect's doctor reports that while she's out of critical danger, her condition is unlike anything he's ever seen. Ji Xinglan's brow furrows with concern as he listens. The sect master makes a decision. For her own safety, Miss Tang must remain at the Xiao sect while they prepare their defenses against the demon clan. But our heroine is completely bewildered. Why is this old man calling her Miss Tang? Her amber eyes fly open as the realization hits her like a bolt of lightning. She's changed back. She sits up, no longer a small, unassuming child, but a breathtakingly beautiful woman in elegant red robes, radiating an aura of power and grace. Her first question cuts through the room's tension. Where is Yinner? Ji Xinglan explains gently that Yinner was momentarily confused and released the poisonous spider, and has since been sent to the Cliff of Contemplation to repent for her grave mistake. Xiao Xiao is stunned. Yinner released the spider. That couldn't be right. She vividly remembers the pure terror on Yinner's face. That wasn't the look of a culprit. The sect master muses that perhaps the girl was enticed by the demon clan, a suggestion he deems worthy of a thorough investigation. The demon clan, Xiao Xiao's lips curve into a subtle, knowing smile. Ji Xinglan adds that companions should detect 2 streams of demonic energy in the illusion formation. 2 streams, Xiao Xiao thinks, a flicker of amusement in her eyes. Could one of them have been hers? This was getting far too interesting. The sect master reveals that one of the demon lords has escaped to the human realm, an archdemon named Kang Fan, a master of commanding poisonous creatures. He's already dispatched disciples to hunt this demon lord down. The gravity of the situation settles over the old man's face. Later that evening, Xiao Xiao rests, the events of the day swirling in her mind. Ji Xinglan quietly enters her room and gently tucks the blanket around her. Su Qingning watches from the doorway, her expression a mixture of jealousy and suspicion. She approaches him, voicing a concern that has been weighing on her mind about the illusion formation. She points out that the formation showed no signs of external intrusion, implying it must have been an inside job. So how, she asks pointedly, does he explain the 2 residual streams of demonic energy? Ji Xinglan's jaw tightens, his gaze turning cold. Su Qingning presses on, her voice laced with poison. It's possible one stream was from a real demonic cultivator, she concedes. But the other, well, it was discovered very near Miss Tang. Ji Xinglan's patience snaps. He warns her not to speak so recklessly, his voice sharp and protective. Xiao Xiao was with him. How could she possibly be a demonic cultivator? Su Qingning's facade cracks, and she insists that Yinner would never betray the sect unless a demon was by her side, enticing her. Her eyes well up with crocodile tears, a perfect performance of a distressed and loyal sister. Ji Xinglan, ever the gentleman, moves to comfort her, his hand hovering near her shoulder as they stand intimately close in the moonlight. But a sharp, amused voice cuts through their little drama. What are you 2 doing? Xiao Xiao is sitting up in bed, a wicked smirk playing on her lips as she interrupts their moment. Ji Xinglan looks momentarily flustered, but quickly regains his composure. Xiao Xiao leans forward, her eyes sparkling with mischief. The sect master already treated her, so why is he still so worried? His concern is genuine, his voice soft as he explains that the illusion formation was dangerous, and he was worried she'd be scared all alone. Scared? Xiao Xiao scoffs internally. She's seen more bloodshed than he could possibly imagine. Su Qingning, furious at being ignored, interjects, demanding to know if Miss Tang overheard everything. Xiao Xiao watches the two of them, the air thick with unspoken accusations. Su Qingning tries to backtrack, claiming she didn't mean to cast suspicion, but Xiao Xiao cuts her off with a smirk. You say that like it's true, she retorts, so where's your evidence? She then transforms into a cute, pouting chibi, disarming everyone with her apparent innocence. Ji Xinglan's fist clenches at his side, his frustration with Su Qingning palpable. He steps between the two women, his voice firm as he tells Su Qingning that Miss Tang needs to rest and that she should leave. Defeated for now, Su Qingning bows head and departs, but the look in her eyes is anything but submissive. She knew she wasn't mistaken. She refuses to believe she can't find some dirt on Tang Xiaoxia as she glances back one last time. Her gaze is a venomous promise of the battle to come. The soft lamplight flickered as his gentle fingers ghosted across her cheek, his touch sending a shiver down her spine. He leaned in, hands etched with relief, his voice a low murmur that vibrated through her very soul. Good, her fever was gone. She didn't have to worry about him, he assured her, and as for that other we'll just kick out a beauty like that. Xiao Xiao's eyes sparkled with mischief from her place in bed. What wasn't okay about it? The poor boy looked utterly baffled, his mind struggling to connect the dots. You mean he stammered you couldn't tell that she likes you? His face was a picture of pure, unadulterated shock. Companion Su? Impossible! Xiao Xiao could only sigh internally. What an absolute idiot. Regaining a sliver of composure, Yin Huai leaned closer, his amethyst eyes burning with a sudden intensity as he swore to her, to his Xiao Xiao, that it had absolutely no romantic feelings for Companion Su. To avoid any misunderstandings, he declared with a solemn vow he would maintain a safe distance from her from now on. A delicate blush painted Xiao Xiao's cheeks as she tilted her head, her voice a soft, curious whisper. Why was he explaining all of this to her? He looked away, the tips of his ears turning a fetching shade of red, admitting that he was afraid she would misunderstand. Her heart skipped a beat. Afraid she'd misunderstand? A thrilling thought shot through her. Did that mean he cared about her? Did he like her? She decided to press her advantage, her lips curling into a teasing smile. Is that so? And why exactly was he so afraid she would misunderstand? The air between them crackled with unspoken tension as he closed the distance, his hand cupping her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. He was so close she could feel the heat radiating from him, his voice trembling as he tried to force the words out. Because Li, suddenly a high-pitched hiss shattered the perfect moment. My liege, I can sense the master. Xiao Xiao's eye twitched in pure annoyance. Couldn't this wretched snake read the room? Of course, she couldn't clearly. Her liege had been the one to order it to detect the master's aura in the first place. The confession was lost, the spell broken. Yin Huai jolted back to reality, his flushed with embarrassment. What was he doing? This wasn't the time. Xiao Xiao's illness hadn't even been cured yet. She poked the side of a pouting, completely deflated Yin Huai. Oops, did she break him? He looked like a kicked puppy. Shaking off the moment, her thoughts turned to a more pressing matter. Where was Kang Fan now? She stood, announcing she was going to check the weapon in Spirit Hall and would see him later. As she turned to leave, her fingers brushed against his, a silent invitation. Wait for me, he called out, his voice laced with a hint of panic. He would go with her. They found themselves strolling through a vibrant market, the sweet scent of ripe fruit filling the air. He asked if there was anything she wanted to buy, but she simply smiled, content for now. It was a nice day to just look around even without buying anything. Just as they were enjoying the rare moment of peace, a familiar, unwelcome voice cut through the crowd. Yin Huai's spirit practically floated out of his body confusion, while Xiao Xiao scowled. Seriously, why was Su Qingning so ridiculously persistent? The woman was absolutely everywhere. Her little purple snake hissed from its perch on her shoulder. Master, I can feel the master's aura getting stronger. Xiao Xiao's eyes narrowed. He's nearby. The snake confirmed it with another hiss. Su Qingning glided towards them, her eyes on the snake with a sickly sweet smile. This snake looks quite cute now that it has recovered, she cooed. The snake, however, was having none of it, rearing back with its fangs bared in a terrifying display. Miss Tang! Su Qingning stumbled back, her face pale with fright. Xiao Xiao's smirk was razor-sharp. Don't be afraid, she said, her voice dripping with mock comfort. It only acts this way toward people it doesn't like. Su Qingning forced a tight smile, her eyes flashing with anger. Is that so? Yin Huai, seeing his chance to separate them, told Xiao Xiao he was tied up at the moment. She should go find Kang Fan, and they'd regroup later. Xiao Xiao just patted her snake, telling it to go on and play by itself. Xiao Xiao's mind was already working. This area was under the Zixiao's jurisdiction, so her pursuers wouldn't be audacious enough to send anyone here. Just then, the man accompanying Su Qingning tried to get her attention. Xiao Xiao, don't you love jeweled hairpins the most? Let's go take a look over there. Before she could even refuse, Yin Huai cut in, eager to please. Oh, Xiao Xiao likes jeweled hairpins? I know of an even better place. Shall we go take a look? Xiao resisted the urge to facepalm. Has this person gotten addicted to being a third wheel? She'd had enough. Turning to Yin Huai, she let a seductive look wash over her face. I don't want to buy hairpins, she whispered, her voice husky. I want to go somewhere with you where there's no one else around. She leaned in until her lips were right beside his ear, her hand possessively around his waist and kiss. The poor boy froze, his entire body going rigid as he stammered, a deep blush spreading from his neck to his cheeks. He was reduced to a sputtering, wide-eyed chibi, completely short-circuiting. She pulled back, a triumphant smirk playing on her lips as she ran a finger over them. This boy really couldn't handle being teased. What's the matter, companion Yin? A thoroughly flustered Yin Huai turned to the others, waving them away frantically. See, companion Su, please go on ahead. I can accompany Xiao Xiao by myself. The man with Su Qingning watched them go, a cruel glint in his eyes. He had already placed a tracking spell on that snake. Su Qingning's gaze was full of suspicion. Tang Xiao Xiao, was she truly the heir of the Xiao sect, or just some petty, demonic cultivator? He would find out the truth soon enough. Far from the bustling town, a sinister plot was unfolding. Lord Lingju had given the order, muddle the waters. They would kill the townspeople and pin the blame on the traitor Kang Fan, luring the Xiao sect into eliminating him for them. A villainous laugh echoed in the desolate landscape. Tell the brothers to move out. In the quiet rear courtyard of an inn, Kang Fan sat alone amidst shattered pottery, the very picture of despair. A familiar hiss broke the silence. Master! Kang Fan's head snapped up, his golden eyes sharp and alert. Where is Her Highness? The snake relayed her message. They were to conceal their auras and find an opportunity to meet later. Suddenly, a murderous aura filled the air. Kang Fan's body tensed and he spun around. Who's there? The back wall of the courtyard stood silent and empty. Then a figure emerged from the doorway, silhouetted by the harsh light. It was Su Qing's companion. Just as I thought, he sneered, you're a demonic cultivator. Kang Fan's eyes widened. Human cultivator. He had to get out of here. His meeting with the demon lord was far more important. He tried to bolt, but the man merely scoffed, trying to run. A torrent of violent purple energy erupted from the man's hands. A massive blast of light shot towards Kang Fan. The ground exploded in a shower of dust and debris. The two were instantly locked in a desperate, ferocious battle. Meanwhile, back under the blossoming trees, Xiao Xiao had Yin Huai cornered against a crimson pillar. Her hand was under his chin, tilting his face towards hers. Tell me the truth, she purred, her eyes smoldering. Did you miss me too? Overwhelmed, he could only nod, his voice barely a whisper. Yes, Yaxia. Once your illness is cured, see, can we return to the Yuan Ming sect together? His beautiful violet eyes were filled with so much hope it was almost painful to see. But her expression turned cold. Why would I return to the Yuan Ming sect you? Her voice was like ice. Are you going back on your word? He flinched as if she had struck him, his hand clutching his chest. His voice was laced with hurt. Do you want to stay here at the Xiao sect? Xiao Xiao's cute face was a mask of utter bewilderment. Huh? He looked at her with raw desperation, his heart on his sleeve. Xiao Xiao, I want to take care of you forever. If you really want to stay at the Xiao sect, then A slow, dangerous smile spread across her face. Then you'll what? The world was soft, bathed in the gentle glow of sunlight filtering through cherry blossoms, their petals drifting down like pink snow. His touch was tender, his gaze filled with what could melt the coldest winter as he held her hand, their faces impossibly close. It was a perfect, fleeting moment of peace, a fragile dream that was about to be shattered. Suddenly, her eyes snapped open, the beautiful illusion dissolving into harsh reality. A foul, corrupting presence filled the air, a wave of demonic energy so potent it made her skin crawl. Outside, the idyllic town had descended into chaos, the air thick with smoke and fear. A man ran screaming through the streets, his face a mask of pure terror, yelling for everyone to run, that monsters were here. The Fran stumbled past them, his feet pounding against the stone path. Xiao Xiao's reflexes were instant. She shot out a hand, grabbing him by the collar, demanding to know what monsters he was talking about. He was shaking, barely coherent, babbling that a snake demon was leading a horde of monsters to Slaval. The sheer terror in his eyes was undeniable. Yin Huai's expression hardened, his handsome features turning serious as he drew his sword. He told Xiao Xiao to head back to the Xiao sect first. He would go and see what was happening. But as two figures from their sect zipped past them, flying towards the disturbance, Xiao Xiao's heart clenched. She recognized them instantly. It was people from the Xiao sect. A cold dread washed over her. That meant Kang Fan was outnumbered. She had to hurry. She had to save him. The town was a living nightmare, flames licking at the wooden buildings as screams of agony echoed everywhere. Help! Can anyone save us? A man cried out in desperation. A grotesque demon laughed, its ripping with malice. Thinking that Demon Lord Kang Fan had promised a commander position to whoever got the most kills. It raised a massive cleaver and brought it down on a helpless civilian, a sickening crunch echoing in the fiery street. An old woman, cornered and trembling, spat at her demonic tormentor, cursing them for harming the innocent and vowing they would face retribution for their sins. Her defiance was met with a swift, brutal end as a sword through her skull, blood spraying into the air. The demon sneered, repeating the order from their lord: kill them all. Leave none of these two-legged sheep alive. Another demon with a cruel smirk on his face stalked through the flames, his sword ready to claim another life. Suddenly, a furious roar cut through the chaos. "You foul beasts!" An elderly master from the sect, his white beard trembling with rage, unleashed a blinding wave of spiritual energy, vaporizing on the spot. A disciple rushed to his side, his voice filled with reverence as he called out to his master. The old man's eyes were blazing with fury, demanding to know where King was, shouting that this place was under jurisdiction. So how could demonic cultivators be causing such a ruckus here? The disciple explained with a panicked expression that senior sister had gathered the junior brothers to capture the demon lord Kang Fan. High on the rooftops, the sect disciples were already moving in, swords drawn. Across from them, the imposing figure of Kang Fan stood beside his purple serpent beast, Guai Guai. He muttered for them to go, that they couldn't get dragged down in this fight, but it was too late. A woman landed gracefully before him, her expression cold and determined, declaring that he had entered the Xiao warriors' territory and there was no escape. She commanded her junior brothers to form the demonic illusion formation, and they responded with a unified shout. Her disciples moved as one, their swords glinting in the smoky air. Just then, another figure arrived, landing with heroic purpose. It was Yin Huai, holding a glowing talisman, his voice ringing with authority. He told the demon lord not to even think about running. With a flick of his wrist, he sent the talisman flying through the air. But Kang Fan was unfazed, standing before his colossal serpent with an air of dark majesty. The talisman its mark, but as the snake let out a hiss, a new horror emerged. Kang Fan formed a complex seal, a sinister purple energy swirling around his fingers. A disciple let out a blood-curdling scream. It was a poisonous snake. The ground was suddenly wreathing with vipers, slithering over the roof tiles towards the terrified disciples. The senior sister shouted for them not to panic and to use the medicinal powder she had given them. Kang Fan's cold, calculating eyes narrowed as he gave a silent command to his subordinate, "Go now, head southwest." But before he could make his escape, a flash of white robes appeared before him. "Where do you think you're going?" Yin Huai's sword struck true, a vicious slash at the demon lord's handsome face. Kang Fan grunted in pain, blood splattering from the corner of his lips as he staggered back. From atop the giant serpent, his subordinate cried out in alarm, "Your Highness!" Standing beside him was Xiao Xiao, her eyes burning with a desperate plan. Her gaze locked with the subordinates, and she gave a silent, urgent order. "Don't make a sound," she commanded. "Take me hostage." Understanding dawned in his eyes. In an instant, the subordinate grabbed her, wrapping the serpent's thick tail around her body. Xiao Xiao let out a perfectly timed, terrified scream, crying out for Yin Huai to save her. Yin Huai spun around, his heart stopping in his chest at the sight. "Xiao?" His face was a picture of pure, unadulterated shock and horror. In that moment of distraction, Kang Fan moved like a phantom, his hand lashing out and striking Yin Huai directly in the chest with a powerful blow. The force sent Yin Huai flying backwards, tumbling across the rooftop. Kang Fan seized his chance, appearing beside Xiao Xiao and threatening the stunned disciples. "Stay back or I'll kill her." He growled that he'd kill her if any of them got any closer. His hand closed around Xiao Xiao's throat, the blood on his cheek making him look even more dangerous and demonic. But the senior sister, King, wasn't buying it for a second. "Don't believe them," she shrieked, her face contorted fury. "They're in this together." Yin Huai stared, utterly bewildered by her accusation. "What?" King ignored him, ordering her juniors to form the array, screaming that they couldn't let them escape. Kang Fan tightened his grip, causing Xiao Xiao to gasp in pain. "Don't!" Yin Huai yelled, his voice cracking with desperation. He couldn't believe his ears. How could companions who disregard Xiao Xiao's like this? King shot back, her voice laced with venom. "Can't you see what's going on?" Xiao Xiao admitted with her own mouth that the snake is her pet. "If that's the case," she declared, "then she would be the one to kill her." "No!" Yin Huai screamed, his mind reeling. He scrambled to defend her, arguing frantically that Xiao Xiao possesses Xiao Qi. So how could she possibly be a demonic cultivator? For the first time, King hesitated, a flicker of doubt in her eyes. Does she really have Xiao Qi? Something was definitely fishy here. Seeing his opening, Kang Fan let a wicked smirk grace his lips. "Since you all care much about this hostage, this lord will just borrow her for a while." He leaned in close to Xiao Xiao and whispered for the go, while Xiao Xiao put on one last show, crying out Yin Huai's name with heartbreaking desperation. Yin Huai watched, helpless, as they prepared to flee. He clenched his fists, his heart shattering as he swore to the heavens that he would rescue her, no matter what. The moment they were out of sight, the entire act dropped. Kang Fan and Xiao Xiao let out a simultaneous sigh of relief, their chibi forms slumping in exhaustion. Acting exhausting, Xiao Xiao even pulled out a handkerchief to dab at her fake tears, the entire ordeal having been a brilliantly executed performance. As they rode away on the giant serpent, the subordinate looked back at Kang Fan with concern. "Your Highness, your demonic energy, what happened?" Kang Fan's expression grew serious once more, the weight of their situation returning. "It's a long story," he said grimly. "Let's get out of the Xiao sect's territory first, and then we'll talk." Within the hallowed halls of the Xiao sect, the air was thick with tension. This was utterly absurd. The sect master's voice boomed, his hand slicing through the air as he pointed an accusing finger at Su Qingning. She abandoned her post, he roared, reassigning the disciples guarding Xiao town and causing countless sins to be displaced and harmed. Did she even realize what she had done? The weight of his fury was crushing, but Su Qingning, with her hand pressed against her chest and her eyes wide with desperation, tried to defend her actions. Master, the situation was urgent, she pleaded, her voice trembling. If she hadn't acted that way, there was no way she could have caught that wretched demonic cultivator. The sect master's gaze was cold as steel, his question cutting her down effortlessly. And did she end up catching him? Silence was her only answer. Seeing her falter, Yin Huai stepped forward to explain. The sect master had kidnapped the demon Lord Xiao Xiao, leaving them with no choice but to let them escape. His handsome face was etched with worry. Xiao Xiao's life was in grave danger now, and they had to rescue her quickly. But before he could say more, Su Qingning's sharp voice cut in, dripping with disdain. She disagreed. The illusion formation was still unresolved, and she had seen Xiao Xiao acting intimately with that demon snake. In her mind, there was no doubt Xiao Xiao was a demonic cultivator. Yin Huai's widened in disbelief, his loyalty shining fiercely. Companion Su, he declared, his voice ringing with absolute conviction, he, Huai, would stake his very life on it. Xiao Xiao would never be a demonic cultivator. The sect master stroked his long white beard, his brow furrowed in thought. He looked from one disciple to the other, his gaze finally settling on the defiant Su Qingning. Since neither could convince the other, he declared a 3-day deadline. If after 3 days Xiao Xiao returned safe and sound, it would prove her innocence. But Su Qingning added with a cold glint in her eyes, if she dies, then she would lead all their junior brothers and sisters to avenge her. Yin Huai stared at her, his heart sinking with bitter disappointment. To use Xiao Xiao's life as a wager. Companion Su, he was truly and utterly mistaken about her. Su Qingning couldn't meet his gaze, stammering a pathetic "I" as she looked away. The sect master's patience finally snapped. Enough, he thundered, his voice shaking the very foundations of the hall. It was his failure to discipline her that had allowed her to be presumptuous. She didn't trust and she didn't trust this old Mather. His judgment was swift and severe. She would go to the ancestral hall, receive 30 lashes, and then lead the team to rescue Xiao Xiao. But she had no choice but to agree. Yes, master. Yin Huai bowed deeply, thanking the sect master for dispatching the rescue party and volunteering to go ahead and scout for information. The sect master nodded his approval, telling him to have Qingning make contact later. As Yin Huai turned to leave, Su Qingning watched his back, her heart twisting with a venomous jealousy. Why was that snot-nosed brat so important? Father favored her, and he only had eyes for her, completely ignoring everyone else. She had worked so hard, how could she lose to a little brat? Unaware of her seething rage, Yin Huai departed, a silent promise echoing in his soul. Xiao Xiao, wait for me. He leaped onto his sword, becoming a silver streak against the vast sky as he flew towards the demon territory. The scene shifted to the menacing, dark spires of Lingju's demon palace, a place shrouded in perpetual twilight. A subordinate knelt before a throne, delivering an urgent report. Kang Fan had escaped, and the former demon lord was with him. A cruel, amused voice from the throne noted that Xiao Xiao was also there. It seems they could wipe them all out in one go. A burly demon with a massive mace grinned savagely. What were they waiting for? Xiao Xiao and Kang Fan must be severely injured. Killing them now would be a piece of cake. Lingju, the usurper lord, smirked, placing a hand on the burly demon's shoulder. He made a tempting offer. Whoever kills Xiao Xiao first becomes the next demon lord. The burly demon roared with delight, assuring him that he couldn't stand the girl anyway. Lingju's smile was pure poison. He promised to leave Xiao Xiao to him. He wouldn't even fight for her. The demon laughed, his confidence soaring. It was time to collect their corpses. Far away on the misty Luto mountain, the atmosphere was serene. Kang Fan sat meditating, his hands glowing as he healed the wound on his abdomen, revealing a swirling blue demonic tattoo across his toned skin. Xiao Xiao watched him, her heart heavy. She never imagined so much had happened to His Highness. With the demon realm in Lingju's hands, his position was precarious without the phoenix feather token. Kang Fan opened his stunning golden eyes, a confident smirk playing on his lips. That was nothing to worry about. Once his demonic energy was restored, they'd see who dared to covet his throne. His expression hardened, his voice laced cold fury. Lingju and Manhwa had to be eliminated, and that wretched human cultivator who stabbed him must also be killed. Xiao Xiao sweetly, trying to diffuse his murderous aura. They could hold off on killing him for now. Her tiny snake companion, Guai Guai, hissed from her shoulder, spilling the beans. His master, that is Her Highness's royal husband. Xiao Xiao immediately bonked the little creature on the head. You talk too much. The snake recoiled, its pride wounded. Kang Fan's gaze was sharp, pinning her in place as the snake draped itself over his shoulder. Your Highness, is it true? Had she and that human cultivator already slept together? A blush crept up, she stammered that she hadn't slept with him. Yet, she quickly regained her composure, flashing him a playful wink. But he was indeed the one she had chosen. Kang Fan leaned in, his eyes wide with a barrage of questions. What's his combat power? His personality? Does he have parent? Do their stars align? Has he had a first love? Xiao Xiao's fun. Stop, she cried, putting an end to the interrogation. The most important thing now was dealing with Ling Jiu and Yan He. She urged him to go to the demon realm's borders and gather his forces. He looked at her hesitant. Your Highness, aren't you coming? She smiled reassuringly, telling him not to worry. She had a feeling her demonic energy would be restored soon, and she would find him then. But their quiet moment was shattered by a booming voice. The traitors were on the mountain. The burly demon and his forces swarmed the area ready for blood. Let's catch the traitors! Their war cries echoed through the forest. Hidden amongst the trees, another player watched the chaos unfold with a sinister smile. Yin Huai gave a quiet order to his own men, set up the immortal slaying sword formation and let no one notice. His subordinates vanished into the shadows to obey. He chuckled to himself, a predator enjoying the hunt. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Two bumbling fools and a useless tank Xiao Xiao. Alone now, Xiao Xiao let out a soft sigh, feeling the weight of her one-woman show. Maybe she should have kept Kang Fan and Guai Guai to help with her hostage act. It was a little difficult by herself, but it would make the scene more realistic for when her darling Yin Huai came to the rescue. Her mind drifted into a sweet daydream, imagining a tiny version of herself and Huai surrounded by flowers. Yin Huai, do you love me? She would ask, and he would blush furiously, proclaiming his love for his Xiao Xiao. And oh, how she wished that wretched Su Qingning could be there to witness it. It would infuriate her to no end. A wicked little giggle escaped her lips. Snapping back to reality, she heard shouts and ordered the demonic cultivators around her to search the area. But as she wondered where all these demons came from, a hand suddenly clamped over her mouth. Cold blade pressed against her throat. Her captor, a hooded figure, froze in terror as he realized who he'd grabbed. The demon lord. Xiao's eyes, however, held no fear. They were chips of ice, glinting with a dangerous light as she stared down at her would-be assassin. Speak, she commanded, her voice low and deadly. Who sent you? Under the pale moonlight, the mountain air was thick with a strange, suffocating demonic energy, so dense it felt like a physical weight pressing down on Yin Huai's chest. He knew in his gut that Xiao Xiao was trapped somewhere in this wretched place, and his heart clenched with a cold dread. With a flick of his wrist, his spiritual soul sword vanished into thin air. His senses, honed to a razor's edge, immediately picked up the foul, unmistakable aura of the demon clan nearby. The scent of fresh blood hung in the air, a grim testament to the massacre that had taken moments before, as one of the demonic cultivators fell, blood splattering across his masked face. Yin Huai moved through the eerie, glowing woods like a phantom, his eyes scanning every shadow, every fallen leaf. His gaze fell upon the lifeless form of a woman in black, and a wave of panic washed over him. He pushed the thought away, his internal voice a desperate prayer. Xiao Xiao, you have to wait for me. Meanwhile, two figures cloaked in black hurried through the trees, their faces hidden by masks and hoods. That traitor Yin Huai had sent so many people to hunt them down. The most urgent task now was to get off this cursed mountain as quickly as possible. Xiao Xiao, her expression grim beneath the mask, scanned their surroundings, her senses on high alert. Her companion, equally tense, tried to make small talk, asking if she was also heading down the mountain. But before she could answer, a hand clamped down on her shoulder with vice-like strength. Her blood ran cold as she turned to see a pair of piercing amethyst eyes staring at her. A handing on the hilt of a sword. The man's hood fell back and her heart stopped. Yin Huai, his own eyes widened in disbelief as he recognized the face beneath the mask. Xiao Xiao? Belief so potent it was almost painful, flooded his. Xiao Xiao, I'm so glad you're okay. In the next moment, he pulled her into a fierce, desperate embrace, holding her as if she were a dream he was afraid would fade. She leaned into his warmth, a soft sound of confirmation escaping her lips. He pulled back slightly, his handsome face etched with worry and 1,000 questions, his voice low. How did you escape? She gave him a slightly sheepish look, a hint of her usual mischief in her eyes. Just sort of tricked the demonic cultivator guards. But her expression quickly hardened with urgency. Yin Huai, we need to take this chance to escape, she warned. This mountain is surrounded by demonic cultivators. His face was a mask of grim understanding. I saw them too, he confirmed, adding that companion Su would be arriving soon. They began moving as one, their cloaks whispering in the night. He explained their priority was to inform companion Su and coordinate with the Xiao sect to take down these wretched cultivators in one swift strike. Yin Huai's gaze, his mind already formulating a plan. He suddenly grabbed her hand, his touch sending a jolt through her, and barked a command. Qixi go! His spiritual sword shot forward like a silver streak, but instead of flying off, it slammed into an invisible barrier with a sickening thud. His eyes widened in shock. What? A shimmering blue light revealed the horrifying truth. They were trapped inside a formation. As his sword clattered uselessly to the ground, Xiao Xiao's form clung to him in frustration. It's useless. Their discovery did not go noticed. A horned demon with stark white hair glanced up, a cruel smirk playing on his lips. He pointed directly at them, his voice booming through the trees. "They're over there. Brothers, follow me." As the horde approached, Yin Huai's fingers moved in a blur, casting a spell. He had already sent a message to the people from the Xiao sect, he told her, hoping they would have a way to break this formation. But time was running out. The demonic leader stomped into the clearing, his massive frame blocking their path. "Hey! Who are you?" Xiao Xiao's eyes narrowed, her battle instinct flaring. "Oh no, they're here already." The demon's eyes lit up with wicked recognition. "It's Tang Xiao Xiao. Men, surround them." Xiao Xiao pushed at Yin Huai's chest, her voice firm. "You have to go. I'll deal with them." But he didn't budge, his gaze locking with hers, unwavering and resolute. "If we're going, we'll go together." Her breath hitched, her heart fluttering at his fierce loyalty as she instinctively gripped his cloak. The demon leader roared and swung his colossal spiked mace. Yin Huai met the blow with his sword, the clang of metal echoing through the forest. He ordered his subordinate, "You lot, go capture Tang Xiao Xiao." Two minions armed with heavy cleavers broke from the pack and lumbered towards her, their expressions menacing. A murderous fire lit up Yin Huai's eyes. "No, I can't let them get to Xiao Xiao." The demon leader laughed, raised his weapon high. "Eat my hammer." In a blinding flash of spiritual energy, Yin Huai parried the blow and sent one of the approaching minions flying through the air. The mace crashed into the earth, shaking the ground where he had just been standing. Xiao Xiao cried out his name in terror, her voice laced with panic. "Yin Huai." The demon leader, his posture radiating pure malice. "Ha ha ha. Let's see where you can run to now." Far away, the traitor Manhwa watched the scene unfold through a projection, a smug smile on his face. "The immortal slaying formation has been activated," he purred. "Yanhua Kang Fan, Tang Xiao Xiao, I hope you all enjoy the grand gift I have prepared for you." His evil laughter echoed, mirrored by the cackling of the demon leader on the battlefield. The demons closed in a suffocating ring of death. "Tang Xiao, I bet you never imagined you'd one day die by my hands." Just as they lunged, the very ground began to shake violently. "What's going on? Is this an earthquake?" Both Yin Huai and Xiao Xiao looked around, bewildered, as a fresh scratch appeared on his cheek and startled birds took flight into the dark sky. The demons stumbled, thrown off balance by the tremors. The leader glared at the duo, his face contorted with rage. "This must be your doing. I'll kill you two first and find out later." He charged forward, but Yin Huai stood his ground, his voice dripping with contempt. "Who come, Demon Lord?" A look of dawning realization crossed Xiao Xiao's face. The immortal slaying sword formation, as if summoned by her words, dozens of ethereal swords rained from the heavens, plunging into the earth and creating a cage of shimmering steel. The demon leader skidded to a halt, his eyes wide. Where did this sword formation come from? The swords formed a protective barrier, giving them a precious moment to breathe. Yin Huai's eyes glinted with newfound hope. "Now's my chance." He met the demon lord's charge head-on, their weapons clashing in a shower of sparks. The demon staggered back, a fresh cut bleeding on his cheek, his mask of pure fury. "How dare you injure me?" But as he raged, a darker threat emerged from the shadows. Xiao Xiao's eyes widened in sheer terror, a frantic warning tearing from her lips. "Yin, look out!" Before he could react, she was engulfed by a splash of inky blackness, a horrifying shadow snatching her away into the darkness. Panic flared in Yin Huai's chest, his voice cracking as he screamed her name, Xiao Xiao. But just as the blow was about to land, a brilliant golden shield materialized before them, and he heard her weak but steady voice reassuring him that she was okay, that she had cast a shield. His handsome face hardened with determination, his grip tightening on the hilt of his sword as he channeled his energy into the golden blade. He told her to hang in there, that companion Su and the others would be here soon. Under the pale full moon, they stood back to back, a lone pair against a monstrous foe, the air thick with tension. A trickle of blood stained Xiao Xiao's lips, and she couldn't help but think with a wry bitterness that she never imagined a day would come where she would be blocking a sword for someone else. The demon aspirant Tang Xiao Xiao was seething, his own wounds stinging as he glared at them with pure hatred. He didn't care if he was wiped out by the legendary immortal-slaying sword. He vowed he would kill her first. With a guttural roar, he commanded the kid to get the hell out of his way, swinging a terrifying spiked mace with enough force to shatter mountains. Yin Huai didn't hesitate for a second, spinning around to shield Xiao Xiao with his own body, taking the full, brutal impact on his back. The fabric of his robe shredded, blood erupting from the wound as he gritted teeth against the searing pain, knowing he could hold on for much longer. The demon's power exploded in a blinding flash of light, sending them both hurtling through the air. He loomed over them, his weapon raised for the final killing blow. "Share name one last time." Yin Huai cradled limp form, his heart hammering against his ribs. He saw her closed eyes and the blood smearing her pale face. The demon's crazed voice echoed through the clearing, declaring the position of Demon King was his for the taking as he brought his weapon down upon them. It was their end. Yin Huai's violet eyes widened in sheer terror, a desperate scream of her name tearing from his throat as the world plunged into shadow. He coughed up a mouthful of blood, the force of the blow rattling his entire being, but his only thought was to protect her. He collapsed over her, his body a final, desperate shield. Her eyes fluttered open to see his face above her, and she whispered his name, Yin Huai. He tried to smile to soothe her fears, telling her not to be afraid. The demon sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. So the little human cultivator wanted to protect her? Fine, let's just see how long he could keep it up. The mace came crashing down again, and Yin Huai let out a choked groan, absorbing another devastating hit. Seeing his sacrifice, her heart shattered, and she pushed against his chest, begging him to leave to save himself. But his voice was an unbreakable vow in the chaotic night. He was not leaving. He shoved her out from under him, ordering her to get out of his way. Tears streamed down her face, mixing with the blood and grime. Why was he so foolish? Didn't he understand she was telling him to go to live? He looked down at her, his gaze impossibly soft despite the agony he was in, and told her he wasn't being foolish. He had told her before that he would definitely protect you. The memory flooded her senses, his earnest face, his solemn promise, and she could only name Yin Huai, her voice thick with unshed emotions. The demon let out a cruel laugh, mocking the human cultivator for not knowing his own limits, cackling as he prepared to destroy what was left of him. A brilliant golden light suddenly enveloped them, pushing back the oppressive darkness. The demon paused his attack, his eyes narrowing in shock. How was Kid not dead yet? A sacred power began to rise, ancient words echoing in the very air. Rising from the ashes, the mortal breath ceases, the true breath emerges. A divine light gathered, forming a pulsating golden orb above Yin Huai's head. He stood, his eyes closed, radiating a power that felt ancient and unstoppable. What was this immense pressure? The demon's face contorted with rage. He didn't care what kind of strange power this was, he would just kill the kid first. He charged forward, screaming for Yin Huai to go to hell, his weapon crackling with malevolent energy. Xiao Xiao could only scream no as the blow connected, sending both of them flying back in a brutal collision. The demon scoffed, turning his attention to her crumpled form on the ground. He loomed over her, a sadistic grin spreading across his face as he promised to send her to the king of hell himself. A cold dread washed over Xiao Xiao. Is this how she was going to die? She wasn't ready. She couldn't accept the end. As her consciousness faded, she turned her head to look at Yin Huai's still form, one last question escaping her lips in a near-silent whisper. Yin Huai, did you ever fall in love with me? As if in response to her plea, a new power awakened. Yin Huai's eyes snapped open, his vision filled with a strange sight. Xiao Xiao, but as a tiny, ethereal baby, holding a miniature sword, glowing within a golden sphere. He screamed her name, his voice filled with a newfound power. This was her true form. The demon prepared to finish them off, completely unaware of the cataclysm he had just unleashed. Yin Huai rose to his feet, his gaze colder than 1,000 winters, and his voice boomed with divine authority, commanding the swords of the world to come and heed his command. He formed a seal with his hands, and the very air began to tremble. An army of shimmering ethereals materialized from thin air, surrounding the utterly dumbfounded demon. Yin Huai's eyes blazed with violet fire as he declared that the demon lord's life would be his. The swords rained down in a torrent of divine punishment, and the demon could only scream that it was impossible as they pierced the ground around him, sealing his fate. He let out a final, agonizing shriek as the holy blades tore through his body, blood spraying in every direction. He collapsed to his knees, coughing violently, realizing this was a fight he could not win today. Uttering that he would deal with this freak next time, he vanished into the shadows, leaving a victorious but wounded Yin Huai to scream her name once more. He rushed to her side where she lay bleeding on the forest floor. He gathered her into his arms, his heart aching with guilt. Xiao Xiao, I'm so sorry I was late, he whispered. I failed to protect you. She coughed weakly, managing a small shake of her head, telling him no, he didn't fail. He gently wiped the blood from her cheek, his touch feather-light. Under the soft glow of the crescent moon, he looked into her eyes, his expression impossibly tender. He knew this might not be the best time to say this, but he couldn't bear the thought of waiting any longer. He couldn't miss his chance, not again like last time. Her own confession tumbled out, quiet but firm, her memories of their time together flashing before her eyes. From when she was a small child to now, she wanted to be with Yin Huai. A beautiful, relieved smile graced his lips. Xiao Xiao, thank you, he murmured, for always being by my side. His gaze was intense, filled with an emotion so deep it stole her breath. It doesn't matter if you're Xiao Xiao or Miss Heitang, I like you all the same. He lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a soft, reverent kiss to her knuckles. She could only stare, her mind going completely blank. Her golden eyes, wide with shock and wonder, reflected the divine swords that hovered around them, a silent testament to his power and devotion. He leaned in, closing the distance between them, and captured her lips in a gentle kiss. A jolt went through her. So this is what a kiss feels like, she thought dazedly. It's actually quite nice. He pulled back just enough to look at her, his voice a low, intimate whisper. Xiao Xiao, I like you. He held her close, his heart in his eyes as he asked the question that would change everything. What about you?